Jun as long as they made war efforts. They would be able to defeat these people. Sound the horn and withdraw the troops. Qiu Yumaoshin knew that Han Ming's death had shaken the morale of the army, and the arrival of Yi Jun's reinforcements further destroyed everyone's fighting spirit. He didn't know how many Yi Jun's were behind him, but it must be quite a lot. Why does God favor Middle-earth so much? Qiu Yumaoshan dared not to roar and reined in his horse to retreat. As soon as he, the main general, left, the army was defeated and everyone scattered like birds and beasts. The collapse was out of control. They're leaving, stop them. Yu was almost depressed. But when he saw the enemy retreating like a tide, he was overjoyed and hurriedly said, "Blow the charge horn and kill them." The cavalry mounted their horses and pursued the general. Seeing this, the 5th Brigade and the 7th Brigade also fought and killed the enemy at all costs. The battlefield became a one-sided massacre. Hun's gunpowder caused some damage to Yi's army, but the quality was still too poor. Sometimes the gap between weapons is greater than the gap between humans and animals. Qiu Yumaoshan fled in panic and he didn't know how long he had been running. He only knew that he ran from dusk to dawn. And only then there were no pursuers behind him. He looked pale and in a mess, and said in a hoarse voice, "The Yi army is not pursuing us? General, the Yi army is retreating. How many of us are left?" Qiu Yumaoshan asked bitterly. "Only half of the 500,000 are left." The attendant gave an approximate figure, maybe even less. "Let's go back to Xiao Pass. With just the few people we have, we are no match for Yi Jun. We must make full preparations." Qiu Yumaoshan now has a direct understanding of Yi Jun's combat effectiveness. This is only a few thousand people. If there were tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, what kind of scene would that be? Not to mention an army of 500. Even an army of 5 million would not be able to break through the defense line, right? If you want to deal with Day, you must use other means, otherwise it will be difficult. On the other side, inside the Great Wall, the commander of the 5th Brigade, Hu Dehuang, and the commander of the 7th Brigade, Shang Sandu, followed behind Yu. "Brother Yu, we are all family, so let's not talk about our differences. You are the first to achieve the most in this battle, and we definitely have no objection. However, when you report this, can you mention us to brothers as well?" "That's right, Brother Yu. Who doesn't know that your brother is most willing to promote newcomers?" Yu said with a smile. "If you had come half an hour later, I would have finished the fight and let you take away a lot of the credit. You can just be happy about it. You still want me to put on a show for you? No way." The two looked at each other and realized that they were in the wrong, so they said, "How about this, you take half of the credit, and the 5th Brigade and the 7th Brigade each take 25. Yu touched his chin and said, 60%, you each take 20%. Chapter 516 Changes of the Xiongnu. Hu Dehuang and Shang Sandu looked at each other and said, "Dio." They had already taken advantage of the situation when they arrived. Not only was the enemy's main general killed and the city wall collapsed, but their attention was also attracted. They descended from the sky like divine soldiers and started killing indiscriminately. However, Yu did not indulge in joy and said, "These people fled in panic. I have sent people to follow them to prevent them from coming back to kill us. Do they have the guts? Better safe than sorry." Yu said, "Besides, if you look at the people we killed, 99% of them were blonde-haired, blue-eyed Western Yi people, not the main force of the Xiongnu at all. Even so, these people are very different from the enemies we have encountered." He led the two of them to the side and pointed to the destroyed shield road on the side. "This thing can even carry the Yenyu heavy machine gun. Although it is bulky, it is definitely a good thing for a breakthrough. If modified and mass-produced, it would be very suitable for breakthroughs." The two of them were originally smiling playfully, but now their expressions became serious. "In addition, I observed the trenches they dug outside the city and the sandbags they piled up it. It's obvious that they have found a way to deal with us. But I don't understand why they rushed out. It is likely that their weapons are not advanced enough? Although they still conservatively believe that a large-scale charge can play a decisive role. But they are already changing the way they fight." Yu said solemnly. "This is a very important matter and must be reported truthfully. This vanguard team is more like a test. If they completely change their response methods, then we will need more bullets and more shells to kill these enemies. But if they hide in the bunker, the mortar bombardment may not kill them. The war will become more and more protracted, and even if we have the Yenyu heavy machine gun, it will be difficult to kill effectively. Even if we still have the upper hand, as long as they don't charge, we dare not advance rashly. Let's go over and take a look at the fortifications they dug." Shang Sandu walked over quickly and it was exactly the same as what Yu said. "If you had come a little later, my defense would have been torn apart by these people. As long as a cavalry unit of 100 people rushed over, our camp would be completely in chaos, and there is a 70% chance that it would be overwhelmed. Once the number of cavalry exceeds 1,000, We will lose, Diego Yu said with lingering fear. It's really strange, Hu Dahuang squatted on the ground. So, the three of us are planning to jointly publish this discovery, said Diego Yu. Both of them were stunned for a moment. But then they quickly realized that the credit belongs to the collective, and Diego Yu was being so stingy for the sake of his brothers. But this discovery was his own, and he shared it with them. This is the way of the world. Brother Gou, be righteous. Brother Gou, you are so generous. The two men flattered him wildly. Everyone knew that Diego Yu was a person who was registered with the emperor and had a bright future as long as they did not go astray. They could become generals at the division level, which was the lowest level in the future. But, should we stay here or? The two looked at Diego Yu. We are professionals in defending the city, but the Great Wall Pass is no longer usable. Building a city wall requires a lot of time and energy, and it is hundreds of miles away from Bau Jingji. Leave some people here to keep watch if there is any problem. Send a telegram immediately. Let's return to our original base to recuperate. We can add 20 to 50 of the military rations in the city. These prisoners will be divided into groups of 4, 3, and sent to Bianjing. Merits cannot be changed. But prisoners are alive and can be changed. This caused the two of them to flatter him wildly. Diego Yu smiled and then went to send a telegram. Soon, Bianjing received the news, and Shangwei was overjoyed. Great Diego Yu. He really made me proud. Well done to the 3rd Law, 5th Brigade, and 7th Brigade. In the first battle, more than 70,000 people were killed and more than 100,000 were captured. This wave of profit was huge. This first battle was exciting enough. Although they are not the main force of the Huns, who cares? However, in the intelligence, Diego Yu mentioned the changes, which made him look more serious. Brother Shang, take a look at this. Shanglai was resting in Bianjing. He took the intelligence and read it. He first congratulated, then frowned. I have heard a little about this matter. The Xiongnu people really should not be underestimated. This matter should be reported as soon as possible to prevent the brother army from suffering losses. Jiang Wei nodded. We are changing, and the enemy is changing too. Moreover, we have seized hundreds of bronze cannons. Although the quality of these bronze cannons varies, their lethality is not small, and the longest range is 800 meters. Although it's not a flower bomb, it's too numerous to be defeated. Shanglai glanced at Seng Liujin and immediately said, since this is your discovery, you should report it to the capital. I have rested and will lead my troops to leave Bianjing and take charge of Bau Jingji tomorrow. Tierma O also rubbed his hands and said, I can't wait to fight my way to Pingjing. News from the front line was transmitted back to Liangjing. Since the plan to kill Yan Zichai was set up, there have been a few quiet days. Xiao Jianjia also cleared herself of the injustice, but Li Yuan was also secretly investigating, trying to find out the mastermind behind the incident. In his opinion, whoever benefits most from Xiao Jianjia's resignation is the mastermind behind the incident. Xiao Jianjia also calmed down for a few days and thanked Li Yuan very much. Now, she is ready to train the palace maids. Li Yuan also provided some technology to support her career. If the harem can successfully support itself, it can set up a school and use the harem as a training point. In this way, the darkness in the harem will be lessened. But for now, it's just a concept. No matter what Xiao Jianjia wants to do, Li Yuan will not interfere. Just follow his pace in the general direction. Is there still no news about Honggu? Li Yuan asked Liu Su. Your Majesty, not yet. Liu Su shook her head. Li Yuan sighed. Have Xia Yuan and Hong Mei entered the palace? Your Majesty, they are doing the handover work and will enter the palace in the next few days, Luo Wobing replied. Prepare to draft an edict to let the two sisters live in the same palace, and Hong Mei will serve as the 4th concubine. Xia Hong Mei has a son now. She thinks that after so much hard work, it is time to bear fruit. Yes, Your Majesty, I will remind Your Majesty. Wobing nodded in reply, feeling a little envious in her heart, and happy for the two sisters to have achieved their bond. Report. Your Majesty, victory report from the Great Wall Pass. General Shang's 3rd Brigade's Diego Yu engaged the enemy's main force head-on and destroyed the city wall. The 5th Brigade, led by Hu Huang, and the 7th Brigade, led by Shang Sendu, surrounded the rear. Killed more than 76,000 enemies, captured more than 160,000, and defeated the Xiongnu. Quick, present it. Lu Yuan was delighted. He took the intelligence and read it carefully. Good. Diego Yu, good job. Chapter 570, Zhu Xianyu's threat. The news of Yan Zichai's murder will spread sooner or later. At that time, the Huns will surely launch a frenzied attack. The first battle was a great victory, which greatly boosted the morale of the army and intimidated the Huns. Li Yuan was in a good mood. Let's make the news of the great victory public and make everyone happy. Liu Su also smiled and said, we have won another victory. We now have hundreds of thousands more laborers. Wu Sun took the victory report, glanced at it, and felt a little emotional in his heart. But not too much to this day. He had long since given up the inappropriate thoughts. But can the Huns use to fight against Day? Unless a large-scale plague occurs in Day, forcing Day to switch from defense to offense, there is absolutely no possibility of winning. Wang Dak Hong knelt aside like a sculpture. When Wu Sun passed by him, a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Soon, the news of the great victory spread, and the capital became lively again. However, the people of Liangjing seemed to have long been accustomed to victory, although they were happy. It was just a topic of conversation after dinner. However, the national spirit, people's will and cohesion have risen invisibly. No court officials came to the palace to congratulate in large numbers. Only Cao Wei and Chu brought a few people to the palace to congratulate. The military was even more low-key, as if this victory was justified. Li Yuan then convened the military staff and held a brief meeting, the main focus of which was the changes in the Huns. Finally, the response experience was summarized and sent to the entire army via radio to learn new response tactics. It is precisely because of this continuous progress that they can always stay ahead. At this time, in a tea house in Bianjing, a dark-faced woman was sitting on the second floor watching the hustle and bustle of the traffic below. Feeling a little uncomfortable on her face, she reached behind her ear and immediately took off a mask, revealing her true face. It was Honggu, who had left Liangjing for a long time. She came to the capital to investigate for many days, but still didn't find many clues. She knew that Lu Qiushan was not to blame for this matter, but the pain in her heart was constantly devouring her heart. Perhaps he wanted to give an explanation for his pursuit over the years. But she told herself in her heart that she was just a barbarian. Her parents were traitors and had connections with the barbarians who did all kinds of evil. What qualifications did she have to find out the truth? Is it because of the blood flowing in your body? How ridiculous. These days she hasn't been eating or sleeping well. Her face has become much more haggard, and the sadness in her eyes is hard to conceal. My longing for Li Yuan and my son is like a tide. After learning that Li Yuan had appointed Xiaoji and Jia as the successor, she felt relieved. Perhaps it should be so. If she was born in a humble family before, then she is born in a despicable family now. How can she be qualified to be the queen and the mother of the country? She found it ridiculous to say this. What a blow it would be to Li Yuan to let a child with the blood of the wilderness flowing in his body rule Middle-earth. She can hide it for a while, but not forever. I originally wanted to help my brother recover his memory, but now I think that amnesia is also a kind of happiness. Just then, there was a knock on the door of the botch room. Her face turned cold, and she hurriedly put on the human skin mask. A woman walked in right after him. After searching for so long, have you found what you wanted? Who else could the person who came be if not Zhu Xiangyu? She ran. She chased. She couldn't escape. What exactly do you want? Honggu said helplessly. I taught you all your skills. Do you think you can escape? Zhu Xiangyu sat in front of her with her legs crossed. She picked up the cakes on the table and started eating. Aren't you afraid that I'll drug it? You are not that kind of person, even if you really poison me to death. That is my fate. Zhu Xiangyu started to eat with relish. Honggu was too good at hiding and running. She had run thousands of miles in recent days. She was old and really couldn't bear it anymore. Honggu said coldly, since you know I'm not that kind of person, why do you bother me? Xiao Honor, you have a mission to fulfill. There are some things you can't escape from, Zhu Xiangyu said. You know my temper. Over the years, I have never forced you. What do you want to do? You are a wild man. Don't you know what you should do? Said Zhu Xiangyu. It's impossible for me to deal with Day. Honggu said coldly. She also contributed to Day's current situation. Okay, I know you love Li Yuan deeply, and you would rather die than deal with him, but as a child, it is only natural to avenge your parents, right? The people of Middle-earth put filial piety first. The hatred of parents is irreconcilable. As a filial daughter, you can't just stand by and watch, right? Zhu Xiangyu picked up the teapot and drank from it, not caring at all whether Honggu had added any ingredients to it. He gulped it down and exhaled a satisfied breath and said, this is my only request. If you do it, I will not bother you anymore in this life. Including your son and your elder brother, I won't care about them. I'll just find a place to hide my identity and live out the rest of my life. Those who took action back then were either local soldiers or people from the imperial court. More than 20 years have passed, and some of them have long been buried. Even if they are still alive, they are very old and have disappeared. The world is so big, where do you want me to look for them? Honggu said coldly. There is an old saying among the people of China that a son should pay for his father's debt. Honggu said, Emperor Shenzong is dead, but his daughter is still alive. Killing Xiaoji and Jia can be regarded as revenge for your parents. If your parents knew about this, they would be able to rest in peace. Honggu was stunned for a moment. How old was she back then? What did she know? To be kind to the enemy is to be cruel to yourself. Xiao Honor, you didn't kill those evil people like this back then. Zhu Xiangyu said coldly. Lu Qiushan, you dare not kill Lu Yuan? You are reluctant to kill. Now I ask you to kill Xiao Jianjia, but you can't do it. Is she, Xiao Jianjia, innocent? If she is innocent, then aren't those people in Daqian who died tragically even more innocent? In a way, she is the real villain. Look how proud she is now. She has snatched the throne from someone else, killed all her own people, and tried to please Li Yuan. Feeling high and proud. What psychological burden do you have for killing such a vicious woman? Honggu looked a little painful. You don't have to go, but Xiao Honor, I'm telling you. Don't force me to look for your elder brother back then. Your elder brother knew our family's intentions. If he regains his memory, the first person he would kill might be Li Yuan. With his martial arts skills, once he gets close to Li Yuan, even gods will find it difficult to save him. What a beautiful big leaf. I'm afraid it will only last for 2 generations. But don't worry, I will definitely make your son the crown prince. Zhu Xiangyu smiled and said, if you make me angry, I will tell Li Yuan the truth and make sure your brother and the child die without a burial place. Chapter 571. Kill Xiao Jianjia. Why do you want to push me to death? Honggu clenched her fists. Said worst. I will die and that's it. If you die, I will stop you, and I will lose. Zhu Xiangyu said calmly, you are my niece, but let me tell you, your mother and I grew up together. And our relationship is even stronger than yours. If you listen to me, you are my niece. I will treat you as my own daughter and I am willing to die for you. But if you don't want to, and we will be enemies. Since you are my enemy, I naturally don't care about you. I just feel sorry for my sister for giving birth to such a bastard like you. You didn't see how tragically she died. I really should have brought you back to see it. She was lying there naked, with disgusting stuff dripping from her body. No one knew how many people had humiliated her. I don't know how many times he was stabbed. The wounds were so deep that you could see the bones. When you were a kid, you accidentally cut your finger while practicing with the sword and cried out in grief. My sister was stabbed so many times. How painful it must have been. Zhu Xianyu's eyes became increasingly stern. My brother-in-law was hung on the middle door, looking at the direction where your mother fell, and died with his eyes open. He watched his wife being raped by countless people. Can you imagine how cruel that was? When I went there, his body was covered with at least 80 arrows, if not 100. Those people used him as a living target for archery practice. How cruel. There is no one alive in the family. How tragic it is. If you have a heart, how can you speak for your enemy? Honggu was already in tears. Her heart was broken. Don't say any more, don't say any more. What qualifications do you have to tell me to shut up? Zhu Xiangyu sneered, you can die, but don't think that death will solve all problems. I won't let you die easily. Unless you kill me now. She took out a sharp dagger and threw it in front of her. Come, kill me. I will never resist. After saying that, she closed her eyes and waited calmly for death. Honggu kept shaking her head and looked at the dagger on the table. That was the gift she gave her. This was also the first time she used weapons seized from killing people in the martial arts world, and they could cut through iron like mud. I didn't expect that after so many years. She still kept it. At this moment, she was forced into a corner with no way to retreat. How could she bear to kill her master and aunt who raised her? I can't do it. Honggu choked up and said, Master, please don't force me. Peace in this world is hard won and can't stand it. Our family has been in Middle-earth for more than 200 years and has become a part of Middle-earth. There are countless foreign races in this land. I don't want to hear your nonsense. Since you can't kill me, then listen to me. Zhu Xiangyu smiled faintly, as if she saw through Honggu. Kill Xiao Jianjia, and I won't bother you anymore. You have your persistence, and I have my knot in my heart. I will not die in peace until I get rid of my knot. You don't kill Luke Yuishan because he is your father-in-law, I understand. Li Yuan is indeed good to you, I have seen it all, and this boy is indeed a overlord. Your son should have been the crown prince. But because of your stupidity, he lost the chance to become the crown prince. But it doesn't matter, as long as you kill Xiao Jianjia, your son will still be the crown prince. This world must also belong to your son. This is my last concession. If you can't do it, I would rather destroy everything and drag you evil creatures to hell with me. At the end of her speech, Zhu Xiangyu's face became ferocious. This was the first time that Honggu saw her with such a hideous face. And she knew that what she said was true. Once her goal cannot be achieved, she will really destroy everything. If Li Yuan knew her identity, he would definitely be heartbroken. If everyone in the world knew about this, her brother and Xiao Hu would definitely not survive. As long as they kept this secret, they would be safe. At this moment, she felt indescribable regret. If she had known this would happen, she should not have looked for Xiao Yanlong. As for Xiao Jianjia, a trace of pain flashed in her eyes, and then she gradually calmed down. Okay, I will kill Xiao Jianjia, and from now on, don't bother me anymore. It's a deal. Zhu Xiangyu smiled, picked up the dagger on the table, and put 2 cakes in her pocket. Let's got on to play tricks on me. I only give you 1 year if Xiaoji and Jia gives birth to a dragon. You will never have another chance. The door of the box closed again, and Honggu burst into tears. There was no point in her coming to Liangjing this time. I couldn't even die. I truly experienced the feeling of crying out to the heavens and the earth for help, but no one answered. At this time, inside the Fudi Palace, Xiaoji and Jia just came back from her children's place. The children are now taken care of by the Ministry of Clan Affairs, the Royal Infant Care Department in the Fudi Palace. And the rules are very strict. The children are very well protected. Every aspect of the children's food, clothing, housing and transportation is strictly recorded. Once a mistake is made, the person in charge will be directly found. Therefore, there are also a large number of female soldiers guarding this side. On weekdays, except for the staff inside in Xiaoji and Jia, the concubines were not allowed to enter. Not to mention looking after the children. Even passing things is impossible. A few days ago, Xi Ning wanted to see the child and insisted on breaking in. But was taken away directly without any room for negotiation. The truth behind the previous incident of throwing the child has also been revealed. Xiaoji and Jia held back and refused to say anything, fearing that it would upset Xi Ning and cause problems for the baby in her belly. And Xi Ning is now a little paranoid. Look, he started pretending to be sick and going on a hunger strike again these 2 days. This gave Li Yuan a headache. Your Majesty, concubine Xi still refuses to eat, Wo Bing said helplessly. Xiaoji and Jia frowned. Feeling very tired, it wasn't that she couldn't make up her mind, but such things were too common in the palace. Not to mention abortion. There were many cases where some concubines secretly drugged other people in order to maintain their favor. However, the Day Palace does not allow such things to happen, and this prohibition is not just verbal. Because Lu Yuan hated this kind of intrigue, Lu Qiushan usually only took care of the news agency, and Su Xiui didn't ask about the affairs of the harem, but they were all watching. If I, as the hostess, don't do my job well, I will definitely be ridiculed. When she came to power, people laughed at her and said she had no morals, was a king of a fallen country, was plagued by bad luck, could not give birth to a son, and was unworthy of being the mother of the country. Any one of these would be a great humiliation for a woman, and would be enough to kick her out of the house. But Li Yuan didn't care and still doted on her. Xiaoji and Jia was touched, so she wanted to return the favor by being a good queen and managing this big family well. Let's go and take a look. Soon, Xiaoji and Jia came to Xi Ning's bedroom. Upon learning that Xiaoji and Jia was coming, Xi Ning, who was lying on the bed, sighed and looked like he had lost all desire to live. Xi Ning, I heard you're on a hunger strike again. Sister, I'm not on a hunger strike, I'm just sick and have no appetite. Xi Ning looked sick. I'm sorry, I'm not able to salute you, sister. Chapter 572 Ultimatum. Xiaoji and Jia didn't care whether she was polite or not, and said, Xi Ning, do you think you can get anything by doing this? Do you really think that His Majesty is not coming to see you now because of me? Isn't it? Xi Ning looked at her dimly. Don't think too much. Sister, I didn't say that. I don't care what you think. What I care about is whether this big family is united. You have been with His Majesty for so long, you should know what kind of person he is and what kind of temperament he has. Why did you please him before, and why hasn't he come to see you for so long now? Shouldn't we reflect on this? To be honest, the baby in your belly doesn't have much value until he is born. You and I were born and raised in the palace. Don't we see it clearly enough? Xiaoji and Jia shook her head. Ask yourself, if I really had bad intentions, but you still be okay? It was I who asked your Majesty not to make it public. Xi Ning's heart was pounding, but he said stubbornly, that's the truth you want. Really? I just don't want you to be desperate. Xiaoji and Jia sighed. I don't want you to agree with me. I don't even care what you do, but I tell you, my patience is limited, and your Majesty's patience is also limited. Smart people bet on the future, not the present. I didn't come here to admit defeat. If it weren't for the child, no one would come to see you even if you rot in the palace. No one in the harem dares to contradict me. Even if it is His Majesty, if he wants to interfere in the affairs of the harem, he must first ask for my opinion. Sister is here to warn me, so I won't dare to do it again. Xi Ning said with a sigh. Whether it is a warning or not, each has his own opinion. What I want is harmony, even if it is just superficial. But 3 times the limit, you won't have the chance to do evil again. Xiaoji and Jia stood up and said to the maid in the bedroom, she should be treated and fed if she is really terminally ill. There is no way to save her. Don't worry about it, someone will come to collect the body when you die. I can guarantee that I will not hold you responsible. Everyone in the bedroom knelt on the ground, not daring to look up. Looking at Xiaoji and Jia's back, Xi Ning gnashed her teeth in anger. Go. Bring some food. She wants me to die, but I just don't do what she wants. When I give birth to a son, I will have plenty of opportunities to fight her. She also knew in her heart that if this continued, the last bit of affection Lu Yuan had for her would soon be exhausted. She just understood that Day's harem was different from other imperial palaces. So she dared to act like a demon. After Xiao Jianjie issued an ultimatum, she knew that if she didn't stop, no one would care even if she died in the palace. The servants brought the food and she ate it with relish. Not long after, Xiao Jianjie received the news and laughed. If she really wants to kill herself, then she deserves it. Luo Bing also laughed. Sister Luo, sit down and eat something together. We'll choose a location outside later. Luo Bing thought about it, and finally sat opposite Xiao Jianjie during the meal. She reminded him. His Majesty said that the bedrooms of concubine Xim concubine Xiao should be arranged next to concubine Xi if anything happens. The three of them are familiar with each other and can take care of each other. Xiao Jianjie gave a meaningful smile. Your Majesty is very thoughtful. She felt that she had just said too much. She only needed to tell Xi anything about this, which would surely scare her into having a stress reaction. Now, Emperor Jing has become a eunuch, given the name Wang Bag Ui, and is learning etiquette in the palace. The Queen of Jing dynasty also became a maid and was serving in the two sisters' homes. Given the tempers of the two sisters, if Xi Ning were to act up, wouldn't they kill her? Li Yuan's move was brilliant. Has the bedroom been tittied? She asked. I'd basically packed everything, but I still need to buy some things. Luo Bing took out a list and said, please take a look. Your Majesty. Xiao Jianjie took a look and said, take out 100,000 coins from my treasury to buy them. The two sisters have accompanied Your Majesty through difficult times and have made great contributions. We must follow the highest standards. 100,000 coins is equivalent to 10,000 taels of silver. Although there is some inflation during the war, it is still worth 9,000 taels of silver. It's just enough to buy some regular items. Yes, Your Majesty. Luo Bing nodded secretly these days. She followed Xiao Jianjie and watched her reorganize the harem. She still agreed with her methods. Relax in moderation, and never procrastinate when it is time to act decisively. But she didn't just put pressure on others, but use both kindness and force. This is something that Honggu could not compare to. It's all fate. Some people are born to be queens. Luo Bing sighed. Her eyes a little dim. The immense wealth fell into Honggu's hands twice, but she rejected it both times. Xiao Jianjie had lost once, so she cherishes the hard-earned opportunities even more. It's all fate. After dinner, Xiao Jianjie took Luo Bing out of the palace to select a site for the newly built urban area. Your Majesty, this location is only about 5 miles away from the Imperial Palace. It is the closest location. If we build a building here, it will be convenient to travel back and forth. Xiao Jianjie shook her head. It's too close to the palace. Look, there are no buildings higher than the palace within 3,000 meters. We are afraid that someone will attack the palace from a high place. Luo Bing seemed to be thinking about something. I didn't think it through properly. Try to get as far away as possible. We need to build a building with more than 10 floors. So the location must be large enough. There are only 8 million coins in the treasury. Is it enough? Luo Bing said worriedly. Xiao Jianjie said, don't worry, I have already discussed it with His Majesty. When the time comes, I will borrow money from His Majesty and repay it according to the loan interest rate. These 8 million coins are roughly the annual expenditure of the harem. There were few people in the harem of Day, unlike the 3 kingdoms. As for Da Qian, during the reign of Emperor Shenzong, the rouge money for concubines in the harem exceeded 500,000 tal year, not including salaries and so on. There are 30,000 to 50,000 people in the entire palace, and the expenses for their food, drink, and defecation are huge. There were other expenses as well, which totaled more than 1.5 million taels of silver in a year, and this was all less. Previously, the salaries of female officials were also paid from the national treasury, so these 8 million coins were enough for the harem to use and could not be spent at all. But now, if you want to use it for investment, it is not enough at all. Li Yuan originally wanted to give her a sum of support from his own treasury, about 30 million coins. Xiao Jianjie refused. With so much money, what can't be accomplished? Then the harem reform would be meaningless. Even if it costs money. I don't want to drag Li Yuan down. Luo Bing nodded. But, madam, there are still many things I don't understand about His Majesty's plan. Can it really work if it's just marketing? Chapter 573, Your Majesty. Please take back your order. Xiao Jianjie explained. What is the best cosmetic in our capital? 100 years fast. This Bae Neon Shea is actually a brand of Daxia, right? Yes. Their boss was on the verge of bankruptcy in Daxia, as his original products were not competitive. But after coming to Liangjing, he saw our Liangjing Cosmetics and simply changed his hands, and then he established Bai Neon Shea. Relying on Liangjing manufacturing, we successfully opened up the market in Daxia. In just 3 years, he became the #1 in Daxia and made a fortune every day. Thanks to publicity, it has even surpassed our brand. However, they still have to get their raw materials from us because we are at the top of the chain. Xiao Jianjia said, "This is how business works. If we establish a brand and use the harem as a banner, even if our products are poor, there will still be people willing to do business with us. In the past, the harem had its own small workshop for weaving, so Your Majesty asked us to start with clothing. As long as the brand is established, are you still worried that people will not accept it? By then, building a factory, hiring people, and distributing will not be a problem at all. The same principle applies to making perfume instead of textiles. Therefore, only one brand building was set up in the new city. People with talent can work outside the palace and don't have to go back to the palace." "Then, madam, don't they have to take the exam?" "It is definitely not enough to set up two examination halls, one inside the palace and one outside it is definitely not enough for me to supervise it alone. Moreover, sooner or later, power must be delegated. These maids in the harem are all contract workers. The only way to become regular employees is to take an exam. Our task is to train these people, demote those who are suitable, and let the unsuitable ones leave, while also finding a way out for them. We must let the world see that women are no worse than men." Wolbing didn't understand what he said, but she got the general meaning. Soon, Xiao Jianjia selected a vacant spot and asked Wolbing to write it down. "When the time comes, ask the people in the Ministry of Revenue how much this piece of land is worth, and we will buy it at that price." "My lady, do I have to pay for the land?" "Of course. Just follow the market price." Wolbing didn't understand, but she wrote it down anyway. After returning to the palace, she went to find Lu Yuan as soon as possible. "Your Majesty, the Queen has already chosen a location. It is in the new district 8 miles away from the southern district. About 7 acres of land. The Queen said that the Ministry of Revenue should follow the normal market price. The land price in the new district is not cheap. The price of 1 acre of land in the commercial district has risen to 300 coins in the central area. It is more than 500,000 coins. Lu Yuan said. "Yangjing has a population of over 3 million, and every inch of land is worth a lot of money now. It is the center of China. So it is reasonable that the price of 1 square meter is more than 50 tiles of silver as the CBD of China. What's wrong with 50,000 yuan per square meter?" Lu Yuan asked Wu Sun to bring a map of the new area, found the location chosen by Xiao Jianjia, and said, "The location here is very good, and the price is estimated to be even higher. The court originally wanted to auction it. If Jianjia wants it, then we can go with the regular price. 7 acres of land. That is, 3.5 million coins, equivalent to 350 taels of silver. This is still considered cheap. The place is planned as a commercial center. Any powerful chamber of commerce will settle there and build a commercial building to demonstrate its strength. In the central city area, 1 square meter costs at least 100 tiles of silver. And as Liangjing's population continues to increase, prices will soar." So Lu Yuan was wondering whether it was necessary to build a city wall in the future. Among the 3 surrounding directly administered cities, except for Taishan City, which has a population of about 400,000, the populations of other cities are all approaching 700,000. The most populous city is Hengshan, with a population approaching 900. Zoro as an experimental city open to immigrants. The business there is very developed, so Lu Yuan plans to build the Jingshao Railway around the Jingshao area. In addition to this, building restrictions are lifted in the outer areas. Although city walls are good, they are gradually losing their original function and have instead become the key to restricting urban development. Wolping smacked her lips and said, "This is too much. If we want a building with more than 10 floors, wouldn't it cost another million coins? 1,000,000 coins is not enough. The tallest building in the new city cannot be higher than 50 floors. It will cost at least 2 million coins. The leaf currency is valuable, but it cannot match the high price of supplies in the capital. And the 8 million coins in the Majesty's treasury won't last long," Wo Bing said with a bitter face. "In the future, I still have to pay salaries to everyone, give the Majesty cosmetics money, and there are other expenses. It is simply not enough. Don't worry about that. The initial investment is normal. You have to sacrifice to gain. Liu Su, take this map and go to the Minister of Revenue to get this piece of land." "Yes, Your Majesty." But soon, Liu Su came back, and with her came the newly appointed Minister of Revenue, Cheng Yufeng, Cao Yanhu, and Kai Yongshu. "Why are you here again?" Lu Yuan was almost having a stress reaction when he saw Kai Yongshu. "Your Majesty, are you going to set a precedent for the harem to interfere in government affairs?" Kai Yongshu said coldly. "If Your Majesty really cares about Your Majesty and the court, the best decision is to stop the wrong behavior. Even if you really want to do business, you can ask the Ministry of Revenue to come. If this precedent is set, the consequences will be disastrous." Lu Yuan was almost jaded, looked at him and said, "This is not interfering in politics. If this is not meddling in government affairs, then what is? Enclosing land, appointing people, isn't this just starting over?" There is no two masters in heaven. Does your majesty want to personally support another master? Tai Yangshu said coldly, it's not that we are old-fashioned. It's just that your majesty is too advanced and we can't keep up with your majesty's thinking. But although I am stupid, I also understand what is right and what is wrong. This new district was originally intended to be won by the highest bidder. To support business and generate revenue for the court, His Majesty waved his hand and gave it to the Queen at the regular price. Your Majesty, do you know how much money it cost to build the new city? How much money did you lose this time? Your Majesty has abolished agricultural taxes and replaced them with commercial taxes, which is a blessing for thousands of people. The abolition of corvée labor and its replacement with prisoners of war is also a blessing for the people. But Your Majesty, have you ever thought about what the officials below will think if you set this precedent? If someone in my family is engaged in business, can they also use their connections to sell the state's property to individuals at a low price? Seeing that Li Yuan's face was getting uglier, Cao Yanhu hurriedly said, Your Majesty, Lord Kai is also thinking about Your Majesty. The court officials did not understand this matter, and the entire palace was in an uproar. Admittedly, we are stupid and naturally cannot guess what Your Majesty is thinking. But Your Majesty, once this ban is lifted, it will not be easy to stop it in the future. I think this matter needs further consideration. Your Majesty, please withdraw your order. Chapter 574, The Lung Tube is Pierced. Li Yuan said calmly, You seem to be forcing the Queen, but in fact you are forcing me. You are putting a rope around my neck. If you stick your head out, you'll get hit by a knife. If you move backward, you'll also get hit by a knife. Is this your way of being a minister? Cao Yanhu lay on the ground with sweat faintly visible on his forehead. Kai Yangshu said, I have not forced the Queen, and I dare not force Your Majesty. Your Majesty is rich and the world belongs to Your Majesty. What's wrong with wanting a piece of land? No one dared to say anything. But Your Majesty has set a precedent today. So don't blame others for following your example tomorrow. As the saying goes, if the top beam is crooked, the bottom beam will be crooked. Li Yuan gnashed his teeth when he heard this. What do you mean by, the upper beam is crooked, the lower beam is crooked? If you keep talking, are you going to accuse me of competing with the people for profit? I told you, state-owned enterprises will not be abolished. The number of state-owned enterprises will increase in the future. Today, the harem is responsible for its own profits and losses, which not only relieves pressure on the court, but also reduces the burden on the national treasury, and also provides a way out for the thousands of female officials in the harem. This is an irreversible trend. All of you, come down to me. Bai Yangshu knelt there, but had no intention of getting down. Your Majesty, have you forgotten everything? Are you going to make drastic reforms? Indeed, I have not contributed a single bit to today's current status. But I understand that if I take too big a step, I might end up hurting myself. Today, the harem is responsible for its own profits and losses, selling land and doing business. This is no longer something that can be said to be heretical. I have only one thing to say. Is Your Majesty's position legitimate? In one sentence. Li Yuan was so angry that he was fuming. Cao Yanhu was numb. Is this something you can say? But Kai Yangshu not only said it, but also said it openly. There is no one in Yangping Palace who is not afraid. Hearing this, I couldn't help but gasp. You have to eat one mouthful at a time, and walk one step at a time. Without small steps, you cannot reach 1,000 miles. This is what the sage said. I like reading history books. Record many ambitious monarchs who had great ambitions and vision that ordinary people could hardly match. In a very short time, it emitted a dazzling light. But 99 of them died young. Those policies that seemed extremely impressive to later generations were short-lived. Bai Yangshu said in a deep voice, It is not that I want to frame Your Majesty, and I don't have that intention. I am just a surrendered minister. What qualifications do I have to jump around? However, in the past few decades, the people in Middle-earth have suffered a lot. Your Majesty is a wise monarch with great ambitions, and you have the ambition to conquer the world. It is my blessing to meet such a wise ruler. But Day is no longer the Liangjing with only 1 acre and 3 mu of land. At that time, Liangjing was surrounded by dangers, with barbarians nearby and the 3 kingdoms far away. Being located inland, the land is barren and we have no choice but to fight hard. But now Day is rich and has unified China. Your Majesty, the people under your rule are more than tens of millions, aren't they? At this point, Bai Yangshu paused and said earnestly, Your Majesty is still young, you should proceed steadily and carefully. Governing a big country is like cooking a small fish. There is still a lot of time to change this country and this world. Instead of just one cluster, it is hard to accept. How can I not hope that my country and my people will be safe and sound? He lay on the ground and said with all his strength. No one among the officials dared to say that this is not a good thing. On the contrary, it is a bad thing. Today, I am really feeling very depressed and I cannot help but speak out. Your Majesty, please think twice before you act. Yongshu's voice echoed in Yangping Hall. Inexplicably, the anger in Liu Yuan's heart suddenly disappeared. He began to reflect seriously. From Kai Yangshu's perspective, no, from his own point of view, this is also to make Xiao Ji and Ji achieve results as soon as possible. Kai Yangshu's words about whether he was in the right position directly hit him in the lungs. It is best not to ask about the rumors from the outside world, but Liu Yuan overlooked one thing, that is public opinion. This is undoubtedly something that will cost him his reputation and dignity. For Xiao Ji and Jia, the best way to get rid of the rumors at this moment is to give birth to a son. But before that, Liu Yuan had already announced to the world that Honggu would be the queen. Therefore, the stain on Xiao Ji and Jia will never be washed away in her lifetime. Lao Lu said he wanted to use newspapers to create momentum. But in the end nothing came of it. Because this trend is just deceiving oneself. The circulation of each issue of Langjing newspaper is over 500,000 copies. And the special edition has a circulation of 1 million copies, which are circulated throughout the country. The announcement of the enthronement of Anita Mui was a special issue. Those newspapers can't be false. He can't order people to collect the newspapers, can he? Staring at this stain is a kind of harm to Xiao Ji and Jia. No wonder Xi Yangning is so unconvinced. As Kai Yangshu said, it is not necessarily a good thing if no one says anything. They are not convinced. Liu Yuan tapped his fingers on the table, and after a long while he said, I will give an explanation to the world about this matter, but the reform of the harem cannot be delayed. It is not only a problem of the harem, but also a new round of reforms will be carried out in the future. All of you go away. It is a new dynasty, a new atmosphere. Nothing stays the same. The same goes for the world. Hi King, just as you said, I am still young and there is still room for trial and error. If things remain unchanged, they will eventually become a stagnant pool in the future. You have to think about it. Why did Emperor Lizong of Diaxia want to reform? And why did Emperor Rexia want to learn the day model? Aren't these all reforms? If a tree is moved, it will die. If a person moves, he will live. Any rules and policies must keep up with the times and change with current circumstances. You can't use the laws of the previous dynasty to execute officials of this dynasty. Yangshu slowly raised his head and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he didn't want to get involved in the harem reform at all, but not wanting to get involved doesn't mean it's right. Many people had opinions about this, and he was just reminding the emperor. Now it seems that the emperor understood what he meant. Things also have different levels of importance and urgency. Some things can be suppressed and it's okay, but some things, once fermented, will inevitably lead to disasters. He has been in Day for so long, how could he not understand the national conditions of Day? Reform is the most normal thing for Day. Both the people and the officials are very accepting of such things. The emperor's prestige is too high and he is almost the final say. It is impossible to compete with him. How many of these surrendered ministers hold important power? What's more, this was another victory, and the emperor's prestige was pushed to another peak. The majesty of any founding emperor cannot be balanced by his subjects. However, he also understood Liu Yuan's temper and knew that he was a very broad-minded person. No matter how harsh his words were, as long as he had no selfish motives, the emperor would not do anything to him. In this respect, Emperor Xie is far inferior to Liu Yuan. This is also the reason why he quickly focused on Day. Your Majesty is right. I am narrow-minded. Kai Yang Shu Kao Daoed. Everyone, go down. I will give you an explanation later. Chapter 575 Liu Yuan's Choice. Your Majesty is wise and wise. I will take my leave. Yang Shu and others said goodbye and left. After leaving Yangping Palace, Cao Yanhu's legs went weak. He looked at Kai Yangshu and said, Brother Kai, I'm almost scared to death. Can you be a little more restrained in your words next time you speak? What are you afraid of? Our Majesty's mind is much broader than you think. Kai Yangshu stroked his beard and said with a smile, You are different. You are a latecomer and cannot experience that kind of oppression. As for the old ministers of Biaoyang, they all respect and fear His Majesty from the bottom of their hearts, and no one dares to refute him because everything His Majesty says is right. And countless results have proven Your Majesty's wisdom. Cao Yanhu said, Your Majesty is right, and we, the ministers, are wrong. If Your Majesty is the boat and the people are the water, then we are the sails. The key force that can help this big ship sail further. I naturally revere Your Majesty, but in my heart, I cannot tolerate such a wise and enlightened monarch having the slightest blemish on his reputation. I have been an official for most of my life, and I am almost dead, but I have just met such a saintly king. I care more about him than anyone else. Kai Yangshu murmured. Cao Yanhu stood in awe and said, Thank you for your advice. Although he is smart, he is ultimately just a counselor. He was promoted to this position purely because Your Majesty is nostalgic and wants to command civil officials, which is acceptable. But compared with Kai Yangshu, who had been an official for decades and was once the Minister of Literature of the great Xia, he was not as impressive as before. This courage and persistence are not something that ordinary people possess. Inside the palace, Yu Su said awkwardly, "Your Majesty, now that we have obtained the land, should we report to the queen or?" "Go and report." Li Yuan waved his hand. "Forget it, it's time for dinner. Let's go to Fudi Palace to see the children." Li Yuan moved to Fudi Palace and went to the nursery to check on the children. The little ones were taking a nap. They were all white and plump and were well taken care of. When Xiaoji and Jia learned that Lu Yuan had arrived, she also hurried over and said, "Your Majesty, why didn't you tell me you were coming? When you're done, come over for dinner." Lu Yuan smiled. "Also, the land has been approved." "Great, if that's the case, then let the Ministry of Industry's Design Institute produce the blueprints, and then let the Ministry of Industry undertake the construction." There are now 10 construction teams with names starting with the character Bong. They not only undertake national-level projects, but also large private projects. It can also be regarded as increasing state-owned income. It is indispensable for state-owned enterprises, and private enterprises should also be strongly supported. Middle-earth is so large that it can accommodate a large number of companies to coexist, and the two should compete with each other. We cannot allow any one company to dominate the market. Moreover, Kai Yongshu didn't understand that he wanted to build the entire industry. A reform of the harem was just a casual act. Okay, you can do it, but the communication between the harem and the Ministry of Works is not very good. Unless it is necessary, don't come forward to communicate in person. You can promote some maids and eunuchs to come out to connect. Zhao Ji and Jia nodded and understood Li Yuan's difficulties. The harem's interference in politics is a topic that can never be avoided. Looking back over the past 3,000 years, no monarch would allow his wife to do so. There is only Lu Yuan. "I see. I'm hungry." Xiaoji and Jia took Lu Yuan's hand and said, "I'm eating right now." After entering the bedroom, Xiaoji and Jia enthusiastically served Lu Yuan food. There were not many dishes, just 2 meat dishes. 1 vegetable dish and 1 soup for the queen. This configuration was so simple that it was scary. However, Lu Yuan usually uses this configuration and is not extravagant. "I plan to set up 2 large dining halls in the palace to solve the dining problems for officials, guards and maids. What do you think? Is there a safety hazard? So many people are testing the poison. What do you think?" Li Yuan said with a smile. "It's feasible this way, we can save a lot. It won't cause each palace to have its own separate budget, which will lead to uncontrollable expenditure. This way, we can save a lot of trouble." Xiao Ji and Jia said. She had worked in a military hospital. The canteen there was very good. Patients could eat there. And most of the medical staff also ate there. It was convenient and hygienic. After the meal, Li Yuan took a sip of hot soup and said, "Thank you for your hard work these days." "It's not hard, this is also for myself," Xiao Ji and Jia said. Li Yuan smiled. The mature Xiao Ji and Jia met his requirements in every aspect. Sometimes, she understood what he meant with just 1 sentence. He liked her at first sight, and they were still happy to get along with each other. But thinking about what he was going to say next, he sighed and said, "Ji and Jia, do you blame me for letting you be the queen? Why do you ask? So many rumors, so many cold eyes and hurts. Most people can't accept it at all." Xiao Ji and Jia held his hand tightly and said, "As long as Honggu is here, I won't have the slightest thought of competing with her. I only blame myself for not being sensible before and losing the opportunity. Why can't I go up if Honggu is not here? I have already paid the price for my youthful recklessness. You can't let me feel ashamed for the rest of my life. Besides, she is a woman, so I am not your woman. I am confident that I can be a good queen. I don't care what others say about me. I only care about you and this big family, and whether it is harmonious or not, that is enough. Besides, I am a woman. Why should I care about those reputations? Besides, don't I have enough bad reputation? A king who lost his country, a foolish king, a king who was fond of showing off his power. If I were to be recorded in history books, I would definitely be one of the last kings in thousands. I can't be an emperor, and I can't be a woman either. It doesn't make sense." Li Yuan was filled with emotion. The woman in front of him had truly changed completely. "I made you the queen. But I didn't announce it to the world down. I am going to announce it to the world. Besides that, I also need to give an explanation to the people of the world. After all, in the eyes of the people, Honggu is the rightful queen. I can't let you bear the blame." Xiao Ji and Jia lowered her head. "So you want to take back my queen? It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if you take her back." "No, I won't take it back." "Have you heard the story of Yi Huang and Niu Ying?" Lu Yuan asked. "Is there such a story?" Xiao Ji and Jia frowned. Li Yuan thought about it and realized that there was no Yi Huang and envying in this world. But there were similar stories. He thought about the history he had seen before. The founding emperor of the Yu dynasty married a pair of twin sisters. So he made an analogy. Xiao Ji and Jia asked, "What's wrong with this story? People in the world value legitimacy. So let's stop their gossip, Liu Yuan said. I plan to appoint a queen. You will be the queen of the East Palace, and she will be the queen of the West Palace. Zhao Jianjia was silent. I don't mind, but this matter is basically about the distinction between legitimate and illegitimate children. Achuzi is my eldest son, but not my legitimate son. But that's not important. After I drive away this group of invading Xiongnu, I will reform the inheritance law. Whether he is the eldest son or not is not important. Chapter 576 The Real Purpose. She knew about Liu Yuan's reforms, but when she heard this, Zhao Jianjia was also distracted for a while. What do you want to do? Liu Yuan pulled her over, held her in his arms, and whispered his thoughts. What do you think? Crazy. This is definitely not a wise move at this point. Zhao Jianjia said solemnly. Some things cannot be changed overnight. Of course I understand the significance of the distinction between legitimate and illegitimate children, but under the Enfei-Offment order, the concept of legitimate and illegitimate children in China is not what I thought. I am not afraid to tell you that if one day our son is not fit to be emperor, I will replace him without hesitation, Liu Yuan said. Zhao Jianjia sighed. I don't care whether my son is the crown prince or the emperor. It's too far away to talk about these things now. If you really have this idea, then the policies in the harem cannot be implemented. Before Liu Yuan could speak, Zhao Jianjia said, the harem cannot interfere in politics. I can still use other excuses to cover it up. I don't care if you set up to queens in the east and west to stop people from talking. Not to mention that Honggu is not here. Even if she is here, what would it matter? But you have to know that she and I are not real twin sisters. If one day she returns to the palace, how should I treat her? I understand Honggu's personality. She is proud and an uncompetitive person. But you can't leave hidden dangers for the future, right? I would rather not be the queen, and I don't bother to share this position with others. It doesn't have that much appeal to me. I have heard of a testing technology in the hospital that can detect blood vessels, but this technology is not yet mature. If there is a problem with the bloodline, who can guarantee it? Do I dare to let them go out casually? With so many concubines in the harem, can you handle it all by yourself? It's okay if you dote on them, but how many people wouldn't blame you if you don't dote on them? Liu Yuan frowned slightly. That's not what I meant. Of course I understand, but I don't want to feel like I owe her anything. Honggu is Honggu and I am me. If your majesty feels embarrassed, there is no need to do so. Zhao Jianjia shook her head. Liu Yuan was in a dilemma. Then, instead of having two queens, let's have an imperial concubine. A rank is below the queen and above the 4 concubines. It can be considered as a kind of compensation. How do you think? Your majesty is trying to silence outsiders. Not me. My opinion is not important. Of course it's important, you, Ray, my wife. So I naturally care about your opinion. Liu Yuan said seriously. I know that the purpose of the marriage is to ensure the purity of the bloodline and to protect you as the legal wife. I have wanted to reform the inheritance law for a long time. Not every legitimate son is outstanding, and not every illegitimate son is stupid. I just don't want things like the fight for succession to happen again and again in this palace. After the harem becomes independent, you, the queen, will have absolute power and no one can shake you. Therefore, there will be no problem even if the inheritance law is reformed. It is not uncommon for illegitimate sons to compete for the throne, but I have never seen them treat their legitimate mothers well. Even if it is your own son, you may not be able to treat him equally. You and I are so young, it is not uncommon to have 3 or 4 sons in the future. If you favor some over others, how can they feel balanced? In the future, if they do something disrespectful to each other, can you and I stop them? Zhao Jianjia's eyes were complicated. So, you hope to reform the bill to give all children a fair chance? Yes. Because the fight for the throne is so normal. Before I became emperor, I only had Huan as my child. If my children gradually grow up and make contributions while I am fighting for world domination, and I won't have to worry so much. Liu Yuan sighed. If one day they only recognizes monogamy, then there will be no distinction between legitimate and illegitimate children. May's national law protects the weak. So next, I will definitely reform the marriage law to give those women fairness. I understand. Zhao Jianjia looked at her husband and suddenly understood what he was going to do. Those who have 3 wives and 4 concubines don't have to worry about food and clothing. How many ordinary people have 3 wives and 4 concubines? They have already used up all their strength just to provide food and clothing for the whole family. This is the oppression of poor peasants by the powerful apart from ordinary people who have nowhere else to go. How many scholarly families would be willing to let their daughters become concubines? Even if there is, it is to curry favor with the powerful. Liu Yuan said calmly, I want to eradicate the aristocratic families, so I have to do this. They all think I'm crazy, but my real purpose is here. Zhao Jianjia was startled and stared at her husband in a daze. I was wondering why you insisted on doing such a thing. The Liu Yuan I know is not such an impulsive person. I didn't expect that your real purpose was this. If I issue the enfeoffment order, they will all be on guard against me. I don't have to worry about Dakian, because the aristocratic families have long been wiped out, and the remaining ones will not be able to achieve anything. But the Jing Xia dynasties were different. They planned the bombing just to get you down. So I have to kill them. Li Yuan said coldly. Xiao Jianjia held his face and said, "You should have told me earlier, I would have cooperated with you. We should face this kind of thing together. I didn't want you to know at first. I thought you just had to do your own thing and be happy, because once you were involved, things would become complicated. So, I want you to play a trick with me." Li Yuan revealed his plan. Xiao Jianjia nodded heavily. "Okay. I'll cooperate with you. You may suffer some grievances during this period, but believe me, no matter what happens, I will always stand by you." Li Yuan held her hand and said seriously, "I understand." Xiao Jianjia nodded heavily. Li Yuan smiled, picked her up and walked inside. "What are you doing in broad daylight? I can only see clearly during the day. When I turn on the lights at night, it always seems a little blurry. What's wrong with me appreciating the flowers I grow?" Xiao Jianjia was extremely ashamed. Li Yuan is a qualified flower grower. He not only loves to grow flowers, but also likes to appreciate flowers. When I see the bright petals, I always move them inadvertently. Just like a hardworking bee, it tirelessly collects nectar from the stamens. Seeing that the flowers were a little dry, he immediately watered them to moisten the dry soil. Soon, the flowers became translucent and exuded fragrance. Li Yuan also knew that if he watered the plants today, it would not be so easy to water them in the next period of time. I also checked the condition of the flowers over and over again. After thoroughly inspecting the flowers in Fudi Palace, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Xiao Jianjia also cooperated with her very well. After all, when Li Yuan was not around, she was the one responsible for growing the flowers. Seeing how well she had taken care of the flowers, she couldn't help but blush when Li Yuan praised her. Chapter 577, The one who tied the bell must untie it. But after admiring the flowers, for some reason, the two started arguing over something. Li Yuan even threw something and walked away angrily. Everyone in the Fudi Palace was trembling with fear, not understanding what was going on. Clearly, half an hour ago, the two were fine, enjoying the flowers together, but half an hour later, they started quarreling. His Majesty smashed things in anger. And when the Queen came out, her eyes were red. There are no secrets in the palace, and soon the news of the quarrel between His Majesty and the Queen spread. Xi Yining suddenly perked up. "Tell me, what did you quarrel about?" The maid said, "I don't know either, but I heard that it seemed that the quarrel was caused by Lady Zhu. What happened to Hong Gu? It is said that because the harem was responsible for its own financial affairs, the Empress sent people to the Ministry of Works to ask for land, which angered the civil officials. Lord Kai said that the Queen had obtained the throne by illegitimate means, and His Majesty was so angry that he ran to Fudi Palace. It isn't clear what they said specifically, but they all said that His Majesty wanted to give an explanation to Empress Su and wanted to establish a queen in the West Palace. The Queen disagreed, and a quarrel broke out. The maid said in a low voice, "Your Majesty, this is to fake. Your Majesty is such a wise man. How could he have two queens? Even if he is willing, the ministers are not willing. No, this is really possible." Xi Yining's eyes lit up. "You know, Hong Gu is the real queen. And she, Xiao Jianjia, is just a robber. How many people would accept that? Go and ask around," Xi Yining ordered. After the maid left, she was so excited that she couldn't help it. Xiao Jianjia had come to the throne illegitimately and had no son, so her position as queen was not stable. If the situation gets out of hand, she will have a chance. Soon, the maid came back. "My lady, something terrible has happened." "What's wrong?" "His Majesty has issued an edict to establish the Queen of the West Palace to compensate Empress Zhu." "Is the news true?" Xi Yining grabbed the maid's hand. 9 out of 10 times, the news is spreading in the palace. It is said that this matter has alarmed many ministers, the maid also said. "Not only that, His Majesty seems to have issued a bill." "What bill?" "I don't know either." "Go explore again, quickly." Xi Yining became secretly excited. The ladies in the harem were also asking for news. "Sister, I heard that His Majesty had a big fight with the Queen. Is it true?" Li Baiyu asked. Li Wuyu was exercising on a bouncy ball, trying to restore her pre-pregnancy figure as much as possible. That should be the case. She didn't get the position legitimately, and she didn't announce it to the world. Although outsiders didn't say anything, few people were convinced. How can the people accept a person who is not legitimate as the Queen? His Majesty consulted with her, but she disagreed and a quarrel broke out. His Majesty was so angry that he slammed the door and left. Li Baiyu sneered. "She really doesn't know what's good for her. Your Majesty loved her so much in the past. She is such a petty-minded woman." What the outside world said was true. She just had other thoughts in mind. Shut up and don't talk nonsense. This is not something you can get involved in until His Majesty is completely disappointed in her. No one can bring her down. Don't forget, there are the Emperor and the Empress Dowager, and the eldest princess also supports her. As long as the Queen is not deposed, keep your mouth shut. Don't agree with what outsiders say, understand? Li Wuyu looked at her belly and said, the key is to give birth to the child safely and safely and safely. If you give birth to a dragon son, given your Majesty's temperament, as long as you don't commit suicide, no one can touch you. Li Baiyu touched her belly and said, I understand. Sister. This matter soon reached Suxiu's ears. She immediately found Xiao Ji and Jia as soon as she entered Fudi Palace. She saw Xiao Ji and Jia crying. Ji and Jia, what happened? Mom. No, nothing. Xiao Ji and Jia wiped away her tears. You said it was nothing. But I heard Xiao Yuan took action. Did he hit you? No. Xiao Ji and Jia shook her head. We just had some disagreements. No matter how big the disagreement is, we can't throw things. Right? Suxiu held her hand. Tell mother why. Xiao Ji and Jia couldn't say it at first, but couldn't stand Suxiu's questioning, so she said, I also know that I am replacing Honggu, so I want to make some achievements. I don't know who told His Majesty to insist on establishing a queen in the West Palace. I said, it's okay to establish a queen, but what about the children in the future? It's impossible for the children of two queens to both be legitimate sons, right? Or should I not give birth to a son in the future? This brat is so stupid. How can there be two queens? Suxiu said angrily, I will teach him a lesson. Ji and Jia. Don't be sad, mother will help you vent your anger. Mom, forget it. He was also pissed off by those people below. Xiao Ji and Jia held her hand and kept shaking her head. How can you take it out on your wife when you're angry at someone else? Suxiu patted the back of her hand. Don't worry, he still has to listen to me, his mother. Having said that, she left angrily. At this time, Li Yuan not only established the Queen of the West Palace, but also called the Ministry of Revenue. 3 departments, and all the ministers over, from today on, order the Ministry of Revenue and the 3 departments to revise the marriage law. This is my revision opinion. Go and discuss it, and give me an accurate answer when the time comes. Everyone passed the scribbled revisions around and was stunned. Your Majesty, think twice. Since ancient times, there has only been one man and one wife. How can one man have 3 wives and 3 concubines? Besides, how can the offspring of a concubine compete with the legitimate son for the family property? This is against etiquette. Your Majesty, the marriage law must not be amended arbitrarily. Amending it in this way will cause trouble. Dai's national law requires fairness. Stop making noise here. I will give you 7 days to revise the law. Go away. Li Yuan waved his hands impatiently. Everyone wanted to say something, but they were carried out by the guards. Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. Li Yuan has always been known for his good temper and broad mind. He is also able to accept the suggestions of his ministers, be close to virtuous ministers and stay away from villains. He is a model of a sage monarch. It seems that this time, Lord Kai has completely angered His Majesty. Hey, what's going on? Isn't this an unexpected disaster for us? Wang Ju saw everything and said, the one who tied the bell must deny it. Go find Kai Yongshu. This marriage law cannot be changed. This is more severe than the Yanfei Offment order. Once it is implemented, it will disrupt the moral principles and there will be no distinction between legitimate and illegitimate, and illegitimate children would enter the world be in chaos. Yes, His Majesty is angry now and won't listen to anyone. Go find Lord Kai. After everyone discussed it, they all felt that Kai Yongshu was still needed to appease the emperor, otherwise, things would get out of hand. Chapter 578. The fight began. Kai Yongshu was also confused when he saw his colleagues coming towards him. When everyone came to tell them their purpose, they were all confused. If Yang Tao and others were the happiest when Xiao Ji and Jia became the queen, then everyone was excited when the Queen of the West Palace was established. From the perspective of Yang Tao and others, it is absolutely impossible to establish the Queen of the West Palace. This move was recognized by some conservatives. After all, the matter was done and they had heard a little about concubine Zhu's affairs, so they really could not blame the emperor. Bei is the greatest dynasty in the past 3,000 years, how could it allow such a mess to occur? No matter who they were ministers of before, they all spontaneously defended the emperor's dignity at this moment. But some people don't think so. The old ministers of the Xia and Jing dynasties don't care whether the emperor wants to reform the marriage law, restrict wives and concubines, and allow the concubines' children to have inheritance rights. Isn't this the Yanfei Offment order? That's nothing. Anyway, monogamy has been the norm since ancient times. So you can just ignore those concubines. Who cares about you? Who dares to fight for the family property? But the situation is different for the vacant position of Empress Shigong. The elder concubine Li gave birth to a prince, and the younger concubine Li is also pregnant. They are the strongest competitors of the Queen Mother Shigong. Although concubine Xie is making a lot of noise. Don't forget that there are also sisters Xie Hongmei and Xie Yuan who are pregnant with a prince. Putting aside other things, just because the two sisters have the surname Xia, the old ministers of Jing dynasty will also take the initiative to approach them. So, this is an opportunity that fell from the sky. Lord Kai, please go and persuade His Majesty. Otherwise it will become a joke. A country cannot have two rulers, let alone two queens. Isn't that a complete mess? Lord Kai, you have provoked His Majesty to this extent, yet he still has the mind to drink tea here. The conservatives started to criticize you, saying that it didn't matter even if you, Kai Yongshu, were one of the 9 ministers. They now all suspect that Kai Yongshu did it on purpose in order to create an opportunity for concubine Li. Kai Yongshu, I knew you were holding back. How did the queen get the throne illegitimately? How dare that bastard say that our queen is not a good person? She gave birth to the dragon girl for your majesty, and met your majesty when they were humble at that time. Your majesty was only a county magistrate, and the empress had already given herself to your majesty. He understood the righteousness of the cause and took the initiative to integrate Daqian in today. He led the troops on an expedition of thousands of miles, defeated the Huns in Lanzhong city, and recovered the lost territory. How many other female generals can have such achievements as our queen? Our queen is capable of assisting His Majesty in pacifying the harem with literary means, and is also capable of taking up arms and expanding the territory for His Majesty. If she is not in the right position, who is? Everyone's saliva was almost spraying onto Kai Yongshu's face. Looking at the excited crowd. Before Kai Yongshu could speak, Sun Wuji came and said, yes, the queen did get to know your majesty when they were still in humble positions. But what did your majesty do later? She abandoned her husband and daughter. If it weren't for your majesty's influence, would she have come back? She even married a man from the Wang family. Is this moral? Bullshit, that's just a rumor from the outside world. Don't take it seriously. Yang Tao rolled up his sleeves. Fuck you, you dare to spread rumors here. Don't force me to beat you. How could Yang Tao not know whether it was true or false? Although it was a political conspiracy, many people knew about it. But now, no one dared to mention it. Didn't you see that Wang Jingzi has turned into Wang Dakong? The Wang family usually behaves in a low-key manner. How many of them dare to speak out? If you don't want others to know, then don't do it. You hit me? What qualifications do you have to hit me? If I wasn't so angry and hit your pain, would you be so anxious? Sun Wuji sneered. Master Kai, I think you are right. The Queen of the West Palace should be established. It can be regarded as an explanation to the world. Otherwise, how can we convince the people? Your Majesty is a man of great virtue and integrity, a wise and enlightened ruler not seen in 3,000 years. How could there be any stain on him? Sun Wuji raised the banner high and spoke with such righteousness. The officials behind him all offered their help. Yes. What Lord Kai said is all mature and wise advice for the country. I support Lord Kai. Yang Tao, you are an unfilial son who killed his father. You have no right to speak. This sentence directly pierced Yang Tao's lungs instantly. His eyes turned red and he raised his fist to hit him. Fuck you, who killed my father. In Middle-earth, regicide and patricide are the greatest sins. Even if a saint is guilty of these crimes, he will become a sinner for all eternity. Yang Tao felt very aggrieved. He didn't kill the old man. So why was he blamed? A punch hit the man directly in the eye socket, knocking him to the ground. Yang Tao killed someone. In an instant, the scene became chaotic and people from both sides started fighting each other. Hai Yongshu sat there cross-legged drinking tea. He wanted to say something, but after thinking about it, he was more attracted by the fragrance of the tea in his hand. When Cao Wenhu learned that the civil officials were fighting, he rushed over from the secretary's desk. Seeing the chaos at the scene, he shouted angrily, "What are you doing? Stop it now!" Cao Wenhu was so angry that he was trembling with anger. These people would not let him have any peace at all. The old ones from the past are better. They are obedient and less troublesome. These surrendered ministers are all old foxes, each one more cunning than the other. Seeing Cao Wenhu coming, everyone stopped. But their official hats were lost, their clothes were torn, their noses and faces were bruised, and their noses were bleeding all over the floor. One person had blood all over his face. He covered his face and greeted their ancestors. "You bastard, you grabbed my face. Are you fucking women?" While greeting, he bared his teeth and gasped for air, looking both miserable and funny. Yang Tao spat out a mouthful of blood foam. "Stop scolding me, let's go to the emperor and duel. It's either you die or I live." Sun Wuji did not leave the battlefield, but attacked from the side, but he was not injured. Seeing Cao Wenhu coming over, he hurriedly said, "Master Cao, it was Yang Tao who started it first. We were just forced to fight back. They called me an unfilial son who killed his father. If I don't refute them, won't I be a sinner for eternity?" Yang Tao gritted his teeth and said, "Let alone hitting them. Even if we kill them, this is a legitimate excuse." Cao Wenhu didn't care why they were fighting, and angrily yelled, "Do you know who you are? You are officials appointed by the imperial court of Day, the backbone of the country, and His Majesty's right-hand men, yet you fought in such a solemn place, disgracing the face of officials appointed by the imperial court and bringing shame to His Majesty. I will definitely punish you all today. Everyone was a little nervous. Even if the censorate reports you, His Majesty may not necessarily punish you, but if Cao Hu reports you, you'll be in trouble. He did not have a civil or military prime minister, but Cao Hu was the first civil official in Day, the earliest state to the emperor. He was also the person the emperor trusted the most. Sun Wuji was not afraid, and said with a smile, "Since the husband says he is right and the wife says she is right, let's go before His Majesty and decide who wins." Chapter 579. Let the bullets fly for a while. What are you arguing about? You are not allowed to go. Cao Hu said angrily, "Whoever dares to go to Yangping Palace today is against me, Cao Hu, and I will punish him if he dares." Sun Wuji gritted his teeth and said, "Lord Cao, your Majesty wants to reform the marriage law and establish a queen in the West Palace. Doesn't this kind of major event require consultation from everyone? Your Excellency is the head of the 6 ministries, so why don't you ask about this matter?" Cao Hu snorted coldly. "The 6 ministries will naturally discuss it. And you don't need to remind them, but I'm putting this here today. Don't bother His Majesty anymore and leave." Yang Tao didn't dare to be too arrogant, but he and Sun Wuji had a grudge against each other. It was a power struggle, and it was either you or I. There was nothing to talk about. This is only because the old ministers of the Xiad dynasty did not come, otherwise, they would have been beaten as well. After everyone left, Cao Hu looked at the calm Kai Yongshu and said angrily, "They started fighting, and you just sit here drinking tea and watching the show? What else can I do? I'm an old man, and I'm going to try to stop the fight? Won't these young people break my old bones?" Yongshu smiled faintly. "Brother Kai, what do you think we should do about this? His Majesty is angry and is determined to make these 2 things happen. If this gets out, it will damage your Majesty's reputation. Setting up 2 queens, isn't this a joke? It will leave Head in dangers," Cao Hu said. "I understand the truth, but your Majesty is angry. Who dares to persuade him? I am indeed stubborn, but that doesn't mean I am not afraid of death." Kai Yongshu poured him a cup of tea and advised him to sit down and calm down and not get angry. "How can I not get angry? What's going on?" Cao Hu picked up the tea and started to drink it, but he realized something was wrong after finishing it. "Brother Kai, something is wrong with you. If it were in the past, you would have gone to school. Oh no, to admonish His Majesty. Why are you still sitting here now? Tell me the truth. Do you have any new plans?" "What can I plan? I am just a sandbag, a shield, and an outlet for everyone to vent their anger. How dare I say anything?" Kai Yongshu put down his teacup and sighed. "Don't worry. Our Majesty is sober." "You mean His Majesty is not angry?" "I'm not a worm in His Majesty's stomach." "Oh, what I know." Kai Yongshu shook his head. "Don't worry about this matter. We can go when His Majesty summons us." "Just leave them alone?" Cao Hu said in a deep voice. "How can I not know what they are planning? They are all capable of beating dog brains." "Then let them beat their brains out." Kai Yongshu saw clearly that the emperor was taking advantage of the situation and pushing him out as a shield, using another big event to cover up another big event, and what he was planning was far deeper than he thought. Just thinking about it made him feel terrified. I also have a clearer understanding of the emperor's methods. Therefore, he decided to be the shield and was willing to do so. A minister who only knows how to clamor and is unwilling to take the blame is not a good minister. On the contrary, he felt happy, because only such an emperor could plan and eliminate unstable factors with a flick of the hand. Seeing that Cao Hu still didn't quite understand, Kai Yongshu was helpless. He had realized that Cao Hu was clever, but lacked great wisdom. Especially political wisdom, which was far from being a little bit lacking. It was only because the emperor was nostalgic and broad-minded that he could have been tricked to death by an ordinary person, but such people also have their advantages. That is, they are mediocre and will not become a hindrance to the emperor. Sometimes, for a country to be strong, it needs a leader who has the final say. After thinking for a while, he dipped his fingers in the tea and wrote a few words on the table. Cao Hu looked over and was stunned. He took a deep breath and asked, "Really? Whether it's true or not, we'll know after a while." Cao Hu seemed to be thinking about something, and finally said, "Brother Kai, I am not as good as you." The news that the emperor wanted to establish a queen in the West Palace and reform the marriage law spread like wildfire. The capital was abuzz with discussions, and the people were discussing this matter after dinner. A does not prohibit people from discussing state affairs, nor will people be punished for their words. Of course, words that are extremely treasonous cannot be spoken. The queen was confirmed 2 years ago during the coronation ceremony. It is said that Empress Su refused, so His Majesty ascended the throne alone on the day of the coronation ceremony. Isn't it? I also knew about this, but no one dared to speak out this time. His Majesty specially announced it to the world and held such a grand wedding ceremony, but unexpectedly Empress Zhu refused again this time. Setting up Empress Shigon can be regarded as compensation. What a bullshit compensation it must be that concubine Xiao, who whispered in the ears of the emperor and snatched away concubine Zhu's position. As the queen, everyone knows that concubine Zhu is a very virtuous person who does not fight or compete with others. You're the one who farted. There is a lot of discussion outside. Li Yanle came out of the restaurant with a frown on his face. If the Queen of the West Palace is established, will my sister also have a chance? Miss, didn't you hear them say that this is for concubine Zhu? She's not in the palace. So who should she give it to? The outside world doesn't know. How could she not know? On the wedding day, concubine Zhu left without saying goodbye and has not been seen since. This has happened again and again. Not only the emperor, but ordinary people could not stand it. Suddenly she felt a little sorry for Lu Yuan. What am I thinking? Why am I feeling sorry for that bastard? Hey, even though he's a bit bad, he hasn't done anything bad to us sisters. He's very caring towards my sister and he's pretty good to me too. Li Yanle blushed when she thought about it, and she pushed away the chaotic thoughts in her mind. Take a rest tomorrow. Go to the palace to see my sister, and by the way, go see that bastard and let him see the progress of this princess. She has to go to the palace on time to show Liu on the results of her studies. If she is lazy, that bastard will spank her. She subconsciously touched her back and felt a little scared. Just as I was thinking about it, the sound of fighting came from the front. Bo hurriedly grabbed Li Yanle's hand and said, Miss, let's not go over and join in the fun. But Li Yanle was born to love joining in the fun, so he stood by and watched the fun. And only then did he understand why the fight broke out. The two were drinking tea in a tea house and discussing who was more suitable to be the queen. They had a disagreement and ended up having a quarrel. But slowly, the commotion got bigger and bigger, and the people watching the fun also said, it must be that concubine Zhu is more suitable to be the queen of the East Palace. She is the queen in line. Empress Xiao is more suitable. In my opinion, concubine Li is the most suitable one. Empress Xia has just given birth to a princess and is pregnant with a prince. She is the one who is most suitable to be the queen. Originally it was just a people fighting, but soon the whole street was filled with cursing. Everyone was spitting and no one was willing to give in. Li Yanle frowned. No, this is totally wrong. Chapter 580. Close relatives? Miss, what's wrong? Nothing is right. Li Yanle took a deep breath and said, let's go to the palace now. Miss, didn't you say you would enter the palace tomorrow? Wu asked in confusion. Li Yanle left with a cold face without any explanation. On the other side, in a tea house. Master, these people are really ridiculous. The old eunuch couldn't help but mock the dispute downstairs over who was suitable to be the queen. Ridiculous. Xiaoyan shook his head. Look at them arguing. There is no one behind them. They all represent the old forces. This is not what Lu Yuan wants to see. Moreover, there are definitely people behind these people instigating them to create topics in public opinion. You mean, they are building momentum? The old eunuch was stunned. Yes. Li Yuan intends to establish the Queen of the West Palace and amend the marriage law. Judging from the rumors circulating outside, it should be true. There is no smoke without fire. And those people are clearly trying to fish in troubled waters. What should we do? The princess is alone in the palace. It's hard to handle it alone. That won't happen. Yang Tao and others, as well as people from the northern families, all support Ji and Jia. Don't forget that this piece of land under our feet was once the territory of Da Qian, Xiaoyan said. Then shall we just wait and watch? Xiaoyan said. You underestimated Lu Yuan. He is not the kind of person who would be easily manipulated. How many founding emperors have you seen being manipulated by rumors? Not to mention a great emperor like him, who is rarely seen in 3,000 years. So, he must have a purpose. No matter what his purpose is, he cannot let the princess suffer. The old eunuch said dissatisfiedly. Xiaoyan shook his head. His previous encounter with Xiaoji and Jia was far beyond his expectations. He also realized that he had hurt the child deeply. Seeing that she became the queen, he felt a little better. He asked for nothing but that the child be safe. Although she didn't know what Li Yuan's purpose was, she couldn't help but feel worried when she learned that he and Xiaoji and Jia had a disagreement. Have you investigated her route in the past few days? My lord, I have already investigated it clearly. I have also gone to see the land in the new district. It is indeed a good place, said the old eunuch. Xiaoyan nodded and said, just bury the thing I picked. Li Yanle entered the palace and saw Li Yuan. He was so angry when he saw him leaning on the dragon chair. Reading a book leisurely, he deliberately coughed dryly to attract his attention. However, Li Yuan seemed not to hear and continued to flip through the book. Li Yuan, oh no, your majesty, I'm here. Li Yanle bowed perfunctorily. Li Yuan then slowly put down the book. What a rare guest. You never came before the assessment day. When the palace gates were about to be locked, you actually came early. Is there something wrong with you? Li Yanle said a little nervously. Who said that? I don't have any classes today, so I came here. The reason why she always came to Luosuo was that she was afraid of staying with Luyuan for too long. After that day, she often dreamed of Luyuan when she woke up. She felt as if she had been fished out of the water. It was extremely embarrassing. She was like a possessed person during that period, but later she let it go after taking a biology class. She hypnotized herself and told herself that it was a normal physiological phenomenon. However, after seeing Liyuan, her heartbeat quickened again and she couldn't move her eyes away. Liyuan waved at her, motioning her to come forward. She walked over with ease. She was not tall, with her upper body lying on the wide desk. The tuft of white hair on her forehead looked particularly funny. Liyuan took a quick glance and said, "I didn't realize you've grown up." Lianla blushed and gritted his teeth. "Where are you looking? I'm big, okay?" Liyuan burst out laughing, which made Lianla very angry. "If you laugh again, I'll leave." Liyuan finally stopped laughing, flicked his finger in front of her forehead, and pushed the snacks on the table in front of her. "Eat something first. I won't test you on your homework today." "Then what are you testing me on?" Lianla picked up the pastry on the table and stuffed it into his mouth in revenge. Soon his mouth was bulging like a hamster, especially his big almond eyes, which were clear yet revealed a sense of stupidity and looked very cute. "If you don't want to test me, just chat with me." Liyuan also lay on the table and pinched her face. He used to think that this girl was annoying, but after getting to know her more, he found her quite cute, just a little bit temperamental, but her values were fine, and she was able to concentrate on her studies and research. And she was very hard-working to this day. He no longer looks at her with the same eyes as before. For Li Weiyu's sake, he treated her as a little sister in his heart. "Chat? What to talk about? What can I talk about with you?" Lianla was a little flustered, but forced himself to stay calm so as not to let Liyuan notice. He just kept stuffing things into his mouth and choked after a while. "Slow down. No one is competing with you for it." Liyuan shook his head helplessly, poured her a cup of tea himself and brought it to her mouth. Lianla held his hand and drank the tea in one gulp. Then he felt much better. But she reacted quickly, and quickly let go of her hand. Her face suddenly turned red. And she was very nervous. "Oh, you're blushing." "What? Blushing is not okay," Lianla said stubbornly. "Of course I can. I used to think you were an annoying little thing. But now I see that you are quite pleasing to the eye." "Who is the annoying little thing? Who is small? I'm not annoying at all." "My sister said I'm cute," Lianla said angrily. "You are annoying, so annoying." "Don't be angry." Liyuan poured another glass of water and pushed it towards her. "This is not the same as before. Now you are my sister-in-law. So I naturally won't think you are a disgusting little thing anymore. You're not chatting with me just to insult me, are you? Is there any brother-in-law like you? It's my fault. I won't beat around the bush with you. This is it. Do you plan to get closer to me? Close relatives?" Lianla looked at Liyuan in confusion, and then suddenly thought of something. His breathing became rapid. And he froze there, his face red as if blood was dripping. Why are you getting closer?" Who wants to get closer to you?" I? Liyuan, you are too fickle. You already have my elder sister and sister by you, and you actually want to take me into your harem as well. You are nothing." She spoke haltingly, her heart almost jumping out of her throat. She always prided herself on being smart, but now she had lost the ability to think. She didn't dare to look at Liyuan straight in the eye. Her heart was completely confused. A voice suddenly appeared in my mind. If this bad guy is nicer to me, it wouldn't be impossible to get closer to him. Chapter 581. All the secrets are revealed. Lianla, you are crazy. This man is your brother-in-law. No matter what you say, how can I compete with my sister for a man? A man as philandering as Liyuan must be bad to you. He even said I was young. Thousands of thoughts were running through her mind. She felt like a drunk and dizzy. If she hadn't been lying on the table, she would have fainted from nervousness. Seeing her blushing, Liyuan thought she was angry, so he flicked her forehead with his finger. "Is being my relative so unfair to you? Who wants to be your relative?" Lianla retorted, but his voice was very small. "The Axio is gone now, and I am considered your family. You are already this age, and it is time to find a good home for you." Liyuan said, "My brother is a good person. He is ambitious and handsome. Although he already has a principal wife, I can let you be a concubine. In this way, we will become even closer. From now on, you don't have to come here to report to me, so that you don't have to drift around outside every day without a sense of belonging to home." "The closer relationship you mean? You mean marrying your brother?" Lianla was stunned, and then he was hit by a huge sense of loss. "What else?" Liyuan asked in surprise. "But it be that you still want to marry me? Liyuan, you're a big bastard, a complete bastard." Lianla was so angry that he looked at him angrily, and soon his eyes were filled with tears. How can anyone pinch the face and spank his sister-in-law? Haven't you heard that men and women shouldn't touch each other? Whoever wants to marry your brother, Marry you even if I have to die alone, I will never marry him. Let alone you. After saying that he ran away crying. In Yongping Palace. No one dared to yell at Lu Yuan today was the first time. Wu's son was also stunned. Your Majesty. She. What do you mean by she? Send someone to follow her and send her home safely. Lu Yuan did not chase after her. He looked at Li Yanla's sad back and thought, when did this little bitch happen? He looked down at his hands and suddenly realized that he had indeed been intimate before. Some of his actions had long gone beyond the ordinary relationship between a man and a woman. But subconsciously, he didn't think much about it. Although Li Yanla was already 18 years old, he had a baby face and was rich enough to own a breast pump at a young age. He didn't have any other thoughts. Now it seems that he was wrong. Wu's son also hurriedly sent people to follow her to prevent her from getting into trouble. In the eyes of Wu's son, the best choice for this little girl is to marry King Heng. Li Yanla cried so sadly that she completely forgot the purpose of entering the palace. Damn Lu Yuan, stinky Lu Yuan. You bastard, you only know how to bully the girls from our Li family. Even if I die alone, I will never marry your brother. Son of a bitch. She cried all the way out of the palace, and she didn't even know why she was crying so sadly and couldn't stop her tears. The fall of Diaxia and the death of her father in battle only caused a slight ripple in her heart. Wu saw her crying. Princess, please stop crying. Did something happen? Princess, did Emperor Lu bully you? Tell me. Wu was so distressed that he was at a loss and didn't know how to comfort her. Li Yanla didn't say a word the whole time she got on the carriage and lay there crying. After returning home, he locked himself in the room and refused to come out. Wu clenched his fists, hating himself for being incompetent. You dog emperor. Bullying a woman is nothing. I will avenge the princess one day. And at this moment, several figures appeared silently at the gate of the courtyard. He trembled all over, and the fear in his heart made him kneel down. Before he could open his mouth, he was stopped by the visitor. There was a flash of fear in his eyes. He didn't want to move away, but he didn't dare not leave. The visitor walked to the door and knocked. I'm fine. I'll be fine after crying for a while. Li Yanla's voice came from the room. Wu didn't dare to speak. The person who came directly pushed open the door of the room. Wu widened his eyes. He was so rude. How could he just walk into a girl's room? The person stepped into the room and then closed the door. Wu was angry but didn't dare to say anything because the guards were standing at the door with armed guns. Moreover, he knew that the room was surrounded by guards, and if he dared to make any move, he would be beaten to a pulp. I said, I'm fine. Li Yanla lay on the bed, thinking that it was AWU who came in. Li Yuan didn't say anything, but looked around the room. The room is simply decorated, but filled with various dolls, trinkets, and a variety of beautiful dresses. There was a large table in the middle, covered with textbooks and a large number of drafts. It can be seen that she is quite attentive. There was a sketch on the table. Lu Yuan touched his nose and found it was himself. I didn't realize that this little girl said one thing but did another behind her back. This painting is good, Lu Yuan said. The crying stopped suddenly. Wow. Li Yanla called out tentatively. Seeing no one responding, she looked up suddenly and saw Li Yuan holding the sketch she had just drawn last night. At that moment, she felt like the sky was falling. Li Yuan. She made a loud bang, stood up quickly, and ran over to destroy the sketch, but Lu Yuan was quick-witted and lifted the sketch up. Who outside the house thought Li Yanla was being bullied, and clenched his fists tightly. Princess. At that moment, he even wanted to rush in and die together with Lu Yuan, but the guards at the door kept looking at him coldly. And if he dared to move, the gun would be pointed at him. Give it back to me, give it back to me. Li Yanla jumped up but couldn't get the drawing in Lu Yuan's hand. You are an emperor, what's the point of bullying a little girl like me? As she spoke, she felt more and more wronged and cried even more sadly. A little girl secretly hid my painting. Lu Yuan flicked her forehead with his finger again. Tell me, when did it happen? Li Yanla covered his forehead and asked, what did I say? Her secret was exposed by Lu Yuan, so she just threw it all away. Any explanation would be futile at this point. Forget it, destroy it. As you can see, I drew your picture. You can kill me or chop me up as you wish. Why should I kill you? Li Yuan pulled over a chair and sat there with his legs crossed. He inadvertently glanced at a booklet and opened it. Wow, it was full of his words. Li Yuan's quotations. Did you copy them? Didn't you see it all? Li Yanla felt that all his secrets had been exposed, and he wished he could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Well done, I like it. Li Yuan closed the book and said, next, let's talk about other things. Chapter 582, Purity. Li Yanla stood there, looking down at his toes, with a look of despair. It's okay, laugh if you want. I can accept it. Why, you secretly hid my portrait and quotations, you feel wronged. Li Yuan said with a smile, and when he saw that her eyes were swollen from crying and there were bubbles of snot hanging from her nose, he laughed even louder. Li Yanla felt more and more aggrieved. She wanted to cry but didn't want of Lu Yuan. Tears just rolled around in her eyes. She pinched her thighs and forced herself to hold back the tears. As a result, he couldn't hold his breath anymore, and a big bubble of snot came out of the other nostril with a. Lu Yuan burst into laughter. Lianla couldn't bear it any longer and burst into tears. Princess Wu, who was outside the door, was so angry that his eyes were about to burst. He lay on the ground and kept pounding the ground with his fists. I am such a waste, a waste. His mind was full of scenes of Lu Yuan bullying Lianla. Poor and helpless Lianla was bullied by Lu Yuan at will, and he felt like his lungs were about to explode. He told himself that he must protect the princess even if it meant his death. But my knees seemed to have grown roots and I couldn't stand up at all. Wu Sun glanced at him nonchalantly and snorted with disdain. Foolish, your majesty wants to bully her, and you have to weigh her, and you have to wait until now? If you keep screaming, you brainless thing, I'll sew your mouth shut. Wu quickly closed his mouth and dared not make any sound. Alright, stop crying. People who don't know would think I'm bullying you. Li Yuan took out a handkerchief and wiped her tears. Lianla just cried and didn't say anything. She cared most about her reputation, and she always tried to be strong in front of Li Yuan. But today, all her past was exposed and she lost all her face. If you cry again, you won't be allowed to drink milk tea for 3 months. Li Yuan rubbed his swollen temples. The crying stopped abruptly. Li Yuan, you are not a good person. You cut off my milk tea. Do you want me to live? Looking at the little girl with tears in her eyes, aggrieved and reluctant to give up her milk tea, Li Yuan smiled helplessly. Go, bring a chair over and sit down. And you are not allowed to cut off my milk tea. Lianla said while sniffing. It depends on your performance, Li Yuan said lightly. It's okay to expose his secrets, but it's not okay to cut off her milk tea. Lianla felt that she was not succumbing to Li Yuan, but to milk tea. She pulled over a chair and sat facing him, but at a distance. Li Yuan said with a straight face, sit closer. Lianla picked up the chair and sat down next to him. Knees touching each other? Isn't that close enough? Li Yuan was so angry that he flicked her forehead again. You are innocent, aren't you? Lianla said innocently. You said it. Get closer to you. Li Yuan snorted and put his foot directly on her thigh. Crush my feet if you dare to push me away. You won't have milk tea for half a year. Damn it. Lianla was about to take action, but when she heard this, she gritted her teeth. She finally understood that she couldn't take advantage of this guy, so she used all her strength. I'll pinch you to death. Unexpectedly, Li Yuan looked like he was enjoying it. This strength is good, keep it up. Lianla lost his temper and his face drooped. This bastard was just a scoundrel. He then beat him weakly. Li Yuan held up the painting and the quotations and said, if you confess, you will be treated leniently. If you resist, you will be treated severely. Tell me, when did you have evil thoughts towards me? No, you misunderstood. You are just one of the templates for my painting. This quotation is also what the teacher said I should learn, Lianla argued. No milk tea for a year. Li Yuan, you're going too far. Lianla blushed. Yes, I drew you because I think of you often. I collected your quotes because I want to know you better. Is that okay? As she spoke, she was also observing the changes in Li Yuan's expression. Seeing that Li Yuan had a blank expression, she became more and more uneasy. Li Yuan leaned back in his chair and said deliberately, no. With your figure, the child will starve. You are not my type. Lianla pricked up his ears and waited for a long time. Only to hear such a sentence. He was so angry that he pushed Li Yuan's legs away. He felt restless and very uncomfortable. She had never liked anyone, and had been trapped in the palace for research in her early years. Apart from that, her life had been going smoothly. Apart from the brothers in the palace, the person of the opposite sex he interacted with the most was Lu Yuan. Unfortunately, this guy looked at me with disgust, and I never got any advantage over him and was often bullied. But it was this unreasonable guy who rushed into her heart. She was also panicked and at a loss. She was crying loudly just now, but she was just doing it on purpose to scare Lu Yuan. I just want him to comfort me. But this guy just keeps bullying and making fun of me. He's so bad. At this moment, she was crying silently and couldn't stop her tears. Only then did she understand that when one was truly sad, one couldn't cry out loud. Li Yuan also realized something was wrong. I was just kidding. Lianla ignored him and cried even though she owed him 2 years of milk tea. He was a bit complicated and indeed had no intention of teasing Lianla. But the flower has intention but the water flows on. And there is something wrong with this girl. She was a little small, but she has grown up now, with impeccable and delicate facial features, no longer like the little girl she was back then. Her lively and cheerful personality also brought a lot of freshness to Li Yuan. Even though there are not many rules in the palace, the requirements are extremely complicated when they are layered one by one. This girl doesn't care about rules. She is like a clear spring. A handful of water is refreshing and makes him feel a lot more lively. Most importantly, she is a real scientific researcher. Originally, he was just thinking about bringing her up with Lu Yong after all. She and Li Tianzhen are sisters, and she could help Lu Yong a lot. But now, he has changed his mind. The girl's admiration was the purest, and it made Li Yong feel as if he had returned to his previous life, when he was a student and had innocent feelings for his female classmates. This feeling is the purest. Without any complicated things. She doesn't have the heavy burden like Honggu, nor is she mixed with redemption like Li Wuyu. Xia Yining is a thoughtful person who always wants more. As for Xiao Ji and Jia, they went through hardships and returned to the original starting point after many twists and turns. Thinking of this, Li Yuan's eyes softened. He touched her head and said, "You are still working so hard, how could I punish you? Actually, it's not that important whether a girl has a good figure or not. I think you are pretty good looking, but you look ugly when you cry. Oh, look at it if it's ugly," Li Yanla said with a hum. Li Yuan made up his mind and hugged her directly. Sitting on Li Yuan's lap, Li Yanla was stunned, staring at Lu Yuan blankly. "You? What do you mean by, I?" Listen carefully to what I'm going to say next. You can only nod or shake your head. Chapter 583, Auspicious Sign from Heaven. Li Yanla nodded, wouldn't lie. "You like me, don't you?" Li Yanla nodded first. Then shook his head. Li Yuan gritted his teeth and said, "Are you nodding or shaking your head?" Seeing that Lu Yuan was a little fierce, Li Yanla nodded nervously. "Okay, since you like me, are you willing to be with me?" Li Yanla said, a grief lie. "I hate the rules in the palace, they are too troublesome. I still like my current life. Attending classes, studying, and no one restricts me. So you don't want to be with me?" Li Yanla shook his head like a rattle. "I will allow you to continue your studies, and I will also set up a research room for you in the palace. I will also let you go out of the palace to go shopping every now and then. And I will also give you milk tea, but there will be restrictions." "Real?" Li Yuan nodded. "Then I am willing." Li Yanla nodded, "But I heard that the harem is going to be reformed, and the concubines have to participate in it. Which is very troublesome. It doesn't matter, just study hard and do what you should worry about other things." Li Yuan had other considerations. Xiao Ji and Jia knew medical skills, and Li Yanla was a rare scientific research talent. She was the one who cracked the initial gunpowder formula. She was truly a genius. If it weren't for Emperor Xia's forcing things to grow faster and draining the pond to catch fish, her achievements would have been even greater. What is most commendable is that Li Yanla did not care about the death of Emperor Xia or the demise of the Xia dynasty. They are very similar to Li Wuyu, but they are not cold-blooded. It can only be said that Emperor Xia is a very poor father. "You are not allowed to lie to me," Li Yanla said. "That's natural," Li Yuan said. After asking the question, the atmosphere suddenly became a little awkward. Li Yanla stopped crying, her face turned red and she lowered her head, not knowing where to put her hands. Li Yuan wanted to add some color, but looking at this innocent and childish face, he always felt like he was committing a crime. I couldn't help but reach out and pinch her face and said, "You still have to take good care of your body, and make up for the losses of the past 2 years. "Oh," Li Yanli also nodded obediently. "And I will go back to the palace first. You stay outside the palace for the time being. I will take you back to the palace in a few days. In addition, I will send some people to protect you secretly." In fact, Li Yanla has always been protected by someone, and this time he can go from secret to open. Li Yanla nodded and suddenly became quiet. Before leaving, Li Yuan thought about it and kissed her. Li Yanla covered her mouth, looking dumbfounded. Her face flushed as if she was drunk. She looked at Lu Yuan's departing back and smiled foolishly. "Princess, are you okay?" Ho hurriedly got up from the ground, walked to Li Yanla, and kept looking at her. "This dog emperor. What's the big deal about bullying a girl?" Don't scold him." Li Yanla suddenly turned his head and looked at him. Wu was dumbfounded. "Princess, he bullied you so much. Am I not helping you vent your anger by scolding him?" "He didn't bully me, and you are not allowed to scold him again in the future. Do you hear me?" Li Yanla frowned. "Princess, have you been bewitched by him?" Wu noticed that something was wrong with her. "No, he's a bit bad, but not that bad anyway. I like him." "Oh, you don't understand this kind of thing." Li Yanla waved his hand. "Anyway, don't scold him anymore." As she spoke, she suddenly remembered something. "Oh, I forgot to tell him that again." Li Yanla sat in front of a large table, his chin resting on his hands, looking at the sketch. No one knew what he was thinking, and he smiled foolishly from time to time. Wu was confused, but when he saw this scene, a horrifying thought flashed through his mind. "Princess, have you been deceived by him?" After dealing with Li Yanla, Li Yuan also breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't expect that Li Yanla had a skinny body but very moist lips. Wu's son whispered, "Your Majesty, aren't 15 too few? The capital has been in turmoil lately. Should we send more people?" "Let's increase it to 30 people, Li Yuan said. That night, Li Yuan stayed at a concubine's place. After so many years since the founding of the country, many concubines had never been alone, which was not good. Old Bing finished recording and was about to leave when Liu Su hurried to the bedside and whispered, "Your Majesty, there's something wrong outside the palace." Li Yuan frowned and glanced at the concubine who had just become a wife. "Don't get up. Have a good rest." As he spoke, he picked up his clothes and put them on, then asked, "What's the matter?" In the newly developed commercial area in the South District, there were strange noises and inexplicable lights at night. Some people said that they saw a phoenix-like monster there, which burrowed into the ground and disappeared. A patrol team went there and dug out a phoenix jade plate at the place where the fire phoenix disappeared. It was as big as a bronze gong and extremely gorgeous. It was a priceless treasure. Is there such a thing? Li Yuan's first reaction was that it was man-made, but then he thought, this is Liang Jing. Which bastard dares to cause trouble in his territory? Even if he wants to rebel, he has to be thousands of miles away. He asked, which area was the phoenix jade plate dug out from? Liu Su said solemnly, "It was dug out from the land that the queen wanted. Not only did we find the Qulin beast, but there are also a few words carved on the jade plate." "What word?" "King Day, the world is prosperous. Xiao is the queen, and everything goes well." Li Yuan suddenly laughed and touched his chin. "These people really have some tricks. Let's start now." Liu Su didn't understand why Li Yuan was laughing, and asked, "Your Majesty, this matter. Is it said in the outside world that this is a good omen?" "That's right. Since it is a good omen, why bother about it?" Li Yuan waved his hand. He already had a guess in his mind that the person behind the plan was not simple either. Outsiders criticized Xiao Ji and Jia for having ulterior motives and interfering in government affairs, but this move was a blessing from heaven and could be said to be a great solution with little effort. With just a little publicity, not only could Xiao Ji and Jia's position be consolidated, but her status in the hearts of the people could also be reversed. If it were modern times, out of 10 people who heard it, none of them would believe it. But this is Day, a feudal dynasty. Even though Li Yuan actively promotes science, the theories of destiny, gods and ghosts are still deeply rooted in people's minds. Li Yuan didn't want to play tricks. However, the people said that when he was born, colorful clouds descended from the sky and golden lotus emerged from the ground, and he was a natural savior. What can he do? It seems that only by defeating him can people be convinced. The idea of working hard has almost become a universally recognized fact. Li Yuan couldn't just jump out and say that this was fake. That would be stupid. Liu Su also reacted. Li Yuan took off his clothes, hugged the concubine's soft body, and fell asleep peacefully. The next morning, while he was still exercising, the news from outside reached the palace and it was a huge sensation. After a night of fermentation, almost everyone knew that an auspicious sign had appeared in the South District. And it was the queen's property. Everyone was talking about it for a while. They all said that this auspicious sign would bring good luck today. Chapter 584. Confession. In addition, some people say that Xiao Ji and Jia is the empress recognized by God. After listening to Liu Su's report, Li Yuan understood what was going on. He also prepared to find Lao Lu and write a news article to guide public opinion to avoid being manipulated by those with ulterior motives. The phoenix jade plate can be a sign of good fortune or disaster. Xiao Ji and Jia also received the news and came over in a hurry. She said without beating around the bush, "Your Majesty, I didn't do the Xiamer Ui incident. I never thought of using this method to clear my name." Li Yuan wiped the sweat off his body, put on his cloak, and took her hand to walk to the study. "Don't be nervous. I know it's not you. Have breakfast first. I'll take a shower and we'll talk later." The room was very hot, and Li Yuan casually threw his cloak aside, revealing his sturdy body with well-defined muscles, looking particularly impactive. Xiao Ji and Jia had seen it many times, but still couldn't take her eyes away. Seeing Li Yuan looking at her, she couldn't help but blush, showing off so early in the morning. Not long after, Li Yuan finished washing up, put on his casual clothes to cover his perfect figure, sat in front of Xiao Ji and Jia, and said, "I won't go to court today, but there will definitely be a lot of memorials today with this auspicious sign. Few people will dare to stop you from building the building. Now they say I'm scheming. I can't clear myself of this." Xiao Ji and Jia said, depressed lie. "In this world, can anyone survive without some wisdom? Even the common people have been forced to become cunning. The biggest difference between humans and animals is that we can think." Li Yuan pointed to his head and said, "Why do you care about other people's opinions?" "Of course, in our position, public opinion is very important from a certain perspective. Officials represent public opinion, but that is not absolute. For the common people, it doesn't matter who is the emperor, and even less important who is the queen. What matters is whether they can have enough food to eat, whether they have a safe and peaceful environment for them to reproduce and thrive, and whether they have opportunities for promotion. As long as I trust you, no one else matters. I'm just afraid that you'll misunderstand me." Xiao Ji and Jia said, "No matter what I do, I won't hide anything from you. It's the same for everything. I believe you." Li Yuan smiled and didn't seem to take it too hard. Xiao Ji and Jia stirred the porridge with a spoon. Actually, there is one more thing I have kept from you, although I don't know how to start. I still feel that I should tell you. Li Yuan looked at her sideways, with a steamed bun in his hand. On the day of my wedding, someone sneaked into my Prince Qian's mansion. Xiao Ji and Jia lowered her head. This matter had been hidden in her heart for so long that she couldn't sleep. Li Yuan's kindness told her that she could no longer hold back. Moreover, she was also afraid that the appearance of that person would cause trouble and endanger Li Yuan or Day. I later fought back to be a Yujingji, and the Xiongnu had overturned the Xiao family's imperial tombs, and the remains of our ancestors were hung on the city walls and exposed. I counted the bodies of all my ancestors, but I didn't find my father's. At that time I doubted whether he was still alive. But I saw him enter the coffin with my own eyes. And I saw him buried with my own eyes. I thought that the Huns ground his body into dust. But on the wedding day, he appeared in front of me without any warning, full of bitterness and helplessness. Xiao Ji and Jia said very tiredly, I didn't mean to hide it from you, I just didn't know how to tell you. For half of my life, I have been plotted against by my parents and relatives, and everyone wants to take advantage of me. It seems like I was born to endure this. I'm afraid that he has other thoughts, like my mother Day is just beginning to settle down and can't stand the turmoil, so if possible, find him and control him. I don't want any problems for you or for this country. A hint of surprise flashed across Li Yuan's eyes, and then he held her hand. I understand. Leave this matter to me, and you don't have to worry about the rest. Do what you want to do as long as our family is happy. That is more important than anything else. I said at the beginning that no matter who it is, who bullies you or takes advantage of you, I will pay him back tenfold or 100fold. It is still the same now. Xiao Ji and Jia couldn't hold back any longer and threw herself into Li Yuan's arms. You're so good to me. Li Yuan stroked her back gently and whispered a lot to her. After eating and drinking, the two of them put on another big show. Not long after, news spread in the palace again that the emperor and the empress had had another big fight over the matter of Empress West Palace. This time the emperor seemed to have slapped the queen, because the queen left crying with her face covered. When Suexayui learned that her daughter-in-law was slapped, she became anxious and ran to Li Yuan and scolded him. You have grown up and beat your own wife on. Do you think that you can do whatever you want just because you are the emperor? I tell you, he who harms his wife will never gain any wealth. Your father was so glorious in his past, and I am just an ordinary woman. He has to respect me and listen to me at home. Yes, you are the emperor, you are the supreme ruler of the world, but I tell you, you cannot be arrogant. Looking at his angry mother, Li Yuan tried to persuade her kindly, but seeing that he couldn't persuade her, he had to pull her aside and told her the truth in a low voice. Really? Of course it's true, how dare I lie to you? Li Yuan said with a wry smile. Suexayui was skeptical, but she finally chose to believe her son. In fact, she was a little bit skeptical about her son's big difference. But she was still angry. She gently put her hand on his head and said, You bastard, you scared me to death. I'm telling you, if you dare to make it real, don't blame me for not recognizing you as my son. Even if you are the emperor or the king of the world, you are still born from my womb. You are busy with national affairs, I can't and won't interfere. But I only have one request. A harmonious family is the key to success. Every family has its own problems. If you mess up, I will punish you. Yes, mother. Don't worry, I will definitely remember your teachings. Li Yuan couldn't afford to offend her, so he could only coax her. In fact, Li Yuan is quite happy his parents are open-minded, and it is a blessing to have them take care of him. He was an orphan in his previous life. He is almost 30 years old in this life and still has his parents' teachings, which is good. Being an emperor is not like being an emotionals machine that's good enough. After seeing his mother off, Li Yuan started his day's work. As a result, ministers came one after another and almost broke down the threshold of Yongping Palace. They came here for one thing, good fortune for the southern district. Yang Tao and other old officials of Daqian praised the auspicious sign to the sky. In a word, this was a good thing, and the rumors that Xiao Ji and Jia was immoral were self-defeating. But Sun Wuji and others didn't think so. They secretly said that Xiao Ji and Jia had ulterior motives. And since she had been an emperor, they told Li Yuan to be careful. Li Yuan looked at both sides expressing their opinions and just watched the show with cold eyes. But in my heart, I was wondering when the old ministers of Daxia would end up. Chapter 585 New Law. Up to now, none of the old ministers of Daxia have stepped down. Are they planning to watch others fighting and reap the benefits? Alright, stop arguing. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. No was for the auspicious sign. If it is real, bring it back to the palace. Everyone, go down. Li Yuan was too lazy to listen to their nonsense and drove everyone away. After everyone was kicked out of Yongping Palace, Yang Tao looked at Sun Wuji and happily, You traitor. You slave of 3 surnames, just wait for me. Sun Wuji also looked unhappy. Who do you say is a traitor? A traitorous slave. Whoever finds the right seat is the one. Yang Tao sneered. Everyone knew that Sun Wuji was a traitor. It was not an exaggeration to call him a slave of 3 surnames when Xia Cheng was alive. He instigated Xia Cheng to lick the Huns when the Huns were in trouble. They decisively colluded with Dai, so Sheng Jing was taken down without any effort. If he is not a slave of 3 surnames, then what is he? Sun Wuji looked gloomy and sneered. You think you are so great just by showing off your talent? Wait. He knew that this time, Losta had planned everything, but he had never expected these people to be so despicable. Of course, they didn't have the courage to attack Xian or Yui, and at most they spread some rumors. After driving Sun Wuji and the others away in anger, Yang Tao was secretly happy. However, he was also confused. He was sure that the Phoenix Jade plate was definitely not placed there by their people. He thought about it and decided that it must have been the Queen's order. When he thought of the Emperor and his wife quarreling, his doubts were resolved no matter what. He could not let the Emperor do anything to Empress Shigon. Yang Tao felt that the matter itself was still on Xiao Jianjia's side. Without a dragon son, her position was unstable, but this auspicious side could last for a year or two. Be careful of these people who may become desperate. Send people to guard the new area, and don't let them do anything bad, Yang Tao ordered. Yes. Yes, everyone nodded in agreement. After Sun Wuji left in a rage, someone offered a suggestion. We can't just let it go today. We have auspicious signs, and His Majesty looks much better. It is said that the Queen Mother is very supportive of the Queen. I think His Majesty is a little shaken. This won't do. The reason they are so anxious is that they want to get more power. Among the surrendered ministers of Daqian, Yang Tao did not have a rank, but he came with the Queen. Although those ministers in the north are low-key, they hold a lot of power and their positions have long been consolidated. The 2 concubines, Concubine Li and Concubine Li, were taking steady steps. The younger Concubine Li was about to give birth. If she gave birth to a prince, her position would be even more secure. Moreover, among the surrendered ministers of Daxia, Tai Yangshu was particularly outstanding. The great General Chen Yuan and the former 8th Prince Li Quniong were all powerful troops in the Dai army. They did have a Posh in Jun and Da Jing, but this guy hated the officials of Jing dynasty so much that he killed people from Jing dynasty like killing chickens. No matter what anyone said, it was useless. There is also a Wang Zhonghu, whose real name is Wang Bai. He is now also a general at the division level, but this guy killed Feng Xiang back then and has long drawn a clear line with them and simply ignores them. The same is true for Yan, one of the only 2 army-level generals in the navy. But he doesn't care about this matter at all. They are like a pile of loose sand. It all depends on Sun Wuji to maintain it. They neither surrendered as early as the Daqian officials, nor were they as trusted as the Daxi officials. They were stuck in the middle and felt extremely uncomfortable. If you want to get ahead, you either have to make great achievements or find someone to back you up. The fastest shortcut is to make Concubine Li the Queen of the West Palace. As for Concubine Zhu, she has repeatedly deceived the Emperor, which is totally inappropriate. On the other side, Wang Zhu was revising the bill with a group of ministers. The Wang family has been familiar with the law for generations, so they are qualified to take on the task of compiling the Yi law. As the chief editor, the retired emperor only came every now and then. The rest are mostly talented people who are well versed in laws in the 3 countries. There were originally 4 versions, and all 4 versions were rejected by His Majesty and revised. Of course, it does not mean a total denial. Your Majesty will make notes for any problematic regulations. The Yi Code involves all aspects, and the Wang family is responsible for the Min Code. Yi Daiyan is not just the general director of Yilu, but also involves people's livelihood, education, roads, fisheries and so on. The marriage law is a relatively important law in the civil code, and was written by Zhu Enzi, a famous legal scholar in Daxia. Xun Meng said, Sir Wang, this is the marriage law revised according to your Majesty's instructions. Please take a look. Wang Zhu read it carefully. It consisted of 7 or 8 parts, with a total of 70 items. It clearly states that a husband has monogamy and 2 wives, and the so-called wives are concubines, instead of what the emperor said about 1 husband, 3 wives and 3 concubines. A new law clearly states that the son of a co-wife is eligible to inherit the family property. This new law is not the En Fei Offment order, but it is better than the En Fei Offment order. It not only targets the noble families, but also the common people. To be precise, it is to protect civilians. You can choose not to recognize your concubine, but as long as you recognize the child, no matter who gave birth to him, he is eligible to inherit the family property. Don't recognize? But Wang Zhu heard that the research institute has a means of confirming bloodline. As long as the bloodline is confirmed, this regulation will automatically take effect. Not giving birth? Who cares? 90% of the people in this world are ordinary people. How many ordinary people marry 3 wives? Convene a small group meeting to collectively study the new bill and see if there are any loopholes. If there are no problems, report it to the chief judge and finally pass it to the emperor. Wang Zhu said, legislation is not an easy task, but it is an honor that will go down in history. But this is not something that can be welcomed. For example, once the marriage law is released, it will inevitably cause an uproar. The first to bear the brunt is the Xun family, and they will definitely be scolded to death. The Wang family will not have an easy time either. But he didn't care, he knew very well what the emperor wanted to do. As for those people outside who are fighting with their brains, he won't show up. It's good that Yang Tao is outside, at least he can muddy the waters. After the symposium, Xun Meng revised the regulations once again, reducing the 70 articles to 65 after the group vote. It was given the green light, and the latest marriage law was placed on Lu Qiuishan's desk. He showed Liu on the marriage law and said, "This is what you want, see if it suits your taste." These people are quite efficient. Liu poured a cup of tea for old Lu and took the new marriage law to read. This actually also includes certain inheritance laws. After reading through the 65 items step by step, Liu made a note of them. Finally, he said with a smile, "I can have no restrictions on how many women they can marry. But these women must have a legitimate status. Just like those people in Laogang City, they all have several wives, and their children also have the right of inheritance." "Take it easy," Lu Qiuishan reminded. Liu smiled faintly. "Dad, don't worry, I know what's going on. The E-code is almost complete. When do you plan to publish it?" Liu thought about it and said, "Let's set it at the end of the year." Chapter 500 Itexus, Against One's Will. Your Majesty, the King of Han of the Yu dynasty has written again, requesting your Majesty to take Princess Yu dynasty as your concubine. Xiao Jianjia was looking at the drawing submitted by the Ministry of Industry. Hearing this, she looked at Wu Bing thoughtfully. "What does your Majesty mean?" "Your Majesty has already refused twice before, saying that the Yi and Yu dynasties are friendly brothers and there is no need to do this." Wu Bing thought for a moment and said, "I think that since your Majesty has taken charge of the harem, you may be able to persuade your Majesty. Not only can it find an ally for Day, it can also demonstrate the Queen's magnanimity and shut up those villains outside, so that they don't gossip outside. But the reform of the harem, the 6 bureaus and 24 departments will be directly under the jurisdiction of Xiao Jianjia. Liu will not intervene unless necessary. This is a typical situation where the man works outside and the woman works inside, and they can be considered a harmonious couple." Wu Bing is now gradually accepting Xiao Jianjia and starts to put herself in her shoes. Xiao Jianjia smiled faintly. "Sister Wu, you are thoughtful." Naturally, she would not think that Wu Bing was overstepping her authority, nor would she think that Wu Bing was harming her. In women's training, a virtuous wife not only needs to take care of her husband and children and manage the household, but also has the responsibility and obligation to urge her husband to better pass on the family line. That is to take a concubine. If this gets out, others will only think that Xiao Jianjia is a magnanimous woman. Wu Bing is obviously such a classical traditional woman. "Sister Wu, why do you want to refuse His Majesty?" Xiao Jianjia suddenly asked. Wu Bing was startled and hurriedly explained, my mother, please don't joke with me. I am a humble official, but I have been married and had children. Moreover, I am old and ugly. How can I be qualified to serve your Majesty? I absolutely do not have such an idea." She never thought that the problem would be brought up on herself. "Compared to Yi, I would rather have you take care of His Majesty. You are meticulous in your work and have won His Majesty's trust and love. Not only that, your father-in-law and mother also trust you. If you are willing, I agree to this matter. There is still a vacant position among the 4 concubines. It must be you, and no one else can take it away from you. It would be a lie to say that I'm not tempted." But how could Wu Bing dare to nod? She felt extremely inferior. Among these concubines, the worst was the princess of a small country. She was just an ordinary woman with some looks. If it was 10 years earlier, she would have had the courage to do so, but Liu was only in his 20s and she was already in her early 30s. At this age, many people would have become grandmothers. How could she have the face to agree to it? "Your Majesty, you are joking. I really don't have such an idea." "Thank you for your kindness." Lei Bing shook her head. "Let alone the 4 consorts, even if it is a concubine, I am not qualified. It is a great honor for a humble woman like me to be trusted by your Majesty, and I dare not expect anything more." Xiao Jianjia said helplessly. "Sister Wu, when you say this, it means you have never really understood His Majesty. He truly loves you from the bottom of his heart." "Einflies, sister, do you really have to wait until your face withers before you regret it?" Wu Bing smiled bitterly, but just kept shaking her head and said nothing. Xiao Jianjia said again, "Sister, aren't you afraid of hurting His Majesty's feelings? He has revealed his true feelings time and time again, and you have rejected him time and time again. Have you never thought about this problem? Ongu's matter has already caused your Majesty to worry and lose sleep. Don't you want to do something?" Wu Bing couldn't laugh anymore. This was not the first time that Liu had revealed his true feelings to her. and his love for her was genuine. But she was terribly afraid. Her identity will definitely make her a target of public criticism and she will be attacked by outsiders. Others are virgins, but she is a slut. Whenever I think of it, I feel extremely painful inside. I only regret that you were not born when I was born, and I was old when you were born. She also knew about Honggu's situation, and she saw His Majesty's pain and felt the pain in her heart. She hated herself for not being able to share his sadness. To be honest, she really approved of Maggie Cheung in her heart, but after this incident, she became disappointed with her. There was only one prerequisite for her to recognize Honggu, and that was to be loyal to His Majesty and share His Majesty's worries, rather than relying on His Majesty's favor to hurt His Majesty again and again. If Honggu came back again, she would probably scold her without hesitation. I know what my sister means. She is wholeheartedly thinking about your Majesty. As for my sister's character, I also trust her. I feel more at ease knowing that my sister is taking care of your Majesty. What happened in the past is in the past, and it is not your fault that the current situation has occurred. Besides, what does it matter if she has been married or had children? The wife of the founding emperor of Deaxia is the wife of his superior. Who dares to laugh at her? Don't be attached to appearances. Xiao Jianjia pulled her hand over, only to find that Luo Bing's palms were full of cold sweat and she was extremely nervous. Well, Luo Bing was at a loss. My lady. Sister, I know your concerns. If I ask you to go back and think about it today, you will definitely not be able to make up your mind in this case. Then listen to me and stop thinking about it. You just need to ask yourself whether you like His Majesty. If you don't like it, just pretend I never said anything. Luo Bing froze, then gritted his teeth and said word by word, your humble servant, your humble servant. No, I dare not like it. Before she finished speaking, a sigh was heard behind her. Turning back suddenly, he saw Li Yuan standing there helplessly. And then his mind went blank. Your Majesty, your Majesty, your Majesty. You. Xiao Jianjia also looked at Li Yuan helplessly. Your Majesty, I have tried my best. Li Yuan smiled bitterly as the incident of Xian'er Yui had fermented over the past few days. Xiao Jianjia's reputation had changed a lot. The marriage law has already been released. But officials do not care about it. Instead, they focused their attention on the matter of the Queen of the West Palace. Seeing that his goal had been achieved, his mood improved, and he came over excitedly to have lunch. As soon as he came in and heard these words, his good mood was gone immediately. Sister Luo, no wonder you keep rejecting me. It turns out you don't like me. Looking at Lu Yuan's lost eyes, Luo Bing kept shaking her head, her heart aching, but she didn't dare to say anything in front of Xiao Jianjia. Her inner inferiority reminded her not to overstep her boundaries. Honggu is innocent and even gave birth to a prince for His Majesty, but she didn't dare to do that. How could a slut like me dare to do that? She took a deep breath and knelt on the ground, thinking that this might be a good opportunity to completely stop thinking about it. Your Majesty, I just want to do my duty to serve your Majesty efficiently and share the worries of your Majesty. I dare not think about other things. I would also like to thank your Majesty for your trust and love. It is I who do not have this blessing. Luo Bing almost couldn't breathe due to the pain after saying these words against her. Well, she forced back her tears and tried to look calm, but her trembling voice betrayed her. Xiao Jianjia shook her head, looking helpless. Li Yuan laughed mockingly and helped Luo Bing up. I understand. From now on, I won't embarrass Sister Luo again. Chapter 587. The second child is coming. Luo Bing lowered her head and said nothing. This might be the best outcome. It's not that she doesn't love Li Yuan. She really loves him to the core and can't bear to see Li Yuan's reputation damaged in the slightest. In other words, she doesn't recognize anyone, and she will try to accept anyone that Li Yuan recognizes. This is true for Honggu and Xiao Jianjia as well. Sometimes, she even felt that Li Yuan was more important than her own life. He was so dazzling, the son of everyone. It was enough for her to bask in the sunshine occasionally, so how could she dare to expect that this light would bloom for her? I deserve to die, she said. Sister Luo, go down first. Li Yuan sighed softly. How could he not know what Luo Bing was thinking? This woman was as gentle as water, and she had no room for anyone else in her eyes except herself. However, she was more mature than Honggu, and more cautious than Honggu. Under her seemingly hard appearance, there was a broken heart. Li Yuan was unwilling to force her, as feelings were something that could not be forced. He has let it go now. Yes, I'll take my leave. Luo Bing left in a hurry. The moment she stepped out of Fudi Palace, she could no longer hold back her tears, which flowed down her cheeks to the ground. Sister Luo is too sensitive, Xiao Jianjia said. Let her be. She doesn't have to go to bed with me. What do you think? Li Yuan shook his head and changed the subject. We've been acting for so long, it's almost over. These people are more tolerant than I thought. The matter of the Queen of the West Palace should also have a result. Xiao Jianjia nodded, and then felt nauseous for no reason. What's wrong? I feel a little nauseous. Maybe I caught a cold. Xiao Jianjia shook her head. Li Yuan frowned and hurriedly called the imperial physician. The children are now being raised here. If anyone catches a cold, report it immediately to avoid infecting the children. Zhao Ji and Jia nodded. Soon, the imperial physician came to take Li Yuan's pulse, but gave him a big surprise. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The reason why Your Majesty feels nauseous is because she is pregnant, said the imperial physician. Li Yuan was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed. Really? I am 90 sure, said the imperial physician. Zhao Ji and Jia was also slightly startled. Then she took the patient's pulse. She also knew how to take a pulse and could tell whether it was a slippery pulse or not. This time, it really is. She counted the days and said, yeah. This Triukui has postponed it for several days. I was busy recently and didn't pay much attention to it. I just thought I was too tired. Then, she couldn't help but feel happy and gently stroked her belly. Would be better for the child to come at the right time than to come early. Li Yuan was overjoyed. Great, great, great. Everyone will get a reward. The imperial physician took the reward and left. Everyone in Fuji Palace also congratulated them. The Su was full of envy, and her hands couldn't help but touch her flat belly. She didn't know when she would be able to. Li Yuan hugged Zhao Ji and Jia and said, Ji and Jia, thank you for your hard work. I've wanted a second child for a long time. If Huan knew that she was going to be a big sister, she would definitely be happy. This child came at the perfect time. Zhao Ji and Jia even felt that he was a treasure sent by God. It's a good opportunity to reconcile, so as not to let those people notice. I'll take the opportunity to bring up the imperial noble consort. Li Yuan said. Everything is up to you. Although it is not the first pregnancy, it is much better than the first time. Looking back on the time when I was pregnant with Huan, I didn't understand anything. I didn't even know I was pregnant until my belly was big. She hid herself in hiding, and was ridiculed and scolded by the world, who regarded her as an immoral slut. But now, Li Yuan couldn't help but hold her in his mouth and in his hands. Soon, Suetsayui also received the news and hurried to Fuji Palace, asking cautiously, Ji and Jia. Is it true? Zhao Ji and Jia nodded shyly. Yes, I have it. Suetsayui clasped her hands together in joy, her mouth wide open, and she kept saying, Oh, God bless you, my ancestors bless you. This child came at the perfect time. Even if a concubine gave birth to 10 sons, they are not as good as one son of the queen. That's the reality. Lu Qiushan has doted on Suetsayui all his life, but in fact, Suetsayui is the heroine who plays the heroine who plays the heroine. In her heart, the baby in Zhao Ji and Jia's belly is her real grandson. Therefore, even though Li Wuyu and others gave birth to sons, her love for Huan did not change at all, and even surpassed those grandsons. At this moment, Suetsayui held Zhao Ji and Jia's hand, asking about her well-being and giving her all kinds of instructions. When you gave birth to Huan, no one took care of you. This time, I will definitely take care of you. You don't have to think about anything or do anything, just take care of the baby and make yourself plump and white. Zhao Ji and Jia found it funny and a little touching. Finally, she nodded obediently and said, I'll listen to my mother. That's right. Suetsayui patted the back of her hand, then looked at Li Yuan who was laughing foolishly at the side. Can we still perform this play? I won't act anymore. We've made peace. Li Yuan chuckled. And go and take care of your own business. I have something to tell Ji and Jia in private, by the way. Let me tell you, you should spend more time with Ji and Jia in the next few months. But don't do anything to her. You hurt my grandson. I will never forgive you. Suetsayui warned. Li Yuan nodded. He was not stupid. He knew that the first 3 months and the last 3 months were very dangerous, and he would not act trashily just for the sake of momentary pleasure. A news spread quickly in the palace before Li Yuan left. Li Wuyu came with the pregnant Li Baiyu to congratulate him. Soon after, other concubines came. Li Yuan couldn't stay there any longer. 3 women meant 500 ducks, and 30 women, rounded off, meant 5 million ducks. It was simply unbearable. From today on, all people entering and leaving Fuji Palace must be recorded, whether it's incense, cosmetics, or imported food. Every step must be in accordance with the standards of the nursery, Li Yuan ordered. Yes, Your Majesty. Wu Sun responded hurriedly. Also, the safety of Fuji Palace, never mind. We have 500 female soldiers here, so I don't think there will be any unsafe conditions, but starting today, all the corners and edges of Fuji Palace must be wrapped up for me. The threshold is too high, just saw it off for me. The stairs were too steep, so they were dug out and rebuilt to be gentler. Li Yuan issued several orders in succession, which soon spread throughout the palace. The queen is pregnant, His Majesty and His Majesty have returned. And everyone is talking about it. In Yinding Palace, Xi Yinding gritted her teeth in anger. Your Majesty, the Queen Mother is in Fuji Palace. Whether you want to go or not, you must follow the most basic etiquette, otherwise you will be criticized and used against you. Today, His Majesty and the Queen have reconciled. If the Queen whispers in your ear, your life will be difficult in the future. The personal maid frowned. Xi Yinding sneered. How long has she been back? Who knows if this is the bastard child she had with the other man in Bianjing? Chapter 588, Killing Wife. The maid was terrified and looked around. My queen. This kind of thing should only be said in the palace, but never outside. If someone hears it, there will be endless trouble. I still need you to teach me. Xianing was so angry that she picked up a pillow and threw it at the maid. If I say it's a bastard, then it's a bastard. The maid was hit hard and dared not say a word. If you go, just say that I fell on the way to Fudi Palace and have us demachike, so I won't go. At this moment, Xianing was extremely jealous. She really hated Xiao Jianjia. The maid nodded and quickly went to report. However, after Suitsayui found out, she always sent a female imperial physician to take the baby's pulse and examine the patient, and also had someone give her some medicine to protect the pregnancy. Besides, no one paid any attention to her. Xianing was so angry that she flew into a rage in Ning Palace, sweeping things all over the floor. The queen's child is a child, but my child is not a child, right? Everyone in the palace was so frightened when they saw this that they dared not say a word. Although no one dares to tell the truth, the queen's son is the son in the true sense. Lu Qiushan was also very happy this child came at the perfect time. If it was a son, he could shut up most people. After the auspicious incident was reported in the newspaper, the common people were no longer so resistant to Xiao Jianjia, and more people recognized Xiao Jianjia's identity. The queen's pregnancy is not only a happy event, but also a political necessity, and Li Yuan will feel better too. Without Li Yuan's instructions, he began to write. Although it was not a special issue, it still sold over 200,000 copies the next day. For a time, everyone knew that the queen was pregnant, and Xiao Jianjia's position became increasingly stable. Xiao Yan put down the newspaper in his hand and nodded happily. This child came at the right time. My efforts are worth it. The Phoenix Jade Plate was a priceless treasure and one of the few treasures that remained with him after he left the palace. At this moment, changing Xiao Jianjia's reputation can be regarded as making the best use of his resources. The old eunuch said, Master, the princess has a child now. I think Li Yuan will not be angry with the princess anymore. Xiao Yan nodded. He had come to terms with it and put himself in Xiao Jianjia's shoes. He felt that it was understandable that Xiao Jianjia did not recognize him. That child has had a very hard life these years. I was too rash. It's fine if she doesn't recognize me. All I can do is to protect her in secret. I should have gone down the mountain earlier, Xiao Yan said regretfully. No, I shouldn't have abandoned this child and let her bear all this alone anyway. She will die anyway and become the king of a fallen country. I was too timid. The old eunuch just smiled bitterly. After a while, Xiao Yan asked, where is that slave girl now? Master, she is in the Xiao clan. Li Yuan allocated a piece of land for the Xiao clan to live in, but all the male members became eunuchs. The princess also betrothed all the women who were waiting to be married to members of the Lu clan, said the old eunuch. Let's go. It's time to understand the consequences of this evil. A hint of cruelty flashed in Xiao Yan's eyes. At this time, the Xiao family gathered. Everyone was in a daze, living a life of drunkenness and dreams. The vast majority of people have given in to depravity. It's okay for children, as they don't understand the meaning of castration, but it's different for adults. Some people go to orphanages to adopt children in order to continue their bloodline, which is considered progressive. Some people secretly let their wives borrow. It is humiliating, but there is nothing we can do about it. If someone gives birth to a daughter, they can ask her to have more children, so that the Xiao family can have a child to continue the family line. But those who don't have children can neither do heavy labor nor have any special skills, so they can only work as screwdrivers in the factory. Xiao Chai would occasionally come to see them, but he never came again. Later, these people were completely useless. If you want to blame someone, just blame themselves for not living up to their expectations. In the courtyard of the house in the center of the Xiao clan, a woman with disheveled hair was sitting in the yard with a rag doll in her hand. She called out Azu over and over again, and her hand gently stroked the doll. And the doll has been patented. Most of the time, she was in a state of madness. Occasionally, when she was lucid, she would cry loudly and curse Xiao Jianjia as an unfilial daughter and a murderer. The Xiao clan members imprisoned her in this yard, with iron chains on her feet and the other end tied to a tree as thick as a bucket. Only restaurants will have someone deliver meals. As for guards, don't even think about it. Even dogs don't want to come to this place. Xiao Jianjia, you rebellious girl, you imprisoned me and killed your brother. You are not even a human being. Wow, Zhu, my good son. Why did you die? Mother promised you that I would make you the supreme emperor. Please don't die after I kill that rebellious girl. I will make you the emperor, okay? Xiao Yan entered the yard without any effort. Seeing her crazy appearance, he felt a little soft-hearted, but when he saw that she was crazy and still plotting against Xiao Jianjia, he was furious. Queen Mu noticed the movement behind her and turned around suddenly. Who are you? but the next second she widened her eyes, and the stains on her face could not hide her horror. "You're here to take me away? I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have betrayed you. I shouldn't have betrayed you." She knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. "You know how pitiful it is for a woman like me to wander around outside without a man to take care of me. It's hard for me to take a single step. That child, yes, they forced me to give birth to it. I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. Please go away, don't take me away." She was so scared that she thought Xiaoyan came from hell to take her away. Even though she was in a daze, she recognized the man in front of her at a glance. Xiaoyan said coldly, "Bitch." He sent Queen Mu away because he didn't want her to be imprisoned and bullied by treacherous officials, but he didn't expect that she would betray him. "Your Majesty. I know I was wrong, please don't take me away. I don't want to die, I don't want to die." Queen Mu threw the puppet in her hand to the ground and said, "Kill this child, he is a bastard, kill this bastard and let me go. Okay? Oh, you really don't love anyone, you only love yourself." Xiaoyan sneered and pulled out a slender sword from his whisk. Then he walked step by step to Queen Mu. When she saw Xiaoyan, she curled up under the table and kept begging Xiaoyan not to kill her. Even though she had ended up like this, Xiaoyan still had no intention of letting her go. "You are already so pitiful, living in this world is also suffering. I will personally send you off so that you don't continue to suffer." Queen Mu's body suddenly stiffened, and the sword in her pupils rapidly expanded. By the time she reacted, her throat had been cut by a sharp blade. A large amount of blood gushed out from the wounds. He covered the wound tightly with her mouth, her face full of disbelief. Chapter 589 Secret. At this moment, she regained her clarity of mind. Your Majesty, you are back, you are not dead." She tried hard to make a sound but found that the wind poured in from the wound and blood gushed out of her mouth. And she couldn't stop it. All the strength in my body was drained away in an instant. Queen Mu fell limply to the ground, staring at Xiaoyan, whose face was expressionless. She didn't understand why her dead husband appeared here. A whole process, from the time Xiaoyan took action to the time Queen Mu died, took no more than 5 minutes. Xiaoyan wiped the blood off the sword and inserted it into the whisk again. Then he sat cross-legged on the ground and recited the Sutra of Rebirth, dust to dust, earth to earth, death and resentment are gone, this life is clear for you and me. Xiaoyan stood up and was about to leave, but he found that the gate had been opened at some point and the muzzle of a gun was pointed at him. The leading man said, "Killing people secretly is not what the Emperor of Daqian should do." Xiaoyan was shocked, but not afraid. "I am no longer the Emperor. It doesn't matter whether you are the Emperor or not. His Majesty wants to see you," and Yuhan said. Xiaoyan understood what was going on looking at the captured old eunuch. He immediately realized what was going on. "I guess it was discovered on the day the jade plate was buried." And Yuhan did not explain, but for Xiao Ji and Jia's sake. He did not torture him, he just took the whisk from his hand, searched him, and made sure there was no problem before taking him away. The carriage went around and arrived at the Security Bureau compound, which is one of the safest places in Liangjing. In the yard, Li Yuan was basking in the sun and drinking tea, with a mattress covering him. A winter in Liangjing is colder than in previous years. Even though the sun is shining, it cannot stop the cold from invading. Li Yuan was looking at Xiaoyan, and Xiaoyan was also looking at Lu Yuan. This was not the first time he had met Lu Yuan, but this was the first time he had such close contact with him. Li Yuan had an extraordinary bearing and a dignified appearance. Even when he was sitting there, he had a sense of majesty. He was indeed a natural king. Xiaoyan wanted to salute, but thinking of his status, he did not move, and just said, "I have wanted to see you for a long time, but I am afraid of causing trouble to Jianjia Xian. Ruis incident was done by me. I am a father. And it shouldn't be too much for me to do something for my daughter, right? Not too much, of course not too much." Li Yuan smiled. Even though the man in front of him was his cheap father-in-law, he had no intention of getting up just because he faked his death and escaped, disregarded the world, and abandoned his wife and daughter. He was not worthy of his respect. "Sit down and have a cup of hot tea to warm yourself up." Xiaoyan didn't think much about it. He sat down opposite Li Yuan and picked up the teacup to drink. Xiaoyan has been practicing Taoism and meditation over the years, and he has an extraordinary temperament. However, he had just killed someone and his clothes were splattered with blood, which added some murderous aura to this man. "Good tea." Xiaoyan put down the teacup. "Why did you kill her? She deserves to be killed. I was soft-hearted back then and should have killed her long ago." Xiaoyan said, "Do you know who arranged for the evil concubine who bewitched me to enter the palace? Do you mean Queen Mu? Yes, that demon concubine is actually a distant cousin of hers. Do you know what she wants to do? I don't know. My marriage with her was originally a marriage of alliance. She was originally the daughter of the Prime Minister when my father was in power. The Prime Minister almost monopolized power. He was reluctant to give up power until my father died. It wasn't until he died that my life became a little better. You should understand that the Prime Minister is a person who can counter the imperial populace. With so many political parties, it's not difficult to sideline me. Later, whether it was the new party or the Unit Party, I supported them to fight against the Prime Minister, Xiaoyan explained. Li Yuan was a little surprised because this was different from what he knew. My father must have said this. But he didn't know much, to be honest. I hate the Prime Minister. I never expected that the new party I supported was also headed by the Prime Minister. To be precise, he is the Prime Minister's favorite student and the Queen's childhood sweetheart. You must be wondering, if that's the case, why would I let her fake her death? Because I lied to her that the treacherous Prime Minister wanted to kill her, and I set up a trap so that she actually believed it, so she had to fake her own death to get away. Li Yuan felt a little confused. Wait, why don't you just kill her? It is because of my soft heart that such consequences occurred. The reason why I became the emperor is precisely because of my soft heart and indecisiveness. If it were another Yingjiuo emperor, he would have died long ago. Xiaoyan shook his head and said, I won't hide it from you actually, my father's favorite heir is my younger brother, Prince Wan Xiaochai. Before I faked my death, I wrote a secret letter and left it to my younger brother. Let him inherit my position, because I know that no one among my descendants can inherit my position. Most importantly, Xiao Yi is not my son. Li Yuan took a breath of cold air. He didn't expect that there was such a secret here. No wonder Xiaoyan didn't even care about his own eldest son and let him do whatever he wanted. In other words, Xiao Yi is the son of a treacherous prime minister. Yes. Xiaoyan gnashed his teeth and said, the prime minister thought I didn't know about this, but I know it better than anyone else. That slave girl gave birth to several children for me. But Jianjia is my biological daughter. She thought I didn't know, but I knew it better than anyone. For Jianjia's sake, I spared her life. Most importantly, I believe in my brother's ability to restore order by then. With this Qi in his hand and the imperial edict in his hand, he will be able to establish himself as the legitimate ruler. But I never expected that Xiaochai would support Jianjia up. Does Xiaochai know that Xiao Yi is not your son? I know, Xiaoyan nodded. It was embarrassing to talk about this matter, but at this point, there was nothing to hide, so he didn't feel sad at all about the death of Xiao Yi and others. She just felt happy. He did not feel sad even if these Xiao clan members were castrated. Since they became prime ministers, these Xiao clan members had married the daughters of traitors. These children were also descendants of traitors, and their death was not a pity. Xiaochai is loyal and wants to support Jianjia and revive Daqian. Unfortunately, due to fate and timing, Jianjia had a child before marriage and was criticized by the new party. Naturally, she lost the support of the people. In addition, she is a girl, which makes her even less favored by people. If Xiaochai had listened to me, Daqian might not have been like this. Xiaoyan sighed. However, now that things have come to this, there is no point in saying these things. I just want you to know the truth of the matter. I, Xiaoyan, do not kill innocent people indiscriminately. Killing that bitch is something I should have done long ago. I was decades late in this matter now, but I have killed this bitch with my own hands. I can die without regrets. If you want to do it, just do it. I have absolutely no complaints. He looked at Lu Yuan calmly, without a trace of fear. Chapter 590, Horrible Hypocrisy. You didn't harm me or Day, so I have no reason to kill you. Li Yuan said, but I still don't understand. As you said, Queen Mu should also be a rebel. She is, Xiaoyan said dejectedly. She has always wanted to overthrow my Xiaoqian regime. I knew that if I killed her directly, there would be chaos in the world, so I designed her to fake her death. Later, I pretended to be crazy and stupid. The treacherous prime minister colluded with the evil concubine. Xiaochai put things right, and Yangji took the opportunity to take the throne. He is my confidant. But I still underestimated his ambition. Xiaochai is loyal and supports Jianjia, but the child has never suffered any hardship since childhood. I have always protected her well when I was still around. But I dare not show it. If the prime minister knew that Jianjia was my biological daughter, he would definitely kill her. You should have come out earlier. Li Yuan said. Xiaoyan just smiled bitterly, as if he had something to hide, but it didn't matter to Lu Yuan anymore. For example, how did Xiaoyan determine that Xiao Jianjia was her biological daughter? Judging from her appearance, Xiao Jianjia looked 60 like Empress Mu, but not at all like Xiaoyan. Since he knew that Xiao Yi was not his child, was it because he had a physical problem? Li Yuan's eyes were full of complexity. But it'd be that Jianjia. Li Yuan didn't dare to think about it. Yes, I should have come out earlier. This child has suffered too much, Xiaoyan said. Li Yuan looked at him and knew that Xiaoyan was lying. He definitely did not kill Queen Mu because he wanted to correct a mistake. If he wanted to kill her, he would have done it that year. How could he be kept alive till now and be killed? Queen Mu is still alive and has taken away a large number of Xiao clan members. This is an unstable factor. The best way is to imprison her and let Xiao Qi control her. And Xiaochai is not as simple as he seems. He is indeed loyal. But he still wants to protect Queen Mu, even though he knows the truth. This is hard to understand. Li Yuan took out a pack of cigarettes, handed him one, and smoked it. Your story is very good. I am very moved. Xiao Yan was stunned. Do you think I lied to you? Li Yuan smiled and said, whether you are lying to me or not, you know it in your heart. If you fall into my hands today, I will definitely not let you go. If you want to live, you have to dispel my worries. After all, you are half my elder. I don't like killing my own people. Xiao Yan would not listen to his nonsense. A general's success is built on the sacrifice of hundreds of soldiers. Li Yuan was able to unify the Central Plains, so he is not a hesitant person. That's the truth. Li Yuan exhaled a smoke and laughed. In fact, I know much more than you think, Xiao Yan. Your hypocrisy is far more terrible than I thought. Why do you say that? Xiao Yan looked at him puzzled. Since you want to get to the bottom of this, I'll satisfy you. Li Yuan dusted off his cigarette ash and looked at Xiao Yan with a hint of sarcasm. First of all, you said Jia is your daughter. Which is wrong. Xiao Yi is not your child, so it is very likely that all your children are not your children. Because, since the Prime Minister has plans to usurp the country, he will not allow you to grow. Although you promoted my father didn't know much. But you forgot one thing. The treacherous Prime Minister after the Prime Minister was Queen Mu's childhood sweetheart, which means that the two of them had been in love since childhood. The reason why you designed to deceive Queen Mu was because you were afraid that he would usurp the throne. Because the child is not yours, the treacherous Prime Minister can become regent in a minute and thus scheme against the country by simply killing you. Although the Prime Minister had the conditions to usurp the throne, he was afraid of being stabbed in the back. No matter what dynasty, regicide is a taboo. Li Yuan couldn't help but think of the Three Kingdoms when Cao Cao proclaimed himself emperor. No one laughed at him when Yu Bi established Shu Han as the grandson of Zongshan king. No one laughed at him but when Yuan Shu, who was a third-generation official, proclaimed himself emperor, he was laughed at by later generations. Why? Because I don't deserve it. The Sima family usurped the Wei throne and are still reviled today. So the Prime Minister had the opportunity to usurp the throne, but he still arranged this grand plan. Why? Isn't it just a legitimate reason? My father told me that Emperor Yanxing Xiao Yan's father entrusted his son to him before his death, and the Prime Minister swore an oath in public. So the Prime Minister didn't dare. Later, the Prime Minister died, and his most favorite student, whom you call the treacherous Prime Minister, came to power. He said that he was your confidant, which means that you had known about the relationship between the treacherous Prime Minister and Queen Mu for a long time. You are taking advantage of him, and you are very bold. He is not a coward at all as you said. You kill people like killing chickens, without any fear. After so many years of chaos, if I was a coward, I would have died long ago. Xiao Yan said in a deep voice, even looking at Li Yuan with amusement. These are just your inferences. No, I haven't finished yet. Li Yuan crushed the cigarette and hurriedly lit one for himself. Reasoning was tiring, and cigarettes could refresh him. He took it with satisfaction and continued, you know, the Prime Minister is a steady man. Since he has the idea of usurping the country, he will not let you grow up, so his favorite student will not be used by you. When Xiao Yi was born, the Prime Minister was still alive. The child's surname was not actually Xiao, but Mu. If I'm not mistaken, they have no blood relationship with you at all, and the same goes for those people in the harem. Those sons or daughters have nothing to do with you. As I said before, your method of deceiving Queen Mu was not actually very clever. She was just a little stupid. When the evil concubine entered the palace, you indulged in sensual pleasures and pretended to be stupid. But the demon concubine has been in the palace for so many years, but she has not given birth to a child for you. This is worth talking about. Li Yuan smiled meaningfully, because Queen Mu also knows who the demon concubine belongs to. If I were you, I would definitely take the opportunity to stir up trouble. As I said, Queen Mu was stupid. If she wasn't stupid, she wouldn't have ended up like this. She listened to you and faked her own death to escape. Moreover, you also arranged for Xiaochai to send those people away one after another. This is just a temporary solution for you. Xiao Yan said calmly. What an interesting inference. Unfortunately, it is not what you think. I, Xiao Yan, am not that kind of despicable person. Li Yuan couldn't help laughing out loud. Xiao Yan's face looked a little gloomy, but he didn't get angry. He said that Emperor Yanxing favored Xiaoqi instead of the indecisive you, but I don't think so. When the Prime Minister was in power, at least the prince was still the son of Emperor Yanxing. If I were Emperor Yanxing, I would definitely ask the princes to hide their talents. The more mediocre the better, or even indulge in sensual pleasures. Xiaochai is indeed a good man, both civil and military. But in my opinion, this is just a stopgap measure of Emperor Yanxing. Push Xiaochai, a man of both civil and military talents, brave and decisive, to attract everyone's attention. Then I will help you who seems indecisive and cowardly. To the throne. Chapter 591 Verifying the conjecture. Emperor Yanxing is a wise ruler, but unfortunately, he was born at the wrong time. With internal and external troubles, I don't believe that the prince he taught would be an indecisive person. Li Yuan stared at Xiao Yan and saw that his expression did not change at all. He sighed inwardly. This was the true scheming of the highest level. This man was terribly hypocritical. The so-called secret decree is completely fictitious, but I am sure that Xiao Chai knows that you are alive. Moreover, he doesn't know whether Xiao Yi is your son. But it doesn't matter if you don't know, because you've concealed the truth. Li Yuan smiled and said, although you are humane, you can't have children. Xiao Yan's expression finally showed a slight change. But it soon disappeared. What about Jianjia? Whether Jianjia is your daughter or not is very simple. He happens to have a method to identify blood. We only need to take your blood or hair to identify her. Xiao Yan was silent for a long time before he denied it. I have to say, your inference is brilliant. But things are not as dirty as you think. Dirty? Ridiculous? Li Yuan sneered. You attacked the barbarians twice, but it didn't increase your dignity, but polluted yourself. You let those people see your stupidity. So that you can live better. If you really cared about Jianjia, you wouldn't leave her alone in the palace. How could he not know what Biaoyang County was like before? The imperial court didn't care about that tragic situation at all. Besides, there is the Biaoyang Pass. Even though the barbarians are powerful, they simply cannot break through the pass. No matter how powerful the barbarians are, they are nothing more than mad dogs imprisoned inside the pass. What's the point of fighting in such a shabby place? Even if we win, so what? The Xii and Jing dynasties are watching Kufta's life from the sidelines. Do you dare to send troops to occupy it? If you can't do that and you can't get any benefit, then why do you go to war several times? The barbarians' looting of Biaoyang County did not start in recent years but has been going on intermittently for more than 200 years. Why Biaoyang County still exists? Because it is the place of exile. Among those who were forced into the mountains, except for a few mountain tribesmen, 60 were descendants of criminals. At first, Li Yuan didn't understand. But now, he understood everything. Xiao Yan is just defiling himself in order to protect himself. But what is certain is that he supported the eunuch party. Among them, there is a particularly interesting record. He has read the daily records of Emperor Daqian. It says that the emperor is active and likes to play with eunuchs. It is from this sentence that we can see that Xiao Yan is a man of deep thought. She took this opportunity to vigorously support the eunuch party. His cowardice was for outsiders to see. He was just taking this opportunity to support the eunuch party and balance the court. It's my fault, I know it. No matter what I say, it's useless. Xiao Yan sighed. Don't make yourself sound so innocent. I haven't finished yet, Li Yuan said coldly. Since you didn't give the imperial edict to Xiao Chai is loyal and will naturally not become emperor. The prime minister is afraid of being stabbed in the back. Doesn't Xiao Kai fear being stabbed in the back? So I think if the secret decree is real, there is a 70% chance that you entrusted Xiao Kai to support Jianjia to become emperor. The reason is very simple. Exactly the same as when you ascended the throne and became emperor. Most importantly, she is a woman. It's innately deficient. You faked your death and escaped, supporting Jianjia to take the throne. Xiao Kai restored order, and although he did not exterminate the new party, he also bought Daqian some breathing room. You have only one goal, to hide your weapon and wait for the right time to act. In time, you will be able to take power again. But you overestimated yourself, overestimated Xiao Chai, underestimated Jianjia, and did not expect that there is me. You didn't show up earlier, nor did you show up later, but you appeared just when I made Jianjia the queen. What's the difference between her and Empress Mu? Li Yuan's face was full of sarcasm. How bold you are. You tried every possible means to apply to become a servant of Prince Qian's mansion. And after the recognition failed, you took the opportunity to fabricate an auspicious sign to show your goodwill. The jade plate was priceless, and Jianjia's face changed the first time she saw it. You are so scheming. Explain the reason to them, appeal to their emotions, and clear yourself of all responsibility. He completely forgot that he was the driving force behind all these accidents. If Jianjia forgives you, everything will be fine. If she doesn't forgive you, you can also slowly resolve the conflict. Who knows, he might even become a father-in-law of a countryman in the future. When Jianjia gives birth to a child, they will also have the blood of the Xiao family. Although Jianjia is not your daughter, who knows the truth of the past? Xiao Yan naturally would not admit it. Li Yuan didn't care whether he admitted it or not. Just do a blood test and you'll know. Xiao Yan's face changed drastically. Lu Yuan, I am your father-in-law after all. You can kill me if you want. Why humiliate me? If Jianjia knew, what would she think? If you were really Jianjia's father, why would you be so nervous? Only if you are not. You would be bluffing and pretending to be powerful. Li Yuan knew very well that there was no good or bad in this world without reason. Xiao Jianjia said that she spent the first half of her life trapped in a huge conspiracy and trap. Li Yuan felt sorry for her. So he started to investigate some things. He did not rely on random inferences from his imagination. Every inference was supported by evidence. Li Yuan reached out to grab him. And at that moment, a huge first game. The hand holding Xiaoyan was suddenly turned over. Xiaoyan was also startled. And then quickly let go of his hand. You still say you are a coward, but there are only a few cowards like you. Li Yuan joined the game himself. Xiaoyan's eyelids also twitched. Li Yuan, why do you have to force me so hard? Fuck your grandma. Li Yuan raised his hand. 2 shots were fired. Xiaoyan's knee was broken and his body fell to the ground uncontrollably. Before he could react, 2 more shots struck, shattering his elbow. The person who fired the shot was none other than Liu Su. She stepped forward with a cold face and grabbed Xiaoyan by the back of his neck. How dare you hurt his majesty, you bastard. Xiaoyan looked at Li Yuan with fear on his face. You. Since you are not Jianjia's biological father, why are you pretending to be so high and mighty in front of me? Li Yuan squatted down and looked at him. Go and draw blood. Yes, your majesty. The latest DNA technology may not be accurate. So it is better to test it according to blood type inheritance as a double insurance. Xiao Jianjia once worked in a military hospital, so she has a file. Her blood type is type 1A. Li Yuan's is type 3, so Huan is also type 3. Empress Mu also has type 3 blood, so now we just need to test Xiaoyan's blood type. A result soon came out. Xiaoyan has type 2 blood B, and according to the blood type genetic table, Xiao Jianjia definitely cannot be type 1 blood, which means that Xiao Jianjia is really not Xiaoyan's daughter. Liu Su was stunned for a moment, looking at the report in Li Yuan's hand with disbelief. Your Majesty. This. Chapter 592, Substituting the Sky for the Day. Now, there is basically no need to test DNA. This guy Xiaoyan is really a pitiful creature. Fortunately, Li Yuan was more careful, otherwise he would have been fooled by this bastard. If Xiao Jianjia didn't look very much like Empress Mu, Li Yuan would have thought that Xiao Jianjia was adopted. Keep this matter to yourself and never mention it in front of Jianjia, Li Yuan said. Li Su nodded. She also felt a little sorry for Xiao Jianjia. She had wholeheartedly wanted to revive Daqian, but this was the result. It turns out that she is not a member of the Xiao family. Li Yuan also had a complicated expression. I finally understand why the treacherous prime minister allowed Jianjia to take the throne, and why he allowed her to have a child before marriage. Logically speaking, after discovering that Xiao Jianjia had a child before marriage, the first thing to do was to force her to have an abortion. How could such a scandal happen to an emperor? But Xiao Jianjia not only gave birth to the child, but also, to a certain extent, secured her position as emperor. So what was the situation when she was being hunted and poisoned? Li Yuan frowned, unable to figure out the connection. No, if they were hunting her down, why did they use the aphrodisiac poison? The capital was in chaos at that time. What value did a princess like Xiao Jianjia have? There is more than one princess in the palace. Li Yuan wanted to investigate, but so many years had passed and things had changed. Members of the new party had been killed long ago, and those who knew the truth were probably also dead. Your Majesty, do you want to continue the test? Check. Of course we have to check, Lu Yuan said. Then how should Xiaoyan deal with it? Call Xiaochai into the palace. After saying that, Li Yuan returned to the palace. After Xiaochai returned to Beijing, he was appointed Minister of Rights. He had military merits and was loyal. He was also Xiao Jianjia's uncle, and no one dared to say anything when Lu Yuan promoted him. Besides, he was a minister before. Soon, Xiaoqi arrived at the imperial study. Your Majesty, I pay my respects to you. Even though kneeling is not popular in day, Xiaoqi always performs grand ceremony when he sees Li Yuan, which shows both caution and gratitude. Stand up. Thank you, Your Majesty. Xiaoqi stood up and asked, is the Ministry of Rights very busy during the new year? Your Majesty, there is indeed a lot of official business, but it is almost finished. And there will be no mistakes in the year-end summary. Xiaoqi thought the emperor called him over to ask this. Li Yuan nodded, gave him a seat, and then said, do you know why I asked you to come here today? I don't know, Your Majesty. Please enlighten me, Xiaoqi said respectfully. I have arrested a man named Xiaoyan. After saying this, Xiaoqi fell silent, then knelt on the ground again, not daring to look up. This humble minister deserves death. Why should I die? I have concealed the truth from Your Majesty, so I deserve to die, said Xiaoqi. I want to know the truth, and I hope you will tell me the truth. Everything. Do you understand? Li Yuan said. Xiaoqi smiled bitterly when Queen Mu came out. He knew that this matter would not be kept secret for long. Yes. Xiaoqi took a deep breath to calm himself down. After thinking for a while, he slowly spoke. I know a lot, but I don't know where to start. Let's start from the moment he asked you to support Ji and Jia to take the position, Li Yuan said. Xiao Chai looked at the emperor in some surprise. It seemed that the emperor knew more than he thought. He didn't dare to hide it anymore and told everyone what happened. It is similar to what Li Yuan investigated and speculated. Although there are some differences in minor details, they are not important. You never doubted him? He is my elder brother. Before he died, my father made me swear to listen to him. I know Da Qian's predicament, so I have been trying my best to help him. But unfortunately, Da Qian has already gone too far and cannot be saved. Then do you know what's wrong with your elder brother? Xiaoqi hesitated for a moment, then nodded heavily. He is infertile. Li Yuan exclaimed, you really know? I guessed even though he never said it. He and I grew up together, so how could I not know about him? I gave birth to Xiaoji when I was 16. He was my age and had sex with many people, but he never had any children. At Ji and Jia. Ji is of the Xiao family's bloodline. That's enough, nothing else matters, Xiaoji said. Are you so sure? Li Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly. Xiao Chai, you have a problem. A big problem. Xiao Chai felt uncomfortable when Li Yuan stared at him. He felt like he was standing naked in front of him, without any secrets. I dare not hide it. Li Yuan looked at Xiao Chai, who was prostrating himself. A possibility flashed through his mind, and then he stood up suddenly. Is Xiao Chai, you? Your Majesty is the blood of the Xiao family. There is no need for you to doubt it. This is absolutely true. She is my brother's daughter. No matter what others say, she is. Even if I die, I will still say so. Xiao Chai said undeniably, feeling a little excited. Li Yuan took a breath and sat back in his seat. It makes sense. Everything makes sense. Okay, Xiao Chai. You are really amazing. You are really amazing. I didn't expect that you are the one who hides the most. Li Yuan took out a book and opened a record on it. In the winter of the 16th year of Tianqing, Princess Wan gave birth to a son, and Xiao Ji and Jia happened to be born in the winter of that year. Although she is the elder sister, she is only a few days older than Xiao Ji. What a trick of replacing the prince with a cat. What a trick of stealing the sky for the day. Li Yuan was amazed. Xiao Chai, who was kneeling below, had his face buried in the ground and could not be seen clearly. He didn't say anything, which meant he agreed. No wonder you were risking your life from the beginning to the end, following her around. No wonder you didn't tell her the truth. If Empress Mu hadn't come to you, you would have kept this secret from her forever. Li Yuan closed the book. It was really shocking. Xiao Yan knew that he was inhumane and had no children, so the best way was to steal the show. Xiao Chai is undoubtedly the person he trusts the most. The treacherous prime minister thought that the daughter was his, so he let her go at the critical moment and allowed the child to be born. But no one expected that the plan played by these two brothers would trap everyone. I don't know what your Majesty is saying. I only know that the queen is the biological daughter of my brother. Although my brother is infertile, this child is a gift from God. It is God's will. Xiao Chai refused to admit it. Li Yuan no longer cares. He sighed. People like Xiao Chai are really rare in the world. Li Yuan was not afraid of him. He just felt sorry for him. As for Xiao Ji, he will never know the truth. The treacherous prime minister he hated was actually his real father. Stand up. If it's not true, then it's not true. Li Yuan waved his hand. Thank you, Your Majesty. Xiao Chai stood up, his whole body soaked with cold sweat. Your Majesty, the Queen. You are a qualified subject, but definitely not a qualified father. Chapter 593, Xiao Chai's decision. Xiao Chai listened silently without refutation. Do you know how much damage it would cause to her if Queen Mu jumped out? I know. How could you bear it when Xiao Yan jumped out and tried to force her to death? Li Yuan asked angrily. War. In your eyes, brothers are more important than your own flesh and blood. Xiao Chai still didn't speak. Li Yuan was a little upset. But things had come to this point. Xiao Ji and Jia had already suffered all this harm and it was unavoidable, so he didn't want to let her continue to suffer. Go down. Yes, I'll take my leave. Xiao Chai felt relieved. After leaving the imperial study, he couldn't help but look up at the sky. Finally, he smiled bitterly, shook his head, and left the palace. On this day, Xiao Chai got off work and went home early. Xiao Ji has been on vacation. He is now a teacher at Liangjing Middle School. He got married and had a child last year. He no longer cares about those grudges and lives a very peaceful life. His wife is also a teacher. Although she is not from a scholarly family, she is gentle and virtuous. Son, go and greet your grandpa. Xiao Ji was teasing his son, and when he saw his father coming back, he let go of his 1-year-old son. The little fellow babbled and walked towards Xiao Chai with a smile on his face, taking his short legs. In the past, Xiao Chai would rush over to pick up his grandson and tease him non-stop, but recently, his face looked haggard and tired. The child had just learned to walk and was not yet stable. He walked too fast and sat down on the ground. He suddenly burst into tears. Xiao Chai was stunned, but did not go to help. He walked around the child and went straight inside. Father? Xiao Ji frowned and hurried over to help the child up. Grandpa. The little guy looked at the direction where Xiao Ji left with some grievance. He didn't understand why his grandfather, who had always loved him, was so indifferent today. Husband? My father-in-law. The wife was also confused and looked at Xiao Ji. Xiao Ji understood his father even when he was busy with official duties. He never vented his temper on his family over the years. His father had always been as gentle as a gentleman. The reason why he had the idea of teaching and educating people was purely because of his father's influence. His father loved reading and taught him how to read, write and be a good person since he was a child. If the country was not in trouble, he would never have stained his battle robe with blood. His mother died early, so his father had to play both father and mother role in raising him. You look after the child, I'll go over and take a look, Xiao Ji said. The woman nodded and held the child in her arms to coax him. Dad, can I come in? Xiao Ji asked, knocking on the door outside the study. Leave me alone for a while. A slightly impatient voice came from the room. Dad, has something happened? Is there anything I can do to help? The more his father asked this, the more worried Xiao Ji became. I said, leave me alone. A roar came from the room. Xiao Ji was startled and his hand on the door fell down. He took a step back, frowned, and simply stopped talking and sat at the door to guard it. In the room, Xiao Cai's breathing was a little rapid and his eyes were bloodshot. He took out a scroll of portraits, which contained a portrait of his deceased wife. Why did my wife die early? It's all those people's fault. After so many years, he thought no one would mention it. But he didn't expect that Li Yuan would know. Akion is gone. Why are you still making such a fuss? Bang! Xiao Cai slammed the documents on the desk hard. Yushu, your husband misses you. Xiao Cai, who had not shed tears for many years, now burst into tears while holding the portrait. His miserable crying made Xiao Cai, who was standing outside the door, lost in thought. He looked around the room in confusion. His father's crying was so sad that it made him feel sad. A real man like my father would not shed tears even if he was beheaded and bleeding. But now he is crying so pitifully. What is going on? Xiao Ji was puzzled. The crying in the study room didn't stop for a while. Xiao Cai was in a mess. He didn't know how to face Li Yuan, nor did he know how to face Xiao Ji and Jia. How should Xiao Ji face it? This child is innocent. Over the years, we have treated him as our own. He is also very obedient and has a kind nature. But at this moment, the secret buried in his heart was revealed, and looking at the portrait of his wife, he really couldn't face it anymore. That year, he was in the prime of his life. His father gave him many instructions before his death, and he nodded and agreed. After his eldest brother came to power, he tried his best to assist him, but was envied by those people who set fire to his mansion and killed his wife tragically at home. He hates it. Looking back on every little thing that happened over the years, the only thing he could do was to take care of the child to the best of his ability. Why did he hide the fact that Xiao Ji and Jia was cooperating with Biao Yang? That's because he knew that perhaps one day, this place could become Xiao Ji and Jia's retreat. What are you thinking, brother? He still wanted to rise again, but he forgot that he, Xiao Cai, was not only a subject, but also a father and a husband. He has done enough over the years. But he didn't. He wanted that slave girl to complete his daughter's transformation. My daughter did it and grew up step by step, just as he had expected. Biao Yang became the retreat roof for all of them. When Xiao Ji and Jia questioned him, he had no choice but to swallow his anger. In her heart, she was an unfaithful person. But he could only suppress his inner love for his son and stay by his side as an uncle and a subject. That child has suffered too much. How could he let her suffer in vain over the years? Today, anyone who dares to destroy Xiao Ji and Jia's hard-earned happiness will be torn into pieces. Thinking of this, Xiao Cai made a decision. He pushed the door open. Xiao Ji stood up quickly. Dad, you? I'm fine, don't worry, Xiao Cai said coldly, then strode away. Xiao Ji wanted to catch up, but was intimidated by his father's eyes and did not dare to follow him. Dad, no need to follow me. I'll be back when I'm done. Xiao Ji paused at this moment. He felt helpless because he didn't know what was going on in the court. There must be a reason why his father became like this. He watched his father leave, then said something to his wife and went into the palace. Given his identity, it was not easy for him to enter the palace even though he was the queen's brother. He had no official status and could only rely on his status as a royal relative and wait for layers of notifications. After half an hour, someone came to report. Go in, the queen is waiting for you. Thank you. General, Xiao Ji entered the palace with supplements to preserve the pregnancy. Now if he wanted to see Xiao Ji and Jia, he must have a legitimate reason. Soon, he arrived at Fudi Palace and saw Xiao Ji and Jia. Sister, I'm here to see you. The brother and sister haven't seen each other for many days, but they don't feel strange at all. Xiao Ji and Jia smiled and said, why did you come here alone? Where's my nephew? Didn't you bring him with you? Chapter 594, meeting again after many years. He was making a scene, so I came here alone. Xiao Ji smiled and said, "Sister, are you feeling well?" "Everything is fine. I wanted to come see you a few days ago, but my father wouldn't let me." Xiao Ji and Jia said, "Don't worry about some rumors, Your Majesty and I are fine." Xiao Ji was thoughtful. Based on his understanding of Lu Yuan, it was unlikely that he would treat Xiao Ji and Jia like this, so there was only one possibility. Although he is not in politics, he still has a basic political sense. "I thought too much." Xiao Ji breathed a sigh of relief and then started to extend the conversation with Xiao Ji and Jia again. However, he couldn't stay here for long, as Fudi Palace was full of women, no opposite sex. And eunuchs didn't count. After the harem reform, there is an even greater need to avoid suspicion. He changed the subject and said, "Sister, nothing has happened in the court recently, right? I have never been involved in government affairs. You know that the harem cannot interfere in government affairs. I have been scolded for the harem reform." Xiao Ji and Jia knew that Xiao Ji must have something wrong when he entered the palace. "If you have anything to say, just say it directly, there are no outsiders here." Xiao Ji hesitated for a while, but still told the story in general. "My father was very sad today. I don't know what happened. He left soon after I got home. Our family has been a Liangjing for so long and there is no other relationship. You know about the Xiao clan, we haven't had any contact for a long time." Xiao Ji and Jia frowned and said, "I'll keep an eye on it for you." "Thank you, sister, I'll take my leave now. You'd better go and ask to see His Majesty." "Don't say anything, just look at him." Xiao Ji and Jia thought for a moment and reminded. Xiao Ji hesitated for a moment and nodded. "How is his relationship with Lu Yuan now?" Ever since Lu Yuan expelled him from the sect, he always felt that he was sorry for Lu Yuan. All in all, he hadn't spoken to Lu Yuan for 2 years, and he felt a little uneasy. "But now that I'm here, it would be unreasonable not to go and see him." Taking a deep breath, he came to the outside of Yongping Palace. "His Majesty summons you in," the eunuch at the door reminded. "Thank you." Xiao Ji bowed and walked into the palace. He quickly glanced at Lu Yuan above him and knelt in the middle of the hall. Xiao Ji pays respect to His Majesty. "Xiao Ji, I haven't seen you for a long time," Lu Yuan said with a smile. This familiar name. Only Lu Yuan would call him like this. Xiao Ji felt sad for some reason. "It's my fault, I should listen to Your Majesty's teachings more often." Lu Yuan stood up, walked to him and helped him up. After not seeing each other for more than 2 years, Xiao Ji had become more mature. After several years of training on the battlefield, he gave up martial arts and turned to literature. He was elegant and capable, thinking of his true identity. Lu Yuan sighed secretly. Xiao Chai has trained him very well over the years. Of course, Lu Yuan had no intention of investigating his identity. No matter who his parents were, that was all in the past. There was now Xiao Ji, the son of Xiao Qi. "You should come to see me more often no matter what happened in the past. You are my brother-in-law now," Lu Yuan said. Xiao Ji had seen everything. He had walked through mountains of swords and seas of fire, and crawled among piles of dead bodies. However, Lu Yuan's simple words of concern made his eyes redden. "Your Majesty, I am ashamed of you. Besides, you were just being pretentious before." Lu Yuan patted his shoulder, changed the subject, and asked about his work. Xiao Ji only reported good news and not bad news. The two talked for a while, but Xiao Ji didn't know how to ask. With his status, he was not qualified to interfere in state affairs, and asking was taboo. After thinking about it, I decided not to cause trouble anymore. He asked to leave and Lu Yuan did not keep him. In fact, Lu Yuan also guessed why he entered the palace. But some things will never have answers. "Remember what I said, if you encounter any difficulties, you can come to the palace to find me. Although you are no longer my disciple, you are still my brother-in-law, and we are still relatives," Lu Yuan reminded again. Xiao Ji felt warm in his heart, bowed deeply to Lu Yuan, and left. And the other side. In the prison of the Security Bureau, Xiao Chai looked at Xiao Yan, whose hands and feet were bandaged, but he didn't feel any sympathy at all. "Xiao Chai, you are here." Xiao Yan hadn't seen Xiao Chai for many years, but he recognized him at first sight. He tried his best to look calm so as not to appear too embarrassed. "I haven't seen you for so many years, you've gotten old." He gave a dry laugh. But Xiao Yan said with a cold face, "It's natural for me to grow old. More than 10 years have passed. How can I not grow old?" "Xiao Chai, I know you are resentful, but that's not what I'm angry about." Xiao Chai said coldly, "Uncle Wang asked you to come down the mountain, but you pretended not to go down, saying that you were doing it for yourself and the people, which is all nonsense. After all, aren't you afraid of death?" "Xiao Chai, how could you think of me like that? You know what the old Taoist priest said, if I go down the mountain at the wrong time, something bad will happen." Xiao Yan argued, "In your heart, do you think I am the kind of person who is afraid of death? We are brothers. Have you forgotten what our father told us before he died?" Xiao Chai sneered, "Now you are talking about my father. And I haven't seen him since then. You have deceived me time and time again, and I have forgiven you time and time again. That's fine. We are brothers, and you are my elder brother after all. As your younger brother, I will work hard for you and treat you like a slave. And I am willing to do that. My wife died and I swallowed my anger. But you should never, ever, bully my daughter. Xiao Yan's face also changed, and he gritted his teeth and said, Xiao Chai. I said at the beginning that I would return to the palace after killing those two traitors, but I have no choice. In the eyes of the world, I am already dead. Can I be resurrected? If I had fought back, I could still explain myself, but it's been so long, who would believe me? So you are blaming me for being incompetent and failing to get rid of the new party? Xiao Chai laughed at himself. I didn't mean that Uncle Wang came to ask me to go down the mountain. That's really not a good opportunity. Besides, I've been living in seclusion for so many years. If I show up rashly, it won't make much difference. It was only later that I found out what that slut had done. And I couldn't help myself, so I came down the mountain. Xiao Yan spoke sincerely, and if Xiao Yan didn't know him so well, he would have been fooled by him. Do you really think that I don't know why you kept the slave? Xiao Chai chuckled. Then you underestimate me. Big brother. He squatted down and looked at his embarrassed elder brother. That bitch bullied my daughter again and again. Isn't that what you wanted? If that bitch had succeeded, you should have jumped out long ago. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You killed her, didn't you? Kill her, and you can claim the credit from the kid. The child will also understand your efforts. You did such a great job in this scene, you even tricked the emperor. But you would never expect that Emperor Day's intelligence is far beyond your imagination. Your perfect plan was seen through by him. He even pulled my underwear clean off. Chapter 595, Heaven Has Its Own Way. I didn't. You think too much of me. Xiao Yan tried his best to refute, but Xiao Chai could not bear it any longer and slapped him. Bang! Xiao Yan's mind went blank. Xiao Chai, you? How could you? I'm going to hit you. Xiao Chai grabbed his collar and said, I warned you again and again that if you don't want to go down the mountain, then die on the mountain. But you just didn't listen to me. If you jump out now, do you know how sad and heartbroken the child is? Have you fulfilled your responsibilities as an elder over the years? That's not your child. Can you treat him like this? Xiao Chai. Calm down. Why should I be calm? Xiao Chai grabbed his neck. I knew that you were infertile because of those people, but you still coveted power. That's fine. I pity you and help you. Is this how you treat me? Xiao Yan felt like he couldn't breathe. He struggled and squeezed out a few words from his throat. Xiao Chai. Are you going to kill me? Don't forget, no matter what, I am Jia's nominal father. If she finds out that you tried to kill me, she will never forgive you in her life. Xiao Chai suddenly burst into laughter and let him go. What do you think the emperor asked me to do? What do you mean? Xiao Yan's heart skipped a beat. Back then, the old Taoist priest said he could cure your illness. And you believed him without a doubt and treated him as a life-saving straw. Have you ever thought about where the old Taoist priest came from? Xiao Chai asked in a low voice. Where did it come from? Xiao Yan was stunned. That old Taoist priest is my man. Do you understand? Xiao Chai looked at him with a sarcastic look. Brother, you killed my wife. How can I let you kill my daughter? Xiao Yan's brain crashed. No, this is impossible. Nothing is impossible. You are too cunning. So cunning that you can't defeat anyone you are defaced. Anyone can be your chess piece, and anyone can be abandoned by you. So I found this liar and put on a show with you, Xiao Chai said in his ear. Xiao Yan's eyes widened. You deserve to die. Xiao Yan was furious at this moment. He felt like a clown. All his years of planning turned out to be a trick for Xiao Kai. He looked at Xiao Chai, who had no expression on his face, and felt a chill in his heart. Xiao Chai, we are from the same mother, and I am one of the few relatives you have in this world. All the previous grievances are in the past, and Dakian has long since perished. I really don't have any other ideas. You see, I also helped Jia, created auspicious signs, and helped her resolve the crisis. Since you don't want to see me again, I will leave and never appear in front of you and your daughter again. I can guarantee that. Xiao Chai watched his performance quietly, and even applauded. Brother, after so many years, you are still so sanctimonious, pushing all the responsibilities onto others. Xiao Yan forced a smile that was uglier than crying. Xiao Chai, you. Before he could finish his words, he felt a sharp pain in his throat. A large amount of blood gushed out from the cut throat instantly, even splashing onto Xiao Chai's clothes. Brother, that slave girl died in the same way as the law of nature goes. You and your spouse have finally had a beginning and an end. When the time comes, I will bury you two together. Xiao Chai muttered as he wiped the dagger clean on Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's face was filled with pain. His whole body twitched constantly, and the light in his eyes gradually faded. After a while, he fell to the ground, completely lifeless. You are allowed to bully my daughter, and I will let you have bad intentions. Yushu, I've avenged you. Father, you forced me to swear an oath and pressured me with filial piety. I accepted it, but now I can't bear it anymore. Xiao Chai murmured that even if Liu Yuan didn't kill him, he would kill him. Xiao Yan jumped up and down, and had already threatened Xiao Ji and Jia. This secret must be kept forever and no third person will know it. He entered the palace and knelt in front of Liu Yuan. Your Majesty, I couldn't help it and killed him. Liu Yuan was not surprised at all, and said calmly, that's it, the new year is coming soon, let's take the annual leave in advance. Thank you. Your Majesty, Xiao Chai said from the bottom of his heart. After Xiao Chai left, Liu Yuan also breathed a sigh of relief. Xiao Chai was very smart and decisive. However, there are no stupid people in this world. Xiao Yan thought he was the mastermind. But in fact Xiao Chai was the real hunter. Sure enough, true hunters appear in the form of prey. Fortunately, Jian Jia is not the bastard of a treacherous prime minister. My cheap father-in-law is really smart, he can play the games at the same time and still land smoothly. I underestimated him. Liu Yuan thought so, and at this moment, he realized that the most underestimated person in the entire court was Xiao Yan. If Xiao Yan hadn't jumped out, Liu Yuan would never have known this secret in his life. He is tight-lipped, not afraid of death, able to fight in wars, and able to govern the place. Emperor Yanxing was really blind at that time. Liu Yuan shook his head and stopped thinking about it. The matter was over. But after this incident, we can make more use of Xiao Kai. He came to Fu Di Palace. Xiao Jianjia was looking at the plan report with a worried look on her face. Seeing Liu Yuan coming over, a smile immediately appeared on his face. Your Majesty, didn't I tell you not to push yourself too hard? Liu Yuan pretended to be unhappy. No, you're here just in time, help me think about it. Xiao Jianjia pulled Liu Yuan to sit down and said, this is my adjustment to the 6 bureaus and 24 departments. Take a look. To reform the harem. It is impossible to reform only the concubines. It is these 6 bureaus and 24 departments that make the harem run. Liu Yuan looked at it carefully for a while, nodded and said, it's okay, it's feasible to follow this method. Real? Liu Yuan nodded. The 24 departments were affiliated to the 6 female officials' bureaus, not just the harem. For example, the imperial kitchen had dozens of departments under the jurisdiction of the Shangxi Bureau. But now, Liu Yuan plans to set up a large cafeteria in the imperial palace to increase revenue and reduce expenditure, so the structure needs to be adjusted. For example, the Shangyi Bureau, which is in charge of clothes, can be streamlined. Xiao Jianjia plans to take out the Shangyi Bureau and turn it into a design institute for clothing brands, which will also be a major project for profit in the harem in the future. Departments like the Sibao Si, Xixi Si and Si Shangxi were in charge of the imperial seal, jewelry and ceremonial guards respectively. You don't need so many people, just reduce the number of staff to single digits. The CNC manages wine and liquor, and the CIOSI ensures the royal medicines. Xiao Jianjia also plans to abolish these 2 departments. Normally the lower classes would pay tribute to the emperor with wine, so the existence of the brewing office was of little significance. Not to mention the imperial pharmacy. The Imperial Medical Bureau has been reorganized and the Imperial Pharmacy cannot use drugs casually from now on. This means that the 6-inning set will have to be overhauled, and there will no longer be 6-inning 24 sets. Chapter 596, Marry Liu Yuan as a concubine. You can make the changes, I won't interfere. But if there are any problems, you must correct them in time. The rhythm of the past few days has calmed down not only the people, but also the palace no longer hold on to Xiao Jianjia. The fact that Xiao Jianjia is pregnant also makes her position more stable. Although Liu Yuan hasn't called those people over yet, it will be within the next 2 days. After talking about the reform, Xiao Jianjia took the opportunity to say, King of Han of Dayu has repeatedly petitioned you to marry Princess Dayu, why did you refuse? Could it be that you have other ideas about Dayu? Really, we have had a very pleasant cooperation with Dayu in the past 2 years, Liu Yuan replied. Isn't Yu Yi pretty? I think although she is not stunningly beautiful, she is still a pretty beauty, Xiao Jianjia said. Since you have no intention of marrying Dayu, then marry Yu Yi. It just so happens that the sisters Hong Mei will enter the palace in the next 2 days, so you can take her in and hold a small ceremony to make them feel more at home. Liu Yuan touched his nose and said, it's not that I'm hypocritical, there are too many beauties around me, and I'm a little numb. Besides, there are many concubines who are pregnant now, so I don't have such an urgent need. Of course, this is not the key point. He has been in contact with Yu Yan and is always on guard. But Yu Yan is the only person in this world who can communicate with me without any generation gap. He was afraid of Yu Dynasty in his heart, but it was not because he was timid from the information he had now. Yu Dynasty's overall scientific and technology was more than 20 years behind Day. The weapons are also very backward. Ace Katyusha rocket launchers are being tested. Once they are completed, their striking power will be even stronger. The Yu Dynasty had missiles, but their power was that of an oversized firecracker. They could injure people, but were almost enough to kill them. Although they were mixed with poison, doubling their lethality, their range was far too far. However, What is scary is not the technology, but the thinking of the leader. Yu Yan is a bit immature, but her thinking is progressive. Up to now, the two of them have been communicating in a friendly manner and even have some sympathy for each other. But she will eventually get married and have offspring. It is human instinct to consider future generations, regardless of one's identity as a time traveler. Therefore, unless the two of them get together, Li Yuan always feels uneasy. There is no such thing as pure friendship between countries. Yu Chao has been trying to learn Day's techniques to the point of being blind. As long as the industrial technology is solid, it doesn't seem that difficult to catch up with Day. Fortunately, Yu Yan is a middle school literary girl. If she was an engineering student, a history student, or from a higher-end circle, the war would have started long ago. Of course, it is not easy to say these words to Xiao Jianjia, even though she is his closest person. And you can't just leave her aside forever. Xiao Jianjia said, the more capable you are, the more work you should do. Just let me make a good name for myself. I'll make the decision on this matter. Li Yuan smiled bitterly and nodded. Whatever you say. This is a good thing. Why are you acting like you were being tortured? Xiao Jianjia rolled her eyes at him. Are you happy just because Sister Luo is here? Li Yuan sighed. Let's not talk about Sister Luo. She has a knot in her heart, and I won't force it. Seeing that Li Yuan was feeling a little down, Xiao Jianjia tried to comfort him with soft words. After Li Yuan left, Xiao Jianjia gave orders immediately. At this moment, Yu Yi was still in the official courtyard outside the Honglu temple. Brother, is there no hope? Yu Yi said in a somewhat autistic tone. I'm not bad looking, and the way Emperor Day looks at me is also very naked, so why won't he agree? Yu Kong scratched his head. I don't know either. Maybe he has too many women. It is said that his concubines are all extremely beautiful. Yu Yi immediately got angry. You said I'm not beautiful? No, beautiful. Beautiful. My royal sister is the most beautiful in Dayu, and you are the second most beautiful in Dayu, Yu Kong said with a smile. Yu Yi then snorted. You're smart. But then again, if she were as beautiful as her sister, Li Yuan would definitely not reject her again and again, right? She sighed. Speaking of my sister, I think of Queen Day. She is the only one who can compete with my sister. Yu Kong laughed dryly. They are both equally talented in literature and martial arts, and equally beautiful. At this moment, Li pushed the door open and came in. Princess, Your Highness, someone is coming from Day Palace. What are you doing here? Are you rejecting me? Yu Kong asked subconsciously. Yu Yi was about to cry. She was the princess of the Great Yu, but she couldn't even give it away. How could it be so cheap? If this gets back to Dayu, won't people laugh to death? No, Queen Day has directly ordered the princess to burn incense and bathe and enter the palace tomorrow. Why did the queen let her sister enter the palace? Of course you will stay in the harem forever. What are you still standing there for? The imperial edict has been delivered. Why don't you go and receive it? Li urged. Yu Kong realized it later and was overjoyed. Great, the Queen of Day is sensible. Sister, don't go. I will go to receive the decree. After saying that, Yu Kong went to receive the imperial decree. Happily he had finally completed the task assigned by his imperial sister. Otherwise, he would not have dared to return to Dayu. Yu Yi was also happy. Finally got myself out. On that day, a news that the queen had decided to take a concubine for His Majesty spread, and all the officials praised the queen for her virtue and understanding. The people felt that the queen was virtuous and kind, and praised her as a role model for women. This has invisibly enhanced Xiao Jianjia's image as a model mother of the country. The next day, Xia Hongmei and Xia Yuan entered the palace first, but not from the main gate, but from the side door. The two women shared a large palace, which was the standard for concubines. Because Xia Hongmei is the fourth concubine, she cannot give Xia Yuan a very high status, which can be considered as compensation. Xia Hongmei also felt sorry for her sister and didn't care about these things. After the two women entered the palace, the first thing they did was to offer tea to Xiao Jianjia. Sister, have some tea. Xia Hongmei knelt on the ground. Xiao Jianjia refused, but she refused to agree no matter what. Looking at the increasingly graceful and elegant Xiao Jianjia, Xia Hongmei couldn't express her feelings in words. Xiao Jianjia was already full of nobility, and this title of mother of the country was embodied. She deserved to be the queen. I remembered that a few years ago, when she had just arrived, I had accidentally arrested her and interrogated her. Fortunately, she didn't take it to heart at that time. Later she came to the military hospital, and became a doctor under him. They spent some time together and got to know Xiao Jianjia better. This woman is indeed noble and proud. But not domineering. She is hardworking and determined, and not pretentious. After getting along with her, Xia Hongmei likes her very much. After all the twists and turns, she is still the queen, and Xia Hongmei also agrees. I've had my tea. Get up quickly. Xiao Jianjia held her hand and said happily, we have different identities in the palace. But we still call each other sisters in private if you enter the palace. I can save myself a lot of trouble. Chapter 597. Xi Yuan's sisters enter the palace. Xia Hongmei was puzzled, and Xiao Jianjia said, "Sister is pregnant now. After she is out of confinement, she can go to the medical training school directly under the harem to teach with sister's help. I can save a lot of trouble." Xia Hongmei finally reacted and said with a smile, "I will do my best to help you." Xiao Jianjia called her sister, but she couldn't be too arrogant. No matter what Xiao Jianjia said, she just refused to give in. Seeing this, Xiao Jianjia let her go. "Sister, have some tea." Xi Yuan couldn't say that she had a good impression of Xiao Jianjia, but she didn't have a bad impression of her either. Anyway, she wasn't going to argue about anything as long as Xiao Jianjia didn't provoke her sisters. She naturally wouldn't go against her. "Sister, get up quickly, you are proficient in finance, you will have to worry more about the finances of the harem in the future." Xiao Jianjia said with a smile. The two sisters are both talented. One is not only proficient in management, but also in medicine, and the other is even more proficient in financial accounts. They are both high-end talents and must be reused. It is no wonder that Li Yuan values the two sisters so much and has repeatedly delayed their entry into the palace. Xia Yuan was stunned for a moment, and glanced at her sister. Seeing her nod slightly, she said, "Thank you for your trust. I will do my best." Okay. Xiao Jianjia was also happy. "Come on, I'll take you to the bedroom myself." She held the hands of the two men to show their closeness and also to tell others not to have any ideas. Li Wuyu doesn't care. She doesn't fight for anything, she just works hard to train herself and show a better self to His Majesty, and His Majesty will like her. But Xia Ning was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Because their bedrooms were only separated by a wall. "Mother." Xia Ning looked at her mother in maid's clothes and gnashed her teeth in anger. When Empress Chen saw her daughter coming over with a big belly, she kept waving her hands, "Don't come, don't come." Next to her was Xia Badian. Dressed in eunuch's attire, the couple had reunited, but there was no joy on either of their faces. Seeing Xia Ning, he kept shaking his head, signaling Xia Ning not to come over. "The queen has arrived." A voice came from outside, and everyone hurriedly saluted. "Greetings to Her Majesty the Queen, Her Majesty concubine Xia." Xia Badian and his wife knelt on the ground, looking extremely humble. A knife strike in the cleansing room was extremely ruthless and bloodless, leaving him no trace at all. The knife was thorough, no different from a woman's. He has to be careful when walking now, otherwise it will easily leak. Xiao Jianjia didn't even look at them. After sending the Xia Yuan sisters over, she said to the others, "You two ladies have just entered the palace, you must serve them carefully. This is not only related to your duties, but also to your assessment." The maids serving the concubines are generally of higher rank and have assessment scores, which are usually scored by the concubines and the heads of the 6 bureaus. This is related to their year-end bonuses. Everyone quickly agreed. "I'll send you here, you guys take a rest first. It's getting dark and His Majesty should be here soon." Xiao Jianjia said. "Thank you, sister. I'm leaving first. No need to see me off." Xiao Jianjia smiled and left. "Your Majesty, please eat something first." Queen Chen hurried forward with a flattering look on her face. Xia Hongmei glanced at her, then at Xia Badian, sneered, and glanced at the archway in the middle of the courtyard. "This bedroom is good, it actually leads to another bedroom I can visit often in the future. But you two must remember to be down to earth and do your duty, otherwise, you will bear the consequences." The two sleeping palaces are separated by a wall, but an archway is specially opened in the middle, leading directly to the Yanning Palace. Xia Ning, who was hiding behind the door, was so angry that she was shaking all over. "Ouch, my stomach hurts." She hurriedly covered her stomach and said, "Quick, go call the doctor." On the other side, Yu Yi also entered the palace. The emperor also conferred titles on for concubines. The news spread quickly, and those people became confused again. Empress Li to Empress Xiaz, and now Empress Yu. The 4 concubines are already full. Then where is Empress Yu? Everyone looked at each other. Empress Shi gone. For a moment, not only Sun Wuji and others, but even Kai Yangshu was stunned. He murmured, "Did I guess wrong? Does His Majesty really want to make Shigong Empress the heir? This won't do. Isn't this a mess?" He wanted to enter the palace as soon as possible, but when he looked at the sky outside, he realized that the emperor was going to take 3 concubines today. If he entered the palace, the emperor would be angry. The queen had given her approval on this matter, so how could he make trouble at this critical moment? "Tomorrow? I will go to the palace again tomorrow," Kai Yangshu thought. Civil and military officials were all speculating, and no one knew what Li Yuan was thinking. But they also hoped that the emperor would do the same as they thought. At this time, in the palace, Wu Sun reminded, "Their Majesty, it's time to go to Han Yuan Palace." "What time is it?" "It's already 5:30. Li Yuan glanced outside the palace. It was pitch dark in the winter in Liangjing. It gets dark early. It starts to get dark at around 4 o'clock and is completely dark by 5 o'clock. Did entering the palace go smoothly? The queen personally sent the two ladies to the bedroom, and everything went well, Wu Sun said with a smile. That's good. Li Yuan stretched, exercised his muscles, and came to the two women's bedrooms with the gait of a dragon and a tiger. Seeing Li Yuan coming over, the two women also hurried over. Your Majesty, sorry to have kept you waiting. Li Yuan hugged one of them with one hand, kissed them on the cheek and said, you must be hungry. Eat something first, the night is still long. The two sisters were already used to it, and they had told stories together many times. However, this was the imperial palace, and they couldn't help feeling shy at the thought of their stories being recorded. Xia Hongmei blushed and said, I can only be a spectator tonight. Your Majesty should take care of my sister. Xia Yuan was so embarrassed that she didn't even dare to look at Lu Yuan. Queen Shen and Xia Bedian knelt aside, watching the loving scene of the three people, feeling indescribable feelings in their hearts. After the meal, they rested for a while, and Xia Yuan helped Li Yuan take a bath. Xia Hongmei was in a special situation and could not take a bath. So, while taking a bath, Li Yuan couldn't wait to tell a new story. The story continued until 8 or 9 o'clock. Xia Yuan was tired of listening, and Xia Hongmei would occasionally agree with him, but she was just agreeing. Xia Yuan fell asleep due to exhaustion. Xia Hongmei had also been very sleepy recently, so the two sisters slept in each other's arms. It was a cold day, and Li Yuan was reluctant to move, but thinking of Yu Yi staying there alone. He could only take the ginseng tonic soup handed to him by Wo Bing and drank it all in one gulp. Sister Wo, let's go over there. Your Majesty, would you like to take a rest? Wo Bing was a little worried about Li Yuan's health. It's okay, I'm fine. Li Yuan is usually very restrained and exercises to strengthen his body, so this intensity is nothing to him. As long as you don't party every night, it won't have much impact. Blind Chen said that he would get him something good to help him strengthen his body, so Li Yuan had no worries anymore. Immediately, they arrived at Yu Yi's bedroom. Chapter 598, Summary of the Second Year of the Second World. Facing Li Yuan, Yu Yi was extremely nervous. Your Majesty, I will help you change your clothes. Yu Yi was in a panic. Li Yuan held her hand and said, don't worry, I heard from the servants that you haven't eaten much all day. Eat some snacks to fill your stomach and talk to me about the interesting things in Dayu. This girl came here when she was 16. And now she is only 18 years old. She is so tender that water will come out if you pinch her. Judging from Yu Yan's portrait, she looks for points like her sister. Perhaps because she is too young, it seems that her face has not fully grown up, but she already has a posture that can charm everyone. Seeing Li Yuan being so considerate, Yu Yi's nervousness ceased a little. As the conversation went on, she gradually opened up. His eyes lit up when he talked about his sister's heroic deeds. You admire your sister very much, Lu Yuan said. Yu Yi nodded continuously. My sister is very smart. She is the most powerful emperor in the history of Great Yi. She has defeated several neighboring countries, just like your Majesty. If your Majesty could meet my sister, they would definitely become good friends. This little girl was very well protected and didn't come into contact with much, so Li Yuan couldn't ask her anything. But from her mouth we learned that Yu Yan was quite normal when he was a child. Nothing special about him. He only emerged as a rising star 10 years ago. Li Yuan calculated the time and found that it was earlier than himself. If time travel is a 1 in a billion chance event, then two people from the same place traveling to the same world cannot be explained by chance. Through the communication over the past 2 years, he has learned some things indirectly. She is from Blue Star, but she is not from the same generation as me. There is only a few years difference between them, so there is not much difference between us. A stay-at-home girl who died suddenly from staying up late reading novels. Of course, she portrayed herself as a goddess, but Li Yuan didn't believe it. Which goddess is so childish? Li Yuan even wondered whether there were other people similar to them in this world. For example, Fierce Slave. This guy is a total wallflower. At a young age, he conquered the people of the tribe, and then like a snowball, he dominated the northern desert and gradually unified the grassland. In the same dozen years he swept across the western barbarians and created a country even larger than Middle-earth. Created the well-known Hun Empire. In this land, Middle-earth has been invaded many times. And there are grassland powers, but none of them is as outrageous as the Fierce Slaves. A country that is semi-nomadic, semi-agricultural, and longs for industrial civilization. So after Lu Yuan thought it through, he decided that he must kill the vicious slave. No matter whether he is of the same kind or someone like Wang Mang, he must die. Why don't you want to eat anymore? Li Yuan asked Yu Yi timidly. Yu Yi swallowed her saliva and said, Your Majesty's look just now was a little scary. Li Yuan was in a high position, and the murderous intent he inadvertently revealed was not something a naive princess like Yu Yi could bear. There is a high probability that Yu Yan asked her to come here because he valued this point. A thoughtful princess can live a good life, but a heartless person like her can win Liu Yuan's favor. Rubbing her head, Liu Yuan said, "That's not right for you. Let's have a good rest after eating. I won't leave tonight." Yu Yi nodded obediently, her mouth full like a hamster. Seeing her, Liu Yuan thought of Lianla. "I'll find you a sister when the time comes. I'm sure her personality will match yours." "Sister," Yu Yi nodded, "okay." After eating and drinking, Yu Yi became nervous again. But Liu Yuan is an experienced person and has his own way to comfort her. "Have a good night." The next day, when Yu Yi woke up, the people around her had disappeared. She twisted her body, frowning in pain, and kept saying, "It hurts so much, that nanny lied. How can you feel comfortable?" However, thinking about what happened last night, she blushed and said, "I admit, it's just a little bit comfortable." "My lady, do you want to get up?" The maid came forward hurriedly. "His Majesty has told us to rest while if we are not feeling well." "No, we have to serve tea to my sister and greet her. We also have to serve tea to our elders. We can't be impolite and make people think that we, the people of Dayu, are uneducated," said Yu Yi. She resisted the discomfort and stood up, blushing and saying, I want to take a bath." The maid sensed something and blushed as she said, "I will prepare it right away." After bathing, Yu Yi changed into simple clothes and came to Fudi Palace first, where she found that Xi Hongmei and Xi Yuan, who had entered the palace with her, had already arrived. Fortunately, Xiaoji and Jia didn't say anything after drinking tea. She asked them to go and pay their respects to Lu Qiushan and his wife. But today, Liu Yuan is very busy, and he needs to give an explanation for what happened a few days ago. All officials gathered in Yongping Palace. The Queen's party led by Yang Tao, and the concubine Xia's party headed by Sun Wuji. Cao Wei Nhu remained silent, and the Biao Yang old man remained neutral. The attitudes of Kai Yongshu and others are also very strange. Up to now, there has been no movement at all. Let's not talk about other things in advance. Today is the last morning meeting of the year. Everyone should report their annual summary and talk about the tasks for next year," Liu Yuan said lightly. Immediately, the 6 ministers came out one after another to report on their work, which took more than half an hour to complete. Ziyu Feng stepped out and said, "Your Majesty, in the second year of Emperor Yi, the annual tax revenue reached 2 billion Yi coins." Everyone looked sideways. 2 billion Yi coins. That is, 200 million silver coins. Taking inflation into account, there are 180 million Yi coins. Liu Yuan frowned. "Not much, really not much. You should know that during the Northern Liang period, the income was 30 to 50 million taels, but after unifying the Middle-earth, it only quadrupled. This is not the first year. How long has Day been established?" Ziyu Feng secretly glanced at Liu Yuan, and seeing the emperor's expressionless face, his heart skipped a beat. And he continued, "The annual expenditure is 1.578 billion coins counting last year's surplus. There are still 764 million coins in the treasury. In other words, there were still more than 70 million taels of silver in the national treasury. How much money was spent on people's livelihood and how much on military expenditure?" Liu Yuan tapped his fingers on the table. "Tell me everything clearly. Where is the report I want?" When Xi Yuan was in office, every account was clear. How do I know where the money was spent? Ziyu Feng smiled bitterly and said, "Your Majesty, I have been here for too short a time." Minister Xia, no, concubine Xia left too much work after she left office. And the report has not been compiled yet. Has the statistics not been completed or not done? Liu Yuan said expressionlessly, "Not only the year-end report, but also the monthly report and quarterly report, which can all be checked. How come I have nothing when I come to you? You just gave me a crappy memorial?" Liu Yuan threw the memorial in front of Ziyu Feng. "Do you still need me to remind you how to do things?" Chapter 599, The Second Knife at the End of the Year. Ziyu Feng knelt on the ground hurriedly. "I admit my guilt," Liu Yuan said calmly. "If you can't do a good job as the Minister of Finance, you can tell me directly and I can replace you. As the head of Day's finance department, you can't be muddle-headed in your work." Ziyu Feng's forehead was covered with sweat. "Your Majesty, I can do it well. Please give me another chance," Liu Yuan said calmly. "This year's official revenue is only 2 billion YEBE, which is only 180 million taels of silver, or even less. The country's population exceeds 100 million. Those disaster-stricken areas and poverty-stricken areas were originally exempt from grain taxes and labor service. This was the case across the country. The salt and iron dictatorship, state-owned factories, and maritime trade were all developing at a rapid pace. The most important thing is that after the War of Annihilation, 60 of the money, except for the part that belonged to the military, was turned over to the national treasury. How much silver is this 60? It will not be less than 200 million silver coins. Why is this money not included? Did they forget or didn't plan to count? It's been so long, haven't they cleaned it up yet? The results of Day's first census have come out, and the population has exceeded 100 million. These are still the ones that can be found, but there are even more hidden households whose household registration cannot be found. Even after years of war and the ravages of the Little Ice Age, this vast land still has a considerable population. It has not been counted yet. Firstly, this money is war proceeds, not taxes. Secondly, there are too many treasures seized, and it is difficult to estimate their value, Ziyu Feng said. Give me an accurate figure before the end of the year also. All the expenditures of the Ministry of Revenue this year must be clearly stated. If you can't do this well, don't do it. Whether it is the 6 ministries or other government offices, listen to me carefully. Every account must be carefully checked. No one dared to say no, and they all hurriedly said yes. Li Yuan tapped his fingers on the documents, and then said, I have received news from the local area that the local officials have not arrived yet, resulting in the conquered territory being unmanaged, and thus thieves are rampant. The world is unified. But I am unable to fulfill my duties. Do you want to take it down and see? I am very dissatisfied with the work of the Ministry of Personnel this year. Cao Yanhu hurriedly stepped out and said, Your Majesty, there is really no one to use. Those who have graduated and those who have not yet graduated have all been pulled out. The former ministers of the 3 kingdoms are all under review and assessment. If the local people are not satisfied, they cannot take office, so the cycle is relatively long. He didn't expect that the second knife would fall on him. He felt aggrieved, but there was nothing he could do because he did not do his job well. This is easy. Didn't he say before that if those non-Moshandish officers, who had been disabled in the war and retired to the second line, as well as veterans with more than 6 years of military service, plan to transfer to civilian jobs, why aren't they arranged to go there? Li Yuan questioned. Everyone suddenly realized that the knife had fallen here. Cao Yanhu is also in a difficult position, as there is an imbalance between the civil and military aspects of Day. The army continued to expand and win battles, and the team grew stronger and stronger, and was about to reach 1 million people. There are many hilltops, which is much better than 2 or 3 civil officials. Big and small. Many surrendered ministers did not dare to use them, and there were not enough old people from the northern Liang period. The emperor issued an edict regarding the transfer of civilian jobs, but the civil officials were generally resistant to it. The cake is so small that there is not enough for the civil officials to share. If we give a large piece to the army, won't it be a mess? Moreover, local cities also have city guards and police stations. These can be considered armed forces and are much stronger than local civil servants. A is different from the past. Those who hold official positions are all paid by the emperor, and their salaries are clearly marked and enough to support their families. Your Majesty, the Ministry of Personnel is still discussing how to implement this matter. Stop fooling me. I issued the order last year, and you are still not implementing it this year? Li Yuan slammed the desk. Do you think I'm easy to deceive? There are so many people in the army. Where are there so many idle positions for them? Of course, the country should support them and should not abandon them, even if they are willing to sacrifice their lives for it. The loyalty of these men is unquestionable. I trust them, but there would be no point if they were just left there to eat and wait for death. The military is still recruiting soldiers, and it is only a matter of time before the number exceeds 1 million. But I tell you, this million-strong army cannot always be this 1 million people. Old soldiers retire and new soldiers join, and there will be a certain number of people coming out every year. Some people do not want to be involved in politics, and the court respects them. Cao Yanhu lay on the ground, his back soaked with cold sweat for the first time. He felt how difficult it was to be the head of a civil servant. I just want to ask you one thing, can it be implemented now? How many positions do you plan to give up? Li Yuan was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. Even though he scolded Cao Yanhu so harshly, if it were an ordinary person, he would have changed people long ago. It's okay to be a little stupid, but you can't hold yourself back at critical moments. Cao Yanhu gritted his teeth and said, Your Majesty, Day has separated civil and military officials. And now the military is trying to seize the positions of civil official show. Can this be called separation of civil and military officials? The people below complained and felt it was unfair. Yes, they are defending our country and fighting on the battlefield outside, but we are also managing the people's livelihood at home and dare not slack off. If we want to be fair, shouldn't the military also allocate some positions for us? Li Yuan was stunned for a moment, then sneered, Is this what you mean, or what everyone else means? After the words fell, many people knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, Minister Cao is right. Since the civil and military officials are separated, it is better not to get too involved. Your Majesty, please think twice. These people said in unison. Li Yuan was so angry that he laughed. He then looked at Kai Yongshu and said, You used to be the Minister of Culture of Diaxia. And now you are one of the 9 ministers. You came from Diaxia to experience the separation of military and politics. You should have some experience with this. Do you think I am biased? Bai Yangshu was stunned, secretly complaining in his heart one blame had not been removed yet, and another blame came. He showed his troops, bowed and said in a deep voice, "Your Majesty, the so-called separation of military and political affairs is to better manage civil and military affairs. It is said that professionals do professional things since ancient times, being both civil and military is the best criterion for a minister. Therefore the old masters always strive for the ultimate goal of managing their families, governing the country and pacifying the world. However, not all civil officials can lead troops to fight, and not all military generals are qualified commanders. Therefore Emperor Lizong of Deaxia proposed the separation of military and political affairs. The birth of this system continued Deaxia's hegemony and national prosperity for the last 50 years. It also shows that having dedicated people for specific tasks is more efficient than having both civil and military talents." Many people nodded. Li Yuan waved his hand and said, "Speak some real words, don't evade the important issues, just tell me, am I biased?" Chapter 601 Feeding the Dog. Yang Tao hesitated for a while, glanced at Wang Zhu and others, and found that they were all calm and silent, and acted as if it was none of their business from beginning to end. He was a little unsure. He didn't get along with these people, to be more precise, these officials in the north, who claimed to be the elders of Biaoyang, looked down on them. I don't know whether these people were hinted by the emperor or what. Anyway, following the crowd is definitely not wrong. With this in mind, he also said, "I second the motion. This matter should be implemented in place." Cao Yanhu felt very miserable. Damn it, when he first wanted to implement it, there were more objections than ever, and each family tried hard to get people in. Well, he couldn't stand the pressure anymore. And now everyone has turned against him. Both humans and ghosts are acting, but only Cao Yanhu is being looked down upon by the emperor. A bunch of bastards. Cao Yanhu glanced at a few people and became furious. Li Yuan smiled. This was exactly the effect he wanted. However, he still looked at Cai Yangshu twice more. This great Xia prime minister was really amazing. He was so smart. These people may be trying to protect themselves or be independent, but they have all forgotten one thing: if they want to gain a foothold in Day, they must keep up with their own footsteps. I King has hit the nail on the head. I have already come up with a way to deal with it. Li Yuan looked at Wang Zhu. Wang King, does Yidian Li have any standards for retirement? Your Majesty, yes. Wang Jukai, who was as stiff as a log, stepped out and said, according to the Yidian Retirement Act, male officials and minor officials retire at the age of 55, and female officials retire at the age of 55. This is a hard and fast rule. After retirement, if you want to be reemployed, you need to make a comprehensive assessment. If it is not a special position, all of them shall refer to these standards. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole audience was in an uproar. Retired at the age of 55. Isn't that the best age for an official? Did you hear clearly? There will be standards for retirement in the future. The retirement standards for senior officials can be relaxed appropriately if a person has outstanding personal achievements. The standards can also be relaxed appropriately, Li Yuan said. This is a flexible system. If someone is incompetent and likes to make trouble, he must resign when he reaches the age. If one is capable and motivated, he or she can report to delay retirement. The initiative is in the hands of the court. Moreover, at present, the overall life expectancy is very low. 55 years old may not be a big deal for the aristocratic families, but for the common people, they are already old and toothless at the age of 55. He started a family at the age of 13 and became a grandfather at the age of 30. He could call himself an old man, but Li Yuan also had to consider the practical aspects. However, now that the living standard has improved, there is no great tax burden, no rocking chairs, there are a variety of crops to keep them fed, and medical standards have also improved. The average life expectancy will increase significantly. A neonatal mortality rate will also decrease, and there will be a baby in the next 10 years or so. Retracting his scattered thoughts, Li Yuan continued, so, the same is true for minor officials. Local minor officials usually inherit their father's business, but the court does not have the concept of sons inheriting their father's business from today on. Every promotion must be tested. Officials need to continue their studies if they want to be promoted. Official schools were established, and officials were required to enroll and complete the required credits before they could take up their posts. Otherwise, they would not be allowed to be promoted. Everyone was shocked by this order again. Minor officials must take exams when they are promoted, and officials must also continue their studies. The officialdom of Day is about to change completely. As soon as the retirement bill came out, people were in a panic. Half of the court was composed of old people. So wouldn't they also be among those who were retired? Thinking of this, many people became anxious. Huang Zhu returned to his original position and sneered in his heart. Are you worthy enough to arm wrestle with the emperor? Some things are baits that the emperor deliberately reveals, waiting for these people to take the bait. The emperor's methods of organizing the party are really not something that ordinary people can understand. Your Majesty, this is inappropriate. What's wrong with that? Li Yuan looked at the white-haired official below and said with a smile. Your Majesty's intention is to blindly expand the number of petty officials, which will put a strain on local finances. And? When did I say we should expand blindly? Li Yuan interrupted him. From today on, minor officials are no longer called inferiors, but clerks without a diploma and no education. No one is allowed to apply. I will give the existing officials 1 year to prepare, to study and to take exams. If they pass the exams, they will retain their original positions. If you fail the exam, you will all be laid off. Officials can be promoted step by step until they become officials in Beijing. From now on, I will no longer accept officials from the capital who are airdropped in. This was another depth charge that blew everyone over. There was a hint of shock in Cai Yongshu's calm eyes. He thought the emperor was on the roof. But it turned out that he was on the top of the mountain Ziyufang. In Kaohui and Hu were both objects pulled out to establish authority. The real purpose was to reform the officialdom. This means that from now on, no matter who you are or what family you come from, you must start as an official and must take an examination every time you are promoted. Officials also need further studies. Control from the source. It really made everyone suffer. The emperor is amazing. The crowd was in chaos, and most of them were against it. But there were also smart people who saw the opportunity. In the past, you needed connections, but now you just need to meet the threshold to take the exam. All the disciples can become officials. Now, to be an official, one has to start from the grassroots level. And no one can avoid it. Instead of talking back to the emperor, it is better to obey him. Your Majesty is wise. Cai Yongshu knelt on the ground and said from the bottom of his heart. Sun Wuji, Yang Tao and others also knelt down hurriedly, shouting long live His Majesty. Although the others were confused, now that the leader had knelt down, they had no choice but to accept it. For a moment, the Yangping Palace was filled with shouts of long live. After a while, when everyone stood up, Li Yuan said, Our king, the list of military professionals needs to be coordinated. The military and the Ministry of Personnel will hold a meeting to discuss this matter. Generally speaking, retired officers will be arranged to their hometowns nearby. If they do not want to retire, they can also be compensated with a one-time currency. We need to do this well, and it should be reported in newspapers and announced after the new year. I hope you don't mess it up again. Yes, I obey your order. Kaohui and Hu then stood up. Li Yuan glanced at everyone and did not give them the opportunity to continue asking questions. That's all for today. Tomorrow, the Yi Dian will be issued. The Ministry of Personnel, the Ministry of Punishment, and the Imperial Clan Bureau must make arrangements for this matter, and ensure that the Yi Dian is spread to every place in day. A printing factory also had to work overtime to print the Yi Dian. Clerks and freshmen must take an exam on Yi Dian, and officials must read it through. 1 month later, I will hold an exam in the capital, and those who meet the requirements will be promoted. Everyone present gasped. As long as your grades meet the requirements, you can be promoted. Who can resist the temptation of such a good thing? For a moment, looking at the emperor, there was no more complaints, and his eyes were full of fanaticism. Li Yuan stood up and looked at them. As if he had dropped a bone, the eyes of the vicious dogs below all lit up. Chapter 600, They are all smart people. Yongshu smiled bitterly and licked his chapped lips. It's not true that your Majesty is partial. I just don't know whether His Majesty's decision to demobilize the military is a temporary or long-term one. The Axia does not have such concerns. Generally speaking, only military generals with certain ranks will hold multiple positions, such as a casual official. Military generals serve as civil officials, and civil officials serve as military officials. This is a form of recognition. He was reminding Li Yuan. Of course, Li Yuan understood. When said, Dai has no scattered officials, and does not need scattered officials. Generally speaking, there was no such thing as retirement in any dynasty. People would retire voluntarily when they were old and could not bear it any longer. Most people are reluctant to give up the temptation of being an official. Of course, it is impossible for these old guys to occupy the positions forever. There must be room for newcomers, so the scattered officials came out. Being an official with no power or substance is a kind of honor, but can also be considered a disguised form of retreat to the second line. He continued, Day has such a large population, but the national government has less than 90 officials, and the local government offices and petty officials have less than 200,000 people. What can we do with this? I have already said that I would implement the new law, and you are still here quibbling with me. Middle-earth is such a big place. Can you eat it all? You can't eat it, but you're reluctant to spit it out? Isn't that too overbearing? Everyone was scolded so much that they dared not say a word. It was obvious that the emperor was angry. But what did it matter if he was angry? There is only so much cake there is. If you give some away, there will be less. The most crucial thing is that if we blindly expand the number of petty officials, there will be more constraints. How can we support them? It would be better to be like before. There are only so many positions in the yamen at most. You can hire some temporary workers and arrest someone to take the blame when something goes wrong when nothing happens. You can enjoy all the resources alone. Who would be willing to divide the resources that originally belonged to 10 people among 20 people? Kai Yangshu was also considering it, as some things would be very troublesome if said. But soon, he made up his mind and said, Your Majesty is right, Dai is different from any other dynasty. Since it is a new dynasty, it must have a new look. However, I think that the Yidayan should be issued first. Only after the Yidayan is issued can there be a law to follow. Of course, it is also a good thing for your majesty to help those disabled soldiers make a living. I think this is not biased. Kai Yangshu. Kawi Nhu was stunned. Many people looked at him in disbelief. Traitor. Flatterer. All you know is to suck up to the emperor, be his running dog, and sell out the interests of the civil servants. Everyone started cursing under their breath. Although there is no unity among the civil officials, when it comes to collective interests, they naturally stand on the same side. Li Yuan saw it clearly and sneered in his heart. This was why he had to guard against these surrendered ministers. Even an old man like Cao Nhu was affected, let alone others. To put it bluntly, when the world is peaceful, these civil officials are the most unstable factor. As dynasties changed and the last years of a dynasty came, the most common phrase heard was that the military was relaxed. Why slack? It's all because of these people. Of course, this statement is biased, but Kai Yangshu has already explained the reason. The literati yearn to be both civil and military. Culture can include martial arts, but martial arts cannot represent culture. This is a natural chain of contempt. Go on, I want to hear your opinion. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Kai Yangshu sighed inwardly, completely ignoring the abuse and cold eyes of the people around him, and continued. In fact, people from the military who have transferred here are already considered civilian positions, not military positions, and are not much different from those students who graduated from school. Moreover, these soldiers have fought for their country, shed blood and sweat, and are more loyal and disciplined. They have a stronger sense of national identity and can better educate the local people at critical moments. But at the end of the day, there are only a few reasons. Hearing this, those who were cursing stopped and listened attentively. They wanted to see what this traitor could say. Li Yuan also looked at him with interest and did not interrupt him. Civil officials have their own system. There are so many schools and students in the capital now, and the number of graduates every year is huge. It would be fine if the military has a small number of fixed personnel each year, but as far as I know, the number of people who retire due to raise each year is not a small number in the long run. How can there be so many positions? Yes, the country has just won a victory and there is a shortage of manpower locally, but we cannot rush to seek medical treatment in a hurry. Minister Cao was also devoted to the country. It's really not his fault. Even if we move the military to take over temporarily, it will still not be enough. At most it can alleviate some of the pressure, but distant water cannot quench immediate thirst. If the imperial court wants to cultivate its own talents, it will take several years or even more than 10 years to train qualified talents. Your Majesty is unwilling to use those people, but wants quick results. To be honest, this is unrealistic. Looking at the changes of dynasties and the rise and fall of dynasties, they all involve the word talent. Therefore, I feel that your Majesty has not given everyone an explanation on this matter. Of course, I fully agree with your Majesty's order. Separation of military and political power is a good strategy, but who dares to say that the separation is thorough? The two sides are mutually dependent and mutually restrained. The anger in many people's eyes faded, and they began to think about Kai Yangshu's words. There is no shortage of smart people in this palace, but no one dares to speak so clearly in front of the emperor. A Yangshu is a scorpion poop. Unique one. Cao Nhu also smiled bitterly. He would never dare to say this even if he was beaten to death. Yang Tao narrowed his eyes. Sun Wuji seemed to be thinking about something. When Kai Yangshu said this, he was not only representing himself, but also the group of surrendered officials of the Great Xia behind him. He suddenly came to his senses and knew why Kai Yangshu said that. Trust. Seek to stand out. Only a foolish ruler likes to flatter, while a wise ruler likes talented people the most. The emperor never takes the initiative to say what he wants to do. Now the emperor wanted a step, so Kai Yangshu knelt down and served as a step for the emperor. So what if everyone is hostile to me? He is not just one person, his success is the success of the people of Diaxia. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth and stepped out. Your Majesty, I also think that this matter should be implemented. The soldiers have been trained, and their loyalty and quality are guaranteed. Moreover, I also know that the military has always had the habit of literacy, so everyone in the army can write, and this ensures that they have a foundation for governance. Most importantly, these people are loyal to the court and to your Majesty. Regardless of whether they are civil or military, as long as they are loyal, they should be given important positions. What he said was a double entendre. But the people behind him were dumbfounded and frantically winked at Sun Wuji, but Sun Wuji ignored them. If they missed this opportunity, they don't know how long they will have to wait to make a breakthrough. Chapter 600 to the show ends. But what if you fail the test? Is there any punishment? But what is certain is that this exam concerns everyone's promotion. And those older officials have to consider their own future. Everyone was worried. The emperor asked questions one after another, leaving them overwhelmed. Li Yuan also felt that it was about right, so he said, in addition, considering that Honggu voluntarily gave up the position of queen, but I have already announced it to the world, I have considered it again and again, and will establish an imperial concubine under the queen, second only to the queen and slightly higher than the 4 concubines. The role of imperial concubine will be assumed by Honggu. Having said that, Li Yuan stood up. Before everyone could react, Wu Sun shouted in front of everyone's confused eyes, "Dismiss the court. His Majesty." Someone wanted to call out to the emperor, but it was too late. The emperor had already disappeared. Tai Yangshu smiled and shook his head. This matter was exactly as he thought. The emperor and the empress didn't have any quarrel at all. How could a quarrel allow the empress to reform the harem? It's clearly a show for everyone to see. This imperial concubine has been given an explanation. Yang Tao breathed a sigh of relief and grinned. "Your Majesty is wise, I told you. How can you establish a queen in the West Palace? Isn't this a mess?" As he said this, he glanced at Sun Wuji provocatively. Only then did Sun Wuji realize that he had been used as a fool, and his face turned green with anger. "We'll see." After saying that, he threw his sleeves and left angrily. Everyone left in displeasure. Many old ministers of Liangjing went to comfort Cao Wei and Hu and Ziyu Feng. "Lord Cao, His Majesty still trusts you. It was just a momentary oversight." "Thank you, sir. You just took over, so it's understandable that there are mistakes." Cao Wei and Hu had a blank expression on his face, while Ziyu Feng had a sad face. Yangshu thought for a while, called Cao Wei and Hu aside, and the two chatted as they walked. "I really envy you. I wish I could be trained like this by His Majesty." Cao Wei and Hu was stunned. "What do you mean? His Majesty is always polite to all of us. Even when we cause trouble, we don't know when we can become His Majesty's right-hand men. Kai Yangshu has made it clear." Cao Wei and Hu smiled and said, "In fact, I am very clear about my position. The most correct thing I have done in my life is to follow His Majesty to conquer the world. Your Majesty is also nostalgic. Otherwise, a fool like me would have been kicked out long ago." Bai Yangshu looked at him with admiration, believing that people who can recognize themselves are smart people. Cao Wei and Hu, pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. "But it's easy now, everyone agrees. When soldiers retire in the future, it won't be my fault," Cao Wei and Hu said calmly. Kai Yangshu nodded. But thought more. A day before New Year's Eve, officials began to take a day off, and except for the officials on duty, the palace became deserted. But outside the palace, it was a prosperous and bustling scene. In the second year of the reign of Yi, heavy snow came earlier than usual. The snow outside the city was higher than the knees, and river transportation had come to a halt. The snow on the streets was cleared by sanitation workers in the early morning, and snow-melting salt was spread. Even the temperature of -10 degrees Celsius can't stop people from going shopping. The tall city walls blocked most of the cold wind. The guards on duty on the wall wore thick cotton coats with thermoses in their pockets and even sweated from the heat. But the large-scale cultivation of cotton, low-priced cotton jackets are much cheaper than down jackets. The rich wear cashmere coats, the poor wear cotton padded jackets. The shops on both sides of the street are constantly emitting hot steam, and the temperature of the street is much higher than other places. The school has already been closed for vacation. Lian wore a pink cotton jacket, gloves and earmuffs, and wrapped herself up like a ball. She doesn't like down jackets because they are not close fittings. He prefers cotton jackets that fit close and wrap her tightly. "IWU. Have a bite of ice cream." Wu opened his mouth happily. Even though he was shivering from the cold, he smiled and said, "Miss, let's go over there and watch the show. It's boring, not as good as a movie." Wu scratched his head. "But that cinema is so popular that it's impossible to buy tickets. Movies are a new and interesting thing, and what young people love to watch the most nowadays is movies. However, as they have only been out for a few months, there are not many movie theaters in Beijing. They are packed with people every day. And a movie ticket has been sold for 500 coins, and there is still a shortage of supply. If you had been unable to get the tickets, I would have seen the movie a long time ago." Wu snorted. Qian Sanbao had gotten her the tickets a few days ago, but she refused them. This kind of cowardly guy was not something she cared about at all. Later, for some reason, this guy would take a detour when he saw her and didn't dare to look her in the eye. Wu made a bitter face. "Blame me for being useless." As he was talking, a female guard came over and whispered, "Princess Anla, there's an imperial decree from the palace, asking you to come into the palace to celebrate New Year's Eve. It's not even New Year's Eve yet. What am I doing in the palace? Liela hadn't seen Lu Yuan for a long time since that day, and he was angry. If he wants to see me, he'll see me. And if he doesn't want to see me, he won't see me. What does he think of me? The female guard smiled bitterly. Wu also had a bad look in his eyes. Caldanti, this dog emperor, just be quiet and let him spend the new year with the princess in peace. That's right, with what identity can a princess enter the palace to celebrate New Year's Eve? She has no name or status, Wu said indignantly. It is said that concubine Li missed you and asked you to come to the palace with her also. His Majesty has prepared some new things to surprise you. Li Enla's eyes lit up. Surprise? What surprise? I don't know about this. Li Enla rolled his eyes, cleared his throat, and said, since my sister misses me, then I will go to the palace to accompany her. I will not go to the palace for that bad guy, nor for a surprise. Ooh, don't you agree? Wu was dumbfounded. How come he agreed the next second when he didn't refuse the previous second? Seeing the princess's impatient look, he was numb. Princess, didn't you say that we should stay at home and have a good time this year? Oh, AWU, isn't it okay to celebrate the new year there? Besides, my sisters are still in the palace, and I miss my little nephew a little bit. Liemli got on the carriage after saying that. Oh, feeling as if he had lost his parents, got on the car reluctantly. As soon as he got in the car, Lienla began to speculate. What surprise will that bad guy prepare for me? She won't let me stay in the palace, right? Oh, that's so embarrassing. Oh, tell me, how should I refuse then? What if he doesn't let me go? Wu felt like his head was going to explode looking at the gloomy Lienla. Wu forced a smile and said, Princess, since you are so reluctant, why don't we get off the car?